ABC Sport.
ABC News with Miriam McDonald. Good afternoon. The federal government has strengthened its travel advice for Laos, warning Australians about the risk of crime and a lack of transparency in the country's justice system. Yvette Gray reports.
The latest advice posted on Smart Traveller is for Australians to exercise a high degree of caution in Laos due to crime, the risk of methanol poisoning and ongoing concerns around lack of transparency in the justice system. The warning states the legal system may not provide justice in criminal cases and authorities may apply the law inconsistently. It comes after Lao authorities charged the owner of a distillery over a mass alcohol poisoning incident in 2024, which killed 6 tourists, including 2 Melbourne teenagers, Bianca Jones and Holly Morton Bowles. A possible penalty could see the owner face a sentence of just 3 months to 4 years in prison.
The federal government will focus on education and community relations in its long-awaited response to the Special Envoy's report on Islamophobia. Kian Burke reports.
10 months after the Special Envoy to combat Islamophobia, Aftab Malik, released his report containing 54 recommendations, the government has announced its response. 35 recommendations have been accepted, which will see the government review the school curriculum and expand mental health support, especially for Muslim women. But Anthony Albanese says the government won't be accepting the Special Envoy's call to water down the importance of religion and ideology in defining terrorism.
We take advice from our security agencies. I have confidence in them.
He says the government will continue working with Mr Malik on his report's other recommendations.
There have been reports of explosions across Iran as the US military says it's completed its 7th straight night of strikes against the country, adding that it targeted military logistics infrastructure and other sites. Ali Crew reports.
Iranian state media are reporting a number of explosions, including in the central city of Yazd, the port of Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island in the Strait of Hormuz. The latest round of strikes has seen continued attacks on neighbouring countries, with a desalination and power plant hitting Kuwait. US forces targeted in Jordan and Syria, while Iran claims an AI data centre has been destroyed in Bahrain. Iran's Revolutionary Guards also say 2 oil tankers have exploded after passing through a mined section of the Strait of Hormuz. With Washington and Tehran escalating their attacks since the collapse of the ceasefire agreement last week, there's growing fear of a return to all-out war.
US President Donald Trump has hit out at Canada as raging wildfires send smoke drifting into the United States. Mr Trump says the US is being invaded by filthy air and is threatening to add smoke damage costs to tariffs levelled on Canada. More than 800 wildfires are currently burning in Canada, with many of those in the country's north. Linda Dibasige is the Grand Council Chief of the Anishinaabe Nation in Northern Ontario, and she says it's a terrible situation.
Right now, there are about 191 fires burning, with 81 of them out of control. Many of these raging infernos are impacting many of our Indigenous communities, including one that I serve, where a more recent fire that happened this past Monday completely leveled the community. It's nothing but ash today.
Back home, and charity op shop operators are worried a new for-profit thrift superstore in Geelong's disadvantaged northern suburbs will impact donations and be unaffordable for some locals. Savers is the largest for-profit thrift retailer in North America and is expanding in Australia. It's opening its first regional Victorian store in Geelong at the end of next month. Deborah Westcombe volunteers at Norlane's Lions op shop and is expecting the quality and quantity of donations to drop off.
We're very community-based. We do get donations from further away, but that's what's concerning me. Will they stop there instead of coming that little bit extra? But the people that donate are pretty loyal. So we're hoping that that continues.
A unique music enrichment program at Canberra's National Zoo and Aquarium is giving some of its animals a chance to experience live harp music. Sarah Grebe has more.
Harp therapist Alison Ware has been volunteering at the zoo for the past 5 years, visiting every fortnight to perform for a variety of animals, including rhinos, lemurs, lions, and even the fish. The live performances form part of the zoo's enrichment program, with the music adapted to suit different species and their behaviour. Ware says the animals all have different musical preferences.
It's like humans. Some days we feel like music and some days we don't.
Keepers say the visits have become a welcome part of the animals' routine.
To the weather now for Melbourne, mostly sunny with a top of 15. It's currently 13 degrees. ABC News.
The crowd ready to witness some history.
The Wallaby Gold is back.
He's got 50 to run. Max Jorgensen is going to score for Australia.
ABC Sport is your home of the Wallabies this month.
And Australia wins the test match.
Tune in for every home test on ABC Listen. Just look for the ABC Sport Extra button.
ABC Sport.
You're listening to AFL Saturday on your radio, ABC Sport Digital and ABC Listen. This is AFL Saturday.
Are the Adelaide Crows better placed now than they were in 2025 to make an assault on the premiership? And who is the competition's second best team? Geelong win for just the second time in their last 7 games, but do you believe in them more or less than you did going into Thursday night's fixture? North Melbourne had their Hall of Fame last night. One man in particular got our attention as he was inducted last night as a Hall of Fame member. Now the Blues concerned about the presence and the hype of Josh Fraser and what to make of what's going on with Damien Hardwick and his sons appearing to raise the white flag last weekend. How will they respond against the Bulldogs tomorrow? All of that to come on the award-winning AFL Saturday through ABC Sport.
Share it with Grundy. Numbers here with the Crows, and Cook tumbles it back down the members' side. Tracked there by Rampy. But the Crows hang on to a 16-point win. They penetrate the Swans' SCG fortress with a season-defining victory in the wet. The Crows by 16.
It was a big win for Adelaide last night. There's no other way to chop it up. A huge win for the Crows as they draw within really a game of Sydney in second spot on the table. My name's Corbin Middlemass. This is AFL Saturday on ABC Sport. I'm very pleased to say the Premiership Pie, Luke Ball, is in the house. Hello, Bally.
Hi, Corby. Hello, everyone. I'm just feeling a little bit more relaxed in my seat today.
Yes.
Corby. Just, with my, with our co-host or our party today, who's just a little bit less combative, and I'm just feeling like, I don't have to bring my...
You don't feel like you're in the blue corner and you're looking across the ring.
I don't have to bring my boxing gloves today, so I'm nice and relaxed. That's right.
Well, look, we've got another games record holder. Man who's played more games than anyone else at the North Melbourne Football Club. He's played more games than anyone else on planet Earth. Not named Scott Pendlebury. He's won a boatload of All-Australians, Premiership player, EJ Whitten medalist, and now, not just an Australian Football Hall of Famer, but a Hall of Famer at the North Melbourne Football Club. Congratulations, Brent Boomer Harvey.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It's I might surprise you, boy. I might throw a couple of killy ones at you. And,
all right.
You might
spoken too soon, have I?
You might walk away and want Mick back. No, good to be here. It's love doing the radio and not doing no football games this week. Just going to watch the Kangas this afternoon. So
beautiful.
This is me footy fix. I love it.
So a lot of people would be, as I was, by the way. Boomer said he's got the North Melbourne Hall of Fame on Friday night. I thought, go and have a great time, and they'll induct some more people into this elusive club. Didn't realise Boomer was actually going in. You were an Australian Football Hall of Famer back in 2022, so this is not an every year thing. Is that right, the North Melbourne Football Club? So congrats on going in last night.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right. The Kangaroos haven't done it for 10 years,
wow,
which is a bit different. Okay. And I don't think there's a set agenda where they do it every 2 years or 3 years or whatever it looks meant to look like. But for 10 years, and we've all said it, and we continue to say it. There was COVID in there, so that's probably thrown a spanner in the works. But a long time between drinks. Like, I got inducted last night with Corey McKernan, Adam Simpson, Greg Miller, who of course was at the football club when I first started, and then Dennis Pagan and Malcolm Blight.
Yeah. It's a good lineup, isn't it, Corbin? If you wait that long, that's the one thing it allows you to do, doesn't it? Is to assemble a really good...
What a night.
Crew of entrants.
It was good. It was a great night. Nigel Carmody hosted it, but then we had the great Mike Sheen come in and just work his magic with Malcolm Blight and Dennis Pagan, and he hasn't lost it. It's fair to say he hasn't lost it. It was a great little interview to watch.
Your calls throughout the program, 1300 558 222. We'll touch on a bit of the Kangas with Boomer as we work our way through the program. So 1300 558 222. Huge win for the Crows. Yeah. So interestingly, when you look at where they were at this stage last year, Bally, they did come home with the wet sail. Obviously, Adelaide, they won their last 9 games leading into finals. But essentially, they were 12-5 then. or 13-5 then. They're 12-6 now. So they're only one game worse off than where they were at the same stage last year. They're on a 3-game winning streak with 5 to play, and that is their biggest scalp of the season so far. So they go to Sydney and become the first team this year to beat the Swans at the SCG. How impressed were you with what we saw from the Crows?
I thought it was a terrific win. They set it up early, obviously, and hit the Swans, smacked them on the face. And it was interesting, Matty Nix saying there was obviously rain forecast, and Matty Nix saying we're very happy for that to come. Heavens open up, and they did. And it does seem to suit the best tackling team in the competition. And the Swans were good. They responded to the challenge, but then a powerful last quarter. And yeah, it feels like, and I think we asked Matty Nix a few weeks ago when we had him on. It feels like this time last year they had the yellow jacket on and everyone was chasing them, and that was certainly the case in the finals as well. I feel like this team's almost better suited to being part of the chasing pack and to being the hunters, and that's how they play. They're across the board, and a lot's been spoken about and will rightfully be spoken about their star players, and Dawson's had another terrific year, and Rankin's just starting to build again, isn't he, and play more midfield minutes now, and he's the class that goes in, and the big boys were great last night. I just look at their team, and even last night up against Sydney's team, and Mick always talks about the bottom six as well. And I think that's Sydney's challenge at the moment. They're not getting out. There's such a heavy reliance on their top six, their star players. And when the heat comes against a good team, in the second half in particular, they're found wanting a bit. I thought, the Crows, players like Nan Curvis and Cook and Ball Ace last night, who's come into the team, Toby Murray, even the big ruckman is doing his thing. I feel like they're really well served across the board, certainly from an effort point of view. Yeah. It's really clear, Boom, if you play for Adelaide, there's a certain level of effort that's demanded, and if you don't bring it, you're not in the team. You look at in good stead.
You look at the back line, and you always think underrated. Bally, are they actually underrated anymore? I mean, they've been there now for a couple of years. Those established players, Worrell and these type of guys. That I don't know if you can look at them anymore and say that they're underrated down back.
Number one pressure team in it, just to support that.
What you're saying Miller. Well. I mean, Miller is a star, isn't he?
Yeah,
I think he's still underrated. Yep. I mean, he should be spoken about as an All-Australian halfback. I don't know. Has he been? I'll double check that.
No,
but
not yet.
He's playing like one. You mentioned Worrell. Michael Lanny's recaptured a little bit of a form after a slow start to the year. But I like Nan Curvis, Cook, these sort of guys around the edges. Let's call it that. They're all. They're big, they're strong, and they compete.
So they're third on the table. There's still a game of percentage off second spot. The Hawks can actually move into outright third if they win on Sunday. They play the Tigers. They got the half game, obviously. But you look at Adelaide's run home. So Pies at home, Dons away, Tigers at home, Fremantle away, and then GWS to finish.
Heavy favourites in 4 out of their last 5. And then who knows where Fremantle will be at that time. They might have signed up top spot. They might be managing players, and the Crows, I think they won't fear anyone. And they'll probably be relying on other teams in terms of a top 4 finish. But we were talking just before we came on air, they're the sort of team that I don't think will fear finishing 5th or 6th, Boom. And being healthy and in good form, and we know that the wild card's going to present a bit of a different look at the finals in that first week. So you finish 5th or 6th, you have the week off anyway.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll back themselves to go on a bit of a run.
They were 21 up at quarter time, 8 up at half time, 6 down at three-quarter time. And in my mind, they were 7 goals down. That didn't look like it at all. And then to produce that final quarter was sensational. So a 16-point win. Matthew Nix spoke about how they're placed this year compared to perhaps where they were at the same stage last year, of course, when they were an 18-win team in the minor premiers.
It's probably lessons from last year and our ability to firstly get where we want to get to, which is September. That's like every team. We're here to play as well as we possibly can to qualify for football in September and that finals footy. The balance with that is us being able to have players at their best if and when you get there. So we've still got some work to do in that space. But, for us to be able to manage Taylor this week, a huge bonus for our squad. Tex at his best is really important to us, and we will need to manage him for him to be able to do that. We also need to see our team, like we did tonight, where, can a slightly younger group get it done against the best or one of the best, and that's what Sydney are, and we did that away from home tonight. So I said in the post-game, I said, I hope Adelaide's rocking at the moment, because it would have been one of those ones. I know my mum would have been sitting there stressing out and ready to abuse me anyway if we'd lost it, but she'd be up and about at the moment, which is good.
Matthew Nix last night post-game, so the Crows up to third for the time being. 1300 558 222 to talkback number. That's 1300 558 222. Who is the second best team in it as it currently stands? If Fremantle's the one seed, and you're not what the ladder suggests, but at least in terms of your power rankings, who would you have as number 2?
Well, Sydney are going to finish second because they're still a game clear of Adelaide, and their run home, we spoke about Adelaide's run home. Mm-hmm. They've got the Giants, the Saints, Port, Essendon, North Melbourne to finish with. You'd think that they're going to win 4 of them, which puts them in second. I know you said not the ladder position. It's a clear cut for me at the minute, and the team that I'm thinking of is the Brisbane Lions. Can they go again? We know this time of year, they're just starting to sharpen the pencil, aren't they? Don't worry about the prelim part, the early part of the year, the middle part of the year. Let's get our troops ready to go. And they're sharpening their pencil right now. I can see it. You know, you get McCluggage back. He'll be playing unbelievable football in 4 weeks' time. Zorko back now in the mix.
Well, I think the exciting thing is it's up for grabs. It's up for debate, isn't it? I think it's the exciting thing in the competition. And then even with the top seed, and they're absolutely rightfully the top seed, there's still that lingering question mark as to how they're going to go when they get to September. So I think you're right. I think, you know, Brisbane are building, aren't they? And in terms of talent, we've been talking about it all year. In terms of talent, I feel like they're the team that can win it at 90 to 95%. It's just whether, and it feels like Chris has got them now really arrowed in on a 2-month opportunity, hasn't he? So I think if you had to seed them at the moment, I think that's right. Probably the Lions. I think the Hawks are the other one. And they get some players back this week. With Will Day back into that middle playing well, I think they're the other one who can really do some damage.
Are they still one gun midfielder, and that's why they went after Merritt last year? I feel they're one real good midfielder down, but for me, they're the best kicking team in the competition. Good kicking teams usually win a lot of games.
Yeah, and defensively too.
Yeah,
Barris, Battleback. I think I like what I'm seeing with the Hawks too.
Andrew from Q East is the first of our callers. 1300 558 222. Hello, Andrew.
Hi guys, how are you?
We're well, thank you.
Yeah, good to chat with you again. I've got a question about, with all the talk about the rules and like umpiring. I mean, particularly coming off the back of last Saturday with the controversial call in the Hawks-Carlton game. How often is too often to be changing the rules? A co-worker at work suggested that the rule changes should only occur every 5 years. What's your guys' thoughts about this?
It's an interesting take, isn't it? To have almost like a blackout period where, regardless of what happens in the game, we're not changing the rules. So don't even discuss it for 4 years. Let's call it. It's an interesting thought,
it is. Your counter argument to that is what happens if they bring a rule in and it doesn't work, and it is a real bad one. I think we've got one real bad one right now. It's the stand rule. And the visual of it just doesn't sit well with me. We've got guys facing the wrong way with their back to the kicker because they're too scared to do a 360 and stand the mark. It's bizarre.
I'm a stand rule believer.
I think there's merit in it, Corbin, absolutely. But if you've got the football and I'm meant to be facing you, but all of a sudden now I'm facing the wing, looking at the stand, and the guy can run. That's the visual part that I don't like.
Yeah. I think that the player would be able to turn around, wouldn't he? Like, is that the player trying to emphasise the...
But they're not doing it, are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I see it once a game now. I think it looks terrible.
To do it.
Yeah.
Or two people stand the mark because they don't know who's allowed to leave.
So since 2012, this is the highest transition that we've had in the game. So D50 to inside 50, the rate of 23%. So basically 1 in every 4, the ball is moving from one end of the ground to the other.
And that's what they want.
And the average of stand free kicks for 50-metre penalties each round is less than 5 a weekend. So, and I feel like even like the Matt Stevic era last weekend, for example, and Ben Cameron pointed this out on the ABC AFL Daily podcast, that essentially that is not a stand rule free kick. That's encroaching on the mark. That would have happened pre-stand rule. That essentially that still would have been 50 metres. So it does have an image problem. I'd 100% agree with you there with the stand rule at the moment.
Those are interesting numbers, aren't they? And I think that's was it 5 that
average of 5.
They're jarring, aren't they?
Yep.
Because they look silly. And so everyone, those that, and we're all a bit like that, who are footy purists, let's call it, that's not how we want to play footy. That's not how we grew up playing. We're asking them to do something that's not natural and against their instinct. So, but I tend to be with you, Cole. I don't think you could debate the fact that the intention, the original intention, is absolutely, there's enough evidence to say that it's worked. It's just at times, the look of it and the feel of it just is a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, the rule is working 100%. You just mentioned those stats, transition from defensive 50 to forward 50. That's what the AFL want, and it's fantastic.
And we tend to forget what it was like before that. And what we were crying foul about before that.
Yeah. We had some dark years, didn't we, in the way that the game looked, and I think the other thing is that particularly for people that are a certain age, and we're all around a similar age, but it feels like people have this yearning for contest and congestion and everything else. That was never Australian rules football. If anything, the game now looks more like what it was traditionally or what it was designed to be. That was kind of borrowed from other sports, and sort of certainly throughout, when you guys played in the mid-noughties, it became sort of more and more of the game. But it was never designed to be that. It was never meant to have as many stoppages and contests as what had crept in.
To answer the question though from the caller, I think 5 years is a little bit
long.
Yeah, a little bit too long.
Because we know what the coaches will do.
Yeah.
Won't they?
They'll manipulate every rule. Don't worry about that.
That's right. Yeah.
I was interested in the AFLPA's survey during the week. I don't know how many of you guys caught up with this. The Insight and Impact Report, which is basically where they polled a bunch of the players on certain questions in the game. They answered questions when it came to concussion, to their experiences online, and some of the horrors that they faced there. But when they were quizzed about the laws of the game, I was fascinated by this. So 57% of players in this survey said their understanding is low when it comes to rough conduct. 66% said that they feel that the sanctions are unfair, so 2 in every 3. And 44% say their understanding is low when it comes to careless contact with an umpire. And again, 68% there feel that the sanctions when it comes to that are unfair. There's a couple of ways to chop this up. I mean, one is, are the players simply watching enough football? Are they watching enough of the game if there feels like there's such a lack of understanding as to what is allowed and what isn't allowed? Or is it simply too complex for them to get their head around?
I think there's a mixture of both. Absolutely your first point. The boys now, and I think I was different. I'm not sure about you, boy. I'm a footy nerd. I love watching it, and I still watch. If I was at home on the couch, I'd watch every game of football this weekend, no doubt. So no, they don't watch enough football, and if they did, they'd find out from Thursday night, Friday night, what the sort of rule of the week is, and they'd be smarter about it. I still think there's confusion though, and I think it's more based around the rough contact in the tackling part. And is it based on outcome versus technique? So there is confusion with the players around that. I've got a quick question before you answer it, Paulie. Why don't you get suspended or fined when you bump into the goal umpire?
That's
still an umpire, isn't he?
Good question.
Or she?
Good question. I mean, the goal umpire is a bit more. They'll jockey for positions, won't they? Like they'll try and stand there on the line even when there's a bunch of players that are
not as
around.
But that is a dangerous spot. But you're right. I would have thought if it was deemed to be really careless, then
I've never seen a fine. I've never seen a fine or a suspension on a goal umpire. And remember David Roden, he got knocked over, and there was a few of them that they got knocked right over. You talk about the congestion.
Yeah.
The umpire is at a stoppage, throwing it up with 16 people around him. There's more congestion there than there is on the goal line.
A bit more leniency granted when maybe defenders are diving to touch a ball or something like that, and maybe it's deep.
And that's more
not as careless. Maybe I'm just trying to.
That's more important of you beating me to the ball in the middle of the MCG, Paulie. I don't see the difference. But
no,
anyway.
I think part of the field umpire stuff is based on it really is a safety thing. There's been some significant injuries from the field umpires, backing back and the whiplash and neck injuries and stuff. I can't quite recall. It's funny. I just had a flashback of that black and white footage of the goal umpire.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
I can't quite recall getting it. Maybe our listeners can ring in what game that was, but can't quite recall a goal umpire injury. Actually, no, that's not true. There was a goal umpire had an ACL, didn't he? Going probably back 4 or 5 years.
I know we had a boundary umpire earlier this year snap his wrist, slid over on the Richmond Melbourne game, got taken out of the game. So
they got a spare goal umpire too. He or she sits on the bench and ready to go just in case.
1300 558 222. This is the award-winning AFL Saturday on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemass, Luke Ball and Brent Boomer Harvey taking your calls. Danny from Dalesford is the next of our callers. Hello, Danny.
Hi, gentlemen. Just a couple of things. I'll come back to what I originally wanted to talk to you about with strategies that are coming in. But just quickly on that goal umpire versus field umpire. The field umpire actually tells the players, I'm going to be exiting out this way. They know exactly where he's going to be. With a goal umpire, the goal umpire will rush to be in line with the kick so that he can see it between the posts. So the players or the goal umpire don't know where they're going to be until the ball's been kicked or comes over the goal.
Yeah.
As far as the game and the rules, I'm a bit concerned. It's becoming like basketball or soccer where the players can manipulate the umpire decision. So with the stand rule, the player, rather than getting the ball moving, which it's designed for, if the two players are on the mark, the player will hold it up until hopefully one of them makes a mistake and draw the 50 metres. A player will knock the ball back onto the boot or shin of another player to try to force a kick in. And also the other one was the obvious one with Papley last night, keeping out, rather than tackling a player, keeping out so that the player rushing the ball through would give a free kick.
Yeah, I didn't think that. In the end, it didn't cost them a goal. I thought that was a bit hard there in the third quarter, I think, especially in the conditions.
I didn't like it either, but
I thought that was...
I've checked this with our man.
All clear?
Razor's ticked it off. Said it's exactly how it should be done. That Papley sagged off and that's how it should be interpreted. I didn't necessarily like that.
Well, is Razor on later?
He's on.
Okay,
we can argue with him today.
That's to me. And usually I'm in lockstep with Razor.
I know, usually.
Yeah, no, I'm not copying that.
It's not in the spirit of the rule, I think.
I actually think Danny's on the money. That's a really good call. You watch players now, and now that they've brought it to our attention, you watch for it. You get the ball 80 metres out, you clearly can't kick a goal. Players will absolutely fake the handball, hoping that they come over the mark, they get a 50 to kick a goal. That is happening more and more. And players, like coaches, always going to manipulate the rules to your advantage.
I think, I agree, it happens. I can't remember the last time the player got sucked in, though, and bought it.
Well, they changed the rules.
They did change the rules.
They changed the rules. If you feint to go you're allowed to move now, because beforehand everyone was doing the old...
So that's a good application. That's common sense, isn't it? It's a really good use of common sense.
But I think the one stands out. We talk about there's only 5 a weekend. When one happens, it's often a dramatic penalty and everyone rolls their eyes, and so it gets a lot of attention. But I would say 99 times out of 100, the play moves on quickly. The guy gives the handball, the ball zings. No one stands around and goes, hey, how good's the stand rule? Look at that. The ball's freed up. So it doesn't get the plaudits that it deserves when it works well, but it gets a ridiculous amount of attention when it doesn't. I feel like if we went back to 1926, 100 years ago, and walked into a corner pub, that they'd be sitting around arguing about the umpiring, wouldn't they? Like, is there a little element of this?
That's never going to change.
It comes around every single year, and it sort of feels like in the depths of winter that we all get a little grumpy. Perhaps talking points are short, and it feels like the umpiring dominates a lot of conversation. And I feel like it's been highlighted in the last 2 years in particular, where Laura Kane, who was in the role previously, got a whole lot of heat and. We can have a debate about, whether there was a little bit more on that for certain reasons or others or whatever it turns out to be. And then it was, let's get these great, football people and people from Clubland in at AFL House, and they're going to clean it up, and we're never going to have any arguments again when it comes to the running of the game. And so Greg Swan's there and Tom Harley and everything else. And you know what? They're great people too, and they do a good job and everything else, the same way that Laura Kane was. But it's still the same issues. We're still talking about umpiring. We're talking about little things in the game that aren't necessarily, why don't we clean up the little things? And it's a huge industry, and there's lots of conversation around it. But I can't help but feel like some of these issues repeat every single year, regardless of what we're doing.
Corbin, is footy that's a silly question already, I know. It's going to sound silly. Footy's an evolving game. Right, we've always got to keep up with what's new, and we look at every other sport around the world. It's like any business, isn't it? You've got to evolve with going forward. So, you get a lot of people saying, "Just leave the game, leave the game." You actually can't just leave the game, otherwise it's going to be a silly look. And it is in 5 years.
It is in pretty good health, isn't it? Overall, like it's I think that
it's
more
a great
game. A lot of changes have been through necessity. I mean, you can't on one hand talk about. Shine a big light on concussion and player safety,
and do nothing about
it on the field. So a lot of the changes have been through necessity. Now that to me, that doesn't mean that the game's gone soft or anything like that. I mean, you go and sit and as you will this afternoon, and you see with Cooper, don't you? I mean, the game. gosh, we did the St Kilda Port game. Like, some of those hits, and it is a ferocious game. Played at breakneck speed. So you're right, Guy. I'm with you there, Corb. There's always going to be issues. Having said that, just quickly before we finish, there is the reality of let's call it the umpiring list, and Greg Swan's been on the record of saying they're trying to fast track some more inexperienced and younger umpires through the system. And the reality is that, like young players, inexperienced players, they're going to make the odd mistake that really drives people mad, the 50-51 or the 40-61. They're going to make those mistakes, but they're only going to make less of them by umpiring in these sort of big games under pressure. So I think, it's frustrating for supporters, no doubt, but we just need to be a bit patient with it as well.
Have you ever umpired a game of football?
It's a great question, and I think everyone should have to umpire at the junior level. Do a season of umpiring.
I've done one game, and I literally came off and I said, I will never, ever do that again.
I honestly think at some stage, at 13 or 14 or 15, everyone should have to do a season of
I've never been abused. I actually thought I'd done an unbelievable job. I'd never been abused so much in my life for an hour.
Russell from Surrey Hills, the next of our callers, 1300 558 222. Hello, Russell.
Yeah, hi, how you going?
We're well, thank you.
That's right. Hey, look, I've got a modification to the stand rule, and what I would do is, if you have been in the contest, like a contested mark between two players, then the player who doesn't have the ball is not subject to the stand rule. But if someone has just taken an uncontested mark and the opposition sort of runs up and sort of stands there, then they are subject to the stand rule. And that would mean it would sort of balance the playing field a bit, because, you've got someone who's come in and competed and tried to contest with a mark. They shouldn't be unduly penalised for having to stand. So that would be my take on it.
Good on you, Russell. Appreciate that. We'll take that as comment. 1300 558 222. It's the opposite at the moment, isn't it? If you're in the 5 metre radius, you have to stand. If you're not in the radius, you can't get into the area. But I think
only one has to stand. And I think that's where Russell's
one
heading.
per team. It's up to you to work out who it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the infringing player or anything like that. Kel is in Colac, the next of our callers. 1300 558 222. Hello, Kel.
Yeah, thanks, fellas, for taking me call. My call's in relation to Fremantle, and Cara Antonio made a comment regarding Fremantle when they were playing Gold Coast, and she said that Fremantle was one of the best teams that she'd seen live for some time. And I'm just wondering, in the panel, you obviously watch a lot of footy. Do you feel the same way? Like, it's really good to watch a good team when they play, and they're well drilled. And so if you could just ask the guys, what do you think of that? It was a really good comment. I really liked it. So what's your view in Fremantle in regard to the way they play?
Thanks, Cal. Appreciate that. It's interestingly, just on the data viewpoint before the guys give the eye test, Daniel Hoyne said during the week, Fremantle number 1 for offence, number 2 for defence. If that profile maintains, it'll be the best in 20 years that we've seen a team profile, if they go on and win the premiership.
And I think it backs up the eye test, doesn't it? And I think from what it seems like what they've added is the offensive stuff. I think Boom. I think they've been building. And look, you can argue that that's all great teams do. They start with a defensive system and a rock solid system, and there's a non-negotiable about the contest. You've got to have players who can win contests. But it feels like they've really unlocked their offensive game this year.
And I think you coach to personnel as well. I mean, you add in Shea Bolton. He's offence or defence. A very good offence, isn't he? And I'm sure he does great defence things, but he is an offence beast. You got Hayden Young, who can kick the football like, he's unbelievable. So you coach around personnel as well. And I think that was the knock on Longmire beforehand. Not enough offence. And you're right. I heard someone say it the other day, Bawley, they've matured as a group. And it's happened really, really quickly. They have matured. They're not relying on Brayshaw or Sarong. They have got an abundance of young kids now coming in and playing around. Then you look at their three tools just work. There's not too many other teams in the competition that have three that work. Them three just work. Yeah. And they're a really good team to watch now.
Yeah, they are. And they're healthy, clearly. And you need a little bit of luck with that, but they've clearly prepared themselves really well and continue to do so. you go back to that Sydney game in the second half. They were off for 5-day break and travel, and they just ran them ragged. And that, so they must be really fit too. Yep. So that's to your point. You play to your strengths and your team strengths, and clearly they're not only a physically strong team, but a very very fit running team.
Thanks, Cal. Appreciate your call. 1300 558 222 is the talkback number. We'll be back in 15 seconds from now. More of your calls coming up. 1300 558 222 plus the Cats. A huge injury out of their Thursday night encounter with the Saints. So where does it leave them in the broader context of the season? This is AFL Saturday on ABC Sport.
How much can we really know about the dead?
In our podcast, we're gossiping each week about the divas, ruffians and con men of Australia's past.
So join me, Alicia Simmons.
And me, Lee Boucher. Search the Dead Can't Sue podcast on ABC.
This is AFL Saturday
on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital
and ABC Listen. Just look for the AFL button.
They're back in the winners list. And Geelong extend St Kilda's drought at Kardinia Park. 27 years and counting. The Cats by 27. That's how it finished on Thursday night. So Geelong winners for just the second time in the last 7 weeks. They get home by 27 points. They kicked the first 26 points of the night. Yeah. And really, they never surrendered the lead from that point on. There was a huge moment in the third quarter where Cooper Sharman could have run one to the goal line. He had a shot from 40 out. It slid across the face, missed. He kicks that goal, Saints within 11. 11, yeah. All the momentum having kicked the last 4. Instead, he misses. Whooshka. Ball goes one end of the ground to the next. Geelong score from the kick out. They kick 6 of the next 7 goals and led by 47 points in the last quarter. A question out of this game, though, is do you believe in Geelong's premiership hopes more or less coming out of the performance on Thursday night? So, yes, they win, but, gee, they lose a huge name in Max Holmes, who's off to Brisbane for surgery. So I think that's the point, isn't it? I think it was a good performance. Wasn't a really mature performance. Everyone focused on the 7 changes and the outs, and wondered whether that was too many, and that they'd lose their connection off the back of that. But they were too strong early, weren't they? And I think even Ross admitted that they dialed the heat up, and the Saints weren't able to handle it. Started in the middle of the ground, led by Bailey Smith, who was just superb again. And I think having Myers and Close back in, I think even though they're not at their best, it just looked a bit more like the Geelong that we've come to know over that.
It's amazing to think that he could be sitting in the Graham Myers, that is, sitting in the twos, playing football for that football club, because he's a walk-up start for any other team in the competition. But, yeah, they're good, and I'm sure we'll touch on Max Holmes in a second. It's massive. It is massive. He's actually a star. Watch him live a couple of times now. He's run and drive off half-back or in the guts when Bailey Smith needs a bit of a chop out. And around them, they've just got some hard players, haven't they? And they don't lose down there. I was the same boy. I got sucked in the 7 changes. Yeah. I changed my tips 15 minutes on my tip. 15 minutes before they played, I thought 7 changes. This is not good. And they just win down there.
Looked like they had a run, didn't they? But it felt like the Cats always had their measure. But that's a big blow, isn't it? And he's injured that league before. I think he's had a similar injury, but surgery straight away. That's syndesmosis. God, why is syndesmosis such a thing these days?
That's a season, isn't it?
Well, it'd be hard to see him coming back.
And if he does come back, it's not the running Max Holmes that we're...
That's right, yeah.
Played 80 consecutive games, so he's had a long run at it now since he's obviously his famous hamstring injury in the prelim.
That's right, yeah. And so, and a hamstring for Manor as well, who's been in terrific form. So that makes the Myers and Close... reintroduction even more important, and I think what Holmes goes out, the focus, the opposition's focus will turn squarely to Bailey Smith, won't it?
Shut him down, bigger chance.
And look, he was brilliant the other night. He had attention at times from Windhager, didn't he? But he wasn't able to curb his influence at all. But how is he going to go without his running mate there in Max Holmes? And who have they got to bring in to really cover? It's hard to cover a play like that, isn't it? But whereas with Cameron, I feel like, and we saw it with young Polkinghorne, who was brilliant, wasn't he? And he had Wilkie for a lot of the game. And
they'll find one. They'll find one to replace him.
They usually do, don't they?
So you think Holmes is a greater loss than Cameron?
I think for right now, I think he is. I mean, Cameron hasn't been at his best for a significant part of the year, has he? And I think they, with Dangerfield going forward, or now young Polkinghorne comes in, they were able to cover that. We saw that the other night. I just think Holmes, he's a top 20 player in the comp, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe even better. So, and I think the flow-on effect, as I said, given they're a bit light on through the middle of the ground anyway, Holmes is a huge...
Oh, I totally agree with Paulie. I think he's a bigger loss than Jeremy Cameron right now.
If you were stacking, Geelong's best players or the guys you would least want to lose, what are they? 2 of the top 3, 2 of the top 4. If you want to put guys like Tom Stewart and Bailey Smith in that mix. Didn't escape Chris Scott post-game last night. This is before they knew the extent of the injury, and he already had those thoughts.
I think everyone says syndesmosis these days. That's the easy go-to, but there has been that suggestion, but... I covered my ears, to be honest. I'll just wait to see what it is and deal with it when we know. But yeah, I mean, but it is obviously it's frustrating. But it is the game. If you asked me a couple of weeks ago, who do you really not want to lose? Cameron and Holmes would be up there.
Absolutely. Only 23,737 there on Thursday night, so brand new spanking stadium and all these seats.
Don't love their Thursday nights, I heard Lingy say.
Yes, but...
the run home too, Corbin, is pretty good for the Cats.
Yeah, they've got a good last 3. They're going to have to try and pinch one of the next 2, I think, or they'll probably find themselves in that 6 to 8 spot.
D's next, Pies after that.
Yeah, and you think about the D's, and just one more thing. I thought the best player on the ground, Smith maybe, but... Rowan Marsh. So, again, that challenge that they've got rears its head.
It's been around for a long time.
For years.
Their ruck
for years.
dilemma, hasn't
They've never been able to plug it. And De Koning showed a little bit. And Young, his name escapes me, Edwards, the big fella. Tried hard. But Rowan Marshall just had his way with them. And you think about who they've got next week and ahead, if they're going to make any sort of run. How are they going to go against Gawn? How are they going to go against Jackson, Grundy? It's a real issue.
Who starts favourite Friday night? D's or the Cats?
Well, right here, right now, Melbourne, the MCG. We'll see how they go today.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Might determine how they go today. They win by 100. That's definitely Melbourne. If they lose today, the Kangas.
Brent Harvey in the house. AFL Saturday on ABC Sport. Corporate Middlemass and Luke Ball taking your calls. 1300 558 222. James is the next of our callers. Hello, James. Appreciate your call.
G'day, thanks for taking my call, guys, and thanks for the great preamble. I just want to mention that with all these academies that are interstate, why don't we have a dedicated Indigenous Players Academy in Darwin or Alice Springs?
I think the answer to that is, so the Next Generation Academies, which were set up probably almost about 10 years ago now, are... designed to attract and bring in Indigenous talent. And so those regions that you spoke about, so every club was designated a region, including Darwin and Northern Territory, and broader Northern Territory. I think Alice Springs falls under Melbourne's area, and I think Darwin's is the Suns.
That's right. So that they are linked. So First Nations players can essentially be NGA picks to those to those clubs and are tied there. So
we spoke about it, didn't we, last week? So I think at the front end, getting those young footballers in at a young age is really good. The challenge is then when it comes to drafting them, when the rubber meets the road. I think that was that conversation we had last week, whether a Category B rookie spot, so a spot or two outside of the club's primary list, because what can tend to happen is when the spaces on the list are so small, and they have to make a 50-50 decision between maybe an Indigenous player and another non-Indigenous player, that they might tend to err towards the other side. So maybe I think there's some merit in that, having spots outside the primary list for
and they've tried it for everything else, haven't they? They've had the veterans list, they've had the sub list, they've had a lot of lists. Let's keep exploring. Absolutely.
James, appreciate your call. Rod is the next of our callers. Hello, Rod.
G'day, fellas. How are you?
Well, thank you.
My question or my statement is around James Hird and also Dean Solomon. So the next 5-6 weeks is just a waste of time basically for Essendon. This is a silly suggestion, but might get some ideas going. But my suggestion is that Hird comes in now.
What do you reckon, Corby?
Not for me. Sell it to me, Rod.
I can't. Well, they're also about Hird being the Messiah and coming back, and that how he's going to. It's going to be the narrative of he's coming back and making things right and doing all the right things, and the redemptive script. But I don't believe in it, for one. But we just get it out of the way. Just get Herd out of the way. Move forward. Get a real coach. Get like an up-to-date coach. Get someone like Corey Enright in the seat and move forward.
So he's saying, don't wait. If it has to go that way anyway, let's get him in for a 6-week season now.
So I get the media storyline around it. As a media person, I'm also an Essendon fan to declare that up front. There's no better story than James Herd comes back to Essendon, the drama that's associated with it. But I get why it's of interest for a lot of people in the media. We're not hearing anything out of Essendon to suggest that that's over the line yet. So we've had 2 runs at this now. One when Brad Scott was initially sacked and it felt like, Herd's a fait accompli. Then the noise quieted down. They went and did a process. Now the process has begun. Herd's met with Essendon once. They had one coffee date and then they'll go to the next round of interviews and you think Herd will be part of that in some way, shape or form. But we are a long way still from James Herd being appointed as the next senior coach of Essendon. So I get that people, that duck in and out of this space and they might, hear the news and the noise in the media and feel like it's all over the line. I still don't feel like, as we sit here today on the 18th of July, that it's the favoured way. He's in the process, but he still has to win the job. And the other thing is the Essendon board and the Carlton board and all these other clubs that are out there trying to find a coach at the moment, it is a stacked field. So you're going to want to have a really good explanation to your members as to why we're ignoring John Longmire or Adam Simpson or Simon Goodwin or any of these premiership coaches, and we're going to ignore Ken Hinkley with 13 years of experience and all these top 2 finishes and everything else. It is a very competitive field. So there is a long process, I think, to still be played out.
Not to mention the highly regarded assistants,
all those guys,
first-timers with great CVs.
Does it have to be an Essendon person?
I don't think so.
You're an Essendon man. Yeah. Do you think it needs to be? Because that's the noise coming out of Essendon. Yeah. It has to be an Essendon person.
I get the sense that there would be, in Essendon's... I think at this point they still don't actually know. They're going to go through the process with an open mind and find who they want. I think they would love to have a lot of Essendon people involved, but not necessarily as, it has to be the senior coach. So why couldn't you have a figurehead and then you have all these other club legends working in and around the club? So there's one part which is the passion for the club, and I spoke about this a bit on Monday, that I actually feel like what's playing out at the moment counts against the James Herd case, and I hope he gets a run at it. And if he wins the job, it's going to have to be based off more than just passion for the club. It was put to me that, James Herd's like the Carey figure, and Dean Solomon was like the Archer figure when it comes to Essendon, right? In the way that it pans out there. So part of that, when you look at it in that particular lens, you couldn't find a more passionate person about Essendon than Dean Solomon. So for James Herd, it needs to be more than just passion, because we're seeing right now what passion looks like.
I was going to make that point. What's not helping at the moment is the on-field performance. And it's not about necessarily wins. There's just no...
Does that hurt Solomon?
Fight. Well, I don't know if he really... he certainly hasn't declared. Does it hurt him if he really wants the job? Perhaps it does. I don't know. But again...
He's not going to get the job.
He's not going to get... No, he hasn't been in the system per se either. Remember, he's come off the board now. I just don't think that can happen anymore. But you're right, amazing Essendon person. But they just need, again, not necessarily a win. They just need a bit more to hang their hat on the field at the moment. And that'll just, everything else will quieten down a bit.
So the timing, Corbin.
Yep.
So you're saying no right now? No, about James Herd coaching. Yeah, it's a flat no.
Early. And too early.
In agreement.
Yep.
When, and not James Herd, when's the timeline? When do they need to appoint this coach?
Well, usually they bob up around September, don't they?
It is imperative.
Early, mid-September?
They have to let him have a hand in the trading, the drafting.
Yeah.
I think this
whoever the coach is.
Whoever it is, take James Herd out of it, whoever it is, they need to be front and centre in the list that they want to build.
I think we'll hear it. They'll be targeting a decision in the last 2 weeks of the home and away season, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a month away.
Yeah, 4 weeks, yeah.
The Blues are a fascinating conversation. I mentioned it off the top. I almost feel a little bit like the Blues are trying to hold off this huge barnstorming narrative of Josh Fraser, that it feels like the momentum that they certainly lived through with the Teague train. And he's got a 7-1 record, obviously thudding back down to earth last week with the loss to Hawthorn in the wet. But they played Collingwood tonight, who they never beat. In the last 31 meetings, Carlton have won 6 of them. So this is their chief rival, and they never, ever beat the Pies. And now they're in this point where they're playing for a wildcard spot. Collingwood, we talk about them being the gatekeeper. If Carlton win tonight and Josh Fraser goes 8-1, and it's the name that won't go away, and he said multiple times that he doesn't want the job and everything else.
Sign him on Monday morning.
The Carlton Football Club are going to have to, again, try to explain to their members who have been through absolute misery, really haven't won anything. Their best footy memory in the last 30 years as a prelim run or whatever in 2023. But they've tried everything. They've tried the caretaker. They've tried the messiah. They've tried the best credentialed assistant coach. Imagine if you go on a run where you win 8 out of 9 games, and then you've got this guy there that's clearly found the secret stuff, whatever it is. He's competing for a wild card spot and gets the team in the position. And you're going to say, just based off whatever happened with Teague or whatever it turns out with, no, we're going in a different direction. Imagine if Josh Fraser goes and coaches another team and has overwhelming success or whatever it turns out to be. How can you be so sure that the guy that's currently there performing the job is not the guy?
I don't think, knowing Graham Wright a little bit and what I saw, I don't think he'll be concerned with any of that. I think what it will be is a decision as to whether Josh joins the process, but they're going through a process. And if you don't like that word, they're going to stick to their guns as to what it was going to look like 8 weeks ago. He could run the slate from here on in. They're still going to, and it'll be whether, hey Josh, you've had a good look at it now. Do you want to apply for the job? But there'll be no handicapping either. He'll be in the mix with whoever else it is. And
for what it's worth, I think he's doing an amazing job. Not just win-loss. I actually love his interviews after the game. He's still wearing his hoodie. He's. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a breath of fresh air. Actually saying, and people are starting to question, is he really thinking this? I actually think he is. I think what you see is what you get, and the honesty for me is pretty refreshing.
Yep. Do you think Carlton's worried about the external hype that comes in when if all of a sudden he gets the support of the Carlton fan base, they come and then all of a sudden the Blues are trying to run a process concurrently to that, and it's clearly there's a fan favourite pick.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think Graham Wright and Chris Davies, those two very experienced footy people, have made big decisions. This is their opportunity to stamp their imprimatur on the club. That not at all. I don't think.
Jack Noel essentially reported today it's still not too late for Josh Fraser to be part of this process yet. James Kelly, by the way, there was a report also by Jake during the week essentially saying he's going to prioritise the Carlton job over the Essendon job, which sort of my ears pricked up when I heard that, and I asked him about it on Thursday night when he joined us on ABC Sport.
I'm sort of not fully in or fully out of any process at this stage, and I think specifically about the Essendon one, I reckon there's been enough noise around the whole process itself, so I'm kind of reserving my right not to talk about it if I don't have to. Out of respect for both footy clubs, I don't want to be talking about either one out of school. Their process is their process. How they want to do it is up to them. So I'm just along for the ride, and I'll find out what I need to find out in due course.
So he went on to essentially say, look, he's not out of the Essendon process. And I kind of thought on that point, well, you don't really have a decision to make, do you, until you're offered both jobs. Then it's at the point where you essentially got to say, hey, I'm more in this one or I'm more in that one. Is that unusual?
I heard that. No, he didn't. Has he been quoted as saying that he was in on one and out on the other?
Well, you heard what he said there. That feels like that's a Chris Scott answer there.
Yeah, I thought he answered it pretty well. Correct, it was.
He did answer it well. Good. Yeah. I'm still trying to think of what he said. I can't even remember what he said now.
I think it's also, I genuinely believe them, given they both happened so early in the season, and this is a guy who's all in on his current club and his current role and trying to push towards another premiership with them. I just think they're not really ready to fully commit to it yet, to get their ducks in a row. And he wants to be a senior coach, no doubt about it, as does Hayden Skipworth and Corey Enright, and possibly Josh Fraser now. But it's a big decision. And so I just think that it's all happened a bit too early for them. And I think he's trying to buy himself a bit of time there.
How many years did he spend at Essendon, James Kelly?
A couple as a player and then a couple as a coach. He's really impressive. So I think he gets there at some stage.
So does he qualify as an Essendon person on the back of that?
It's a good question.
Good question, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. Tony is the next of our callers from Fitzroy. Hello, Tony.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to comment on that free kick reversed against Messiah, and I'd like to see that happen more often. You've won the free kick. Get on with it. This rubbish about letting your opponent know about it. It's undisciplined. It's selfish. It's putting your ego before the team. And it's got its parallel with, in cricket, we had a send-off and Pat Cummins stamped that out. So I'd like to see the umpires come down even more harder on it and get rid of it.
I agree with that. I can't stand the taunting. Albeit even if it's not a major thing or a major action, I don't like it at all. So, and I agree. It's putting yourself before the team for that brief moment. And I get it. And he was he had a rough night, didn't he? He had, which is always going to happen. He had the best tagger in the game at the moment in his back pocket the whole night. But you've just got to be you've got to be disciplined. And I agree. Good call.
And Greg Swan agrees, doesn't he, with the taunting rule? You ruffle someone's hair, and as he said, reinforced during the week, they didn't have to change any rules for that. It counts as high contact. You touch someone above the neck, free kick.
They brought that in a long time ago, though. I reckon maybe 7 years ago, and then it just disappeared. But now it's obviously back on the agenda. And did they make a rule? Was that an official rule change, or was it just
I think they
umpired differently?
They just basically, the
said,
way it's interpreted,
this is how it's going to work.
To change an official rule for it. Grant from Port Cook. Hello, Grant.
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for taking my call. A lot's been said about St Kilda's off-season and the player movements. And a big part of that was the decision to move on Jack Steele as the captain. Given the emergence of the likes of Hugo Garcia, Darcy Wilson, Phillip, who is coming on the last couple of weeks, have been really good. Max Hall has also been really good. Jack Steele's been very good for Melbourne. Probably tape it off a little bit. Is it one of those rare possibilities that all parties won in that situation?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair comment. You take the emotion out of it, which you can't be sort of flippant about that, because this is a guy who captained the club, dual best and fairest winner, a real heart and soul type player. So, you take the emotion out, and I think it's a reasonable call, because if he's taking the set of bounces of a Garcia and a Darcy Wilson, they don't get the opportunity to develop like they have. So from a pure footy point of view, I think that's a good call. I think it's been a positive, or that opportunity for the Saints players has been positive, and I think he's had a real impact at Melbourne too, especially with Oliver and Petrarca moving on.
We're on the clock here, as I always get crunched towards the back end of the program, but the Roos, Boomer, if they don't finish in the top 10, is the season still a success for the Kangas?
I've got to be careful how I answer this, Corbin. The short answer for me would be yes, from where we were last year. But if I go back 4 years when Alistair Clarkson came into the football club to say that we wouldn't make a 10, I think 4 years ago, yes, it would be a disappointment. I think right now you could say, yes, it still could be a success with a launch pad to go again next year. But next year becomes a bloody big year.
Yeah, I agree. Percentage at 91.5. Take the Freo game out. I think that probably goes up towards 95, 96. So to me, that says in games for longer, pushing teams that they need to start beating next year.
Correct.
And today's a good example of that. So it's a winnable game today. Melbourne away from, at Marvel, Melbourne entitled to be favourite, but this is a game where North should be really sizing up a win.
4 of their 8 wins are Richmond and Essendon.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we get from the Kangas today. We'll be there, Bally, for that. Yep. Just on, where was it? Oh, the Suns. So, curious week. Damien Hardwick basically says, season's pretty much gone. Wave the white flag. They're only a game and percentage out. The club was pretty quick to try and walk that back during the week, and obviously try and sell tickets to Sunday's game where they're hosting the Western Bulldogs tomorrow. What do we get from the Suns? Like, do they come out breathing fire? Do they come out like, they've already got the queue in the rack? I'm fascinated as to what we're going to get from the Suns and what we're going to get from the Bulldogs. I think the psychology of sport is huge in this game.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that fire to happen the last 7 weeks. Yeah. Is it 7 in a row they've lost?
7.
Yeah. Since the Kangaroos came from it's just been a falling off a cliff. Isn't it funny? Since that game that we did.
And every game I look, I think
good that day.
Yeah.
Anderson, Rao, King, Humphreys, they're just going to stand up. It's going to be a big game. Miller, and it's just not happening. Yeah. It's quite bizarre. And I think the coach come out and said that in frustration too. Yeah. I know it's in a press conference and it gets built up hugely, but they still think they can make finals, clearly.
We've got a few texts too about Nicky Winmar, who obviously has been dumped from the Australian Football Hall of Fame during the week after the serious charges. Didn't get any calls on that front, but I think that's absolutely the right call. I mean, and I know there's some overlapping issues here when we talk about trauma from repeated concussions and possible CTE, and I think Nicky's even said in the past that he feels like he's suffering from that. It's a First Nations player, and obviously the critical figure that he's been in the history of the football club. They're all parts of this overlapping issue in the Venn diagram, but when it comes to violence against women, it's pretty cut and dry. That this is an open and shut case, and there is obviously a clause in the Hall of Fame that allows for that. It was also put forward about some other members that are part of the Hall of Fame and what's happened there. And when it comes to serious criminal charges, it's not of the same level. A few of those have been accusations that have been out of court settlements, whatever it's turned out to be. So there's the differentiator there. I think it's only Barry Cable and now Nicky Winmar as the only two players that have been removed from the Hall of Fame on what is an all-round, a very sad episode for the game. Port Adelaide and Fremantle on the way, followed by the Roos and the D's, the blockbuster tonight, the Pies and the Blues, and the Eagles up against the Lions. Hall of Famer two-time over. Congratulations, Boomer.
Thanks, boys. Have a good call today. Go to Kangas.
Can't get an hour's sleep.
Thanks to Pat and thanks to Jules for all their work on the program. We're out of here. We are off to the footy. It is the Power and Fremantle on deck. You'll catch Bawley later today at Docklands for the Roos and the D's.
Do you know the next Australian of the Year? Are they raising funds for those in need? Or building a brighter future? Conducting research? Or inspiring future astronauts? See them, hear them, nominate them at australianoftheyear.org.au.
ABC Sport.
We begin this broadcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
Boy, we're going to have some fun.
The AFL in 2026 on ABC Sport.
And the siren sounds.
Here we go. Listen to the roar. It is showtime.
You take a seat because it don't get better than this.
Right to the goal line. Big boy, Jamie Elliott, the man who gravity forgot.
That's why we love AFL football.
On ABC Sport, this is the AFL.
Sit back, relax, witness the greatest. It don't get better than this.
From 45 and rides it all the way home.
An ambitious effort. Unbelievable.
The left foot is a goal. Oh, yeah.
Kicks on goal. The prancing pony.
What a goal.
He's off and running for 45 to get the party started. It's bouncing. It's through. Bailey Smith. He'll want the cameras on him right now.
Not camera action, baby. Countdown and contact.
Spins around and buries it.
Loads up from 55. That's a monster bomb.
40 metres out. Snaps towards goal. What a beautiful finish.
Bacon goal square. Goes for glory.
He eyes the goals and sends it home.
100% pure footy.
Every minute of every match, all season long.
Gathers, snaps, goal.
She's just football at its best.
Kick on goal. Dribbles it through. What about that? Took them all on and said, I'll have some of this.
Bailey pinches his pocket and bang, bang, bang. That's the price you pay against the Premier.
Watson snaps. Oh, Watson puts it through. And the Wizard arrives precisely on time. He's built for the big stage. On his left boot, his kick is good.
Inside 50, off a step, turns and goes bang. And snap. And goal. There's some bravery through the middle of the ground.
How good is that? What a goal. He wastes no time. He whacks it through for another. It doesn't have to be your night, but it can be your moment. Hands it to Charlie Cameron. He can walk it in. Show him your tail lights, Charlie.
Welcome to ABC Sports coverage of the 2026 AFL Premiership season.
Runs the 50 out. What a way to finish.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
and ABC Listen.
You take a seat because it don't get better than this.
It is David versus Goliath to kickstart your Saturday as the 15th place Power hosts the top of the table Dockers at Adelaide Oval. Fremantle closing in on their second minor premiership after dismantling their biggest threat in Perth. Meanwhile, Port Adelaide have lost their three biggest stars to injury and now must beat the ladder leaders without Butters, Rosie, Horn-Francis, Georgiades, Farrell
The list goes on, and it got worse this afternoon. A late change. Their original late in for Kane Farrell, Harrison Ram, is now out with illness. And as a result, Jacob Ware, who was originally omitted, back into the side. So 5 changes for Port Adelaide. They have 672 games coming out, 294 games of experience coming in. It would be the club's second biggest upset in history if they can pull it off ladder-wise. And Fremantle, meanwhile, are just hoping to get the job done and head back home 3 games clear of second with 5 rounds to go. And a win this afternoon would all but lock them into the top 4. They'd be 4 games clear of 5th. Aaron Bryant's to call the action for you at the Adelaide Oval. Glorious day in South Australia. Sun's out. Port Adelaide just made their way out onto the ground as well. Fremantle all ready to go, and alongside me in the ABC Sport Box, as always, is Tom Wilson. Afternoon, Tommy.
Good afternoon, Aaron. Good to see you. Great day. Hello to everyone. David versus Goliath. David Koch, you're referring to, I'm guessing, the chairman.
That's more the AFL, right? But
yeah, that's right. But they love their backs to the wall. That's sort of the message of Port Adelaide people, and I know I've got a staunch one sitting next to me, and Josh Franco, who we'll hear from shortly. But, David versus Goliath sums us up. We saw the Dockers kick 100 points and a half against the second-place team, Sydney, last week, and Port Adelaide have been gallant all season. Is this the day the dam wall bursts? We'll find out. They're so well drilled in defence and their defensive setup under Josh Carr. That's probably been their trademark of his first year as coach. So, it doesn't get much of a bigger test than this.
We always love selling an upset, but this is a hard case to make when your top 2 disposal and clearance winners aren't there. 2 of your top 3 goal scorers aren't playing. 5 of your top 11. 8 season-ending injuries, and their first time in 5 years without one of Connor Rozee, Zach Butters or Jason Horne-Francis. You mentioned Josh Franco, the 4-time Showdown medalist. He's here this afternoon. Welcome, Josh.
G'day, Aaron. G'day, Tom. Look, it's one of those games, isn't it? You walk into the ground today, and I find it really difficult to mount a case for Port Adelaide. It's almost, I use the analogy, it's almost going to the casino with someone else's money. You can get a free hit, and I think that's where Port Adelaide is at the moment. They get a free hit at this game. No one's expecting them to win. Hopefully they can minimise the damage. Probably the contributing factor to the outcome of this game and the margin will be the attitude that Fremantle roll in to Adelaide Oval today. But interestingly as well, when Port Adelaide running out the race, I would like to get the collective heart rate of that group. They're a young group. There's some first gamers. They'd be nervous, but hopefully they can put up a decent show.
Average age of 22
Wow.
this afternoon, so 3 years younger than Fremantle's side out there. A gained experience 30 per player less, and it's a difficult task when the Dockers had the opportunity to maybe rest some stars, and they went with Shea Bolton but brought Hayden Young back in, so their one change is just as prolific as the guy coming out. Alongside Josh Franco's another superstar South Australian coach. We've got the head of North Adelaide here, and we've got the coach of Glenelg alongside me. He's also a dual premiership winner with the Adelaide Crows as a senior coach in the W. Matthew Clark's the man I've been building up for the last minute. Good to see you, Doc. You got to turn your mic on, though, in your second game with ABC Sport. There we go, mate.
I thought you did that deliberately to keep me quiet. But, hey, it's a cracking day. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. It's a bit weird to say that, but there's probably a couple of outcomes. One is that Fremantle go absolutely rampant and we get to, just witness potentially the premiership favourite in full flight. And the other one is that, Port Adelaide find a way against all odds to keep this game competitive. And, if that happens, then, that'll be a good day at the footy too.
They've stayed with most of the heavyweights through the year. Those, 5 losses by single digits, an equal record in the competition's history. And what they've been able to, accomplish against some of the best, despite the injuries they'd already had, have been pretty solid. We mentioned it during SA Grandstand. In terms of 15th place sides, if they finish the season right now, they'd be the best in terms of percentage at 101. But that might cop a bit of a dent this afternoon if Fremantle go bonkers.
Who thinks that it'll be above 100 after today? That'll be the query. But look, the defensive stuff has been elite from Port, and I think that's what their fans would be hoping to see again today. The challenge for that, I reckon, is looking at this centre bounce work that's going on down there at the moment. If Fremantle can get on top in that department, then they get field position, and then that defensive system just won't even come into effect. So I'm nervous for Port based on the centre bounce, because I think Luke Jackson is an X factor that they probably haven't got a match-up to contend with.
That mix that's warming up as well. So Joe Richards is in there alongside the stand-in skipper Willem Drury. His first game as captain, because Zach Butters has been filling in for Connor Rozee the last few years. Jace Burgoyne had a bib on as well, but Miles Bergman's with the midfield mix. And I was wondering this, Josh, given the late out of Harrison Ram, you've got big Mason Cox out there who's 211 centimetres. The Sava Radagalia's out, so essentially Port are rolling with Zirk Thatcher at 195, Alir at 194, and Bergman, who had a career-high 8 intercept marks, is now going to be on ball. So you're pretty undermanned when it comes to tackling Voss, Amos and Tracy, who are all 195, plus Mason Cox.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Todd Marshall. Obviously, he's played a little bit down back early in the season. He's been moved forward, comes back into the side this week, so potentially they've got him up their sleeve to pull that lever to throw him down back, to give them a little bit of height and combativeness in their defensive half of the ground. But look, the three-headed monster in Amos, Tracy and Voss, they're going to be difficult to contain, and particularly what you said, Doc, if the midfield of Fremantle start to get on top and get first look at it, and there's not a lot of pressure going forward, then, as I said previously, hold on to your hats if you're a Port Adelaide supporter.
Yeah, well, I think the midfield for Port do have defensive capability. Obviously, we mentioned Drew captaining them, but with Jackson, if he gets on top and they start getting proactive around the contest, you just, no matter how defensively intended you might be, that ball's going to flow, and it could. As we were a little bit concerned about it, it could get ugly.
And the hard part is the last time they played round 22, Fremantle winning by 6 here, all the stars were out for Port, but they lost clearance by 18.
Yeah.
They don't have them this afternoon.
That's a concern. I think the other thing as well, from Fremantle's point of view, it's actually a difficult game for them to play as well. And I know it sounds crazy, but to get themselves mentally on edge, because if you're not, and time and time again, it's proven that if you're not physically and mentally ready to go, you can get burned. And I'm not saying that's going to happen today, but from Fremantle's point of view, they've still got to be coming out here onto Adelaide Oval in these conditions mentally ready to go. Otherwise, they could get a bit of a jab early in this game.
It's almost a glass half full, half empty thing when you say if we can score 100 points in a half, so we can pull ourselves out of any well, but also are you consistently switched on to be able to do that for 4 quarters?
Definitely. Yeah, and as I said, I think that's the challenge for Fremantle, but there's just too much firepower, too much class to see Port Adelaide really challenging them or even, remotely getting close to them on the scoreboard.
And now that the Swans have lost last night, a chance for Fremantle to essentially lock away top spot. They'd be 3 games clear of the Swans with a win, 4 of 5th, and would be in the box seat to put themselves towards a home preliminary final and, if not another return to the grand final for the first time in over a decade.
Well, I wonder if Longmuir, Doc, was tempted to rest a few more players, or manage, I should say, a few more players coming into this contest.
Yeah, no, it's probably just a little far out, and there's a fine line there, because obviously you want to make sure you've got your healthiest possible list at the most important time of the year. But equally, that opportunity now to go 3 games clear at the top and really, all things being equal, lock in home final, and that's that path to a premiership is much easier if you're not having to leave your home state, particularly for the WA clubs.
Minutes away from getting underway here at the Adelaide Oval. 0437 774 774 the text line this afternoon for Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Coin toss hasn't happened just yet, but I do want to head downstairs to the 5th member of our team, Braden Ingram, because there's some chaos in the Fremantle camp, Braden.
Yeah, so good afternoon, Aaron. Docker and Nathan O'Driscoll just came in front of the doctors and the physios and got his knee looked at. They were working it over. It was his right knee. Looked to be in a little discomfort. Just as you've come to me, he's run back out to the huddle and appears to be going through the run-throughs. He was certainly still feeling forward a little bit, but at this stage, the physios are keeping a close eye on him. At this stage, it does look like he's going to take his place in the lineup.
Don't really have a winger, I guess, who can replace him if that's the case. They've got McDonald, Walker and Sherry who've travelled, but we'll see what Fremantle decide to do in the next couple of minutes. They're probably leaving it a bit late if they want to pull the trigger. So Port Adelaide and Fremantle this afternoon to kickstart your Saturday affair of footy. Still coming up, we've got North Melbourne and Melbourne at Docklands, so you'll hear that from 4 Eastern. And then the MCG tonight for Collingwood and Carlton, whilst our Perth listeners in WA headed to Perth Stadium for West Coast and Brisbane as well. All right, crew, put yourselves on the line here. What's our margin this afternoon? I'll run off some numbers for you just quickly. So Port's biggest ever loss, 165. They've lost by 104 times. Freo's biggest win over them, 79 points back in 2006 at Subiaco. What are we feeling this afternoon?
Now, I'm going to back the Power to stay competitive, but when I'm saying competitive, I'm saying 7 goals. So 42 points is my margin Freo's way.
Oh, look, I'm not as optimistic as that, Doc. I think it's going to be 10 plus, and it could get even worse. I can't see Port Adelaide again, just through talent, talent beat talent. I just can't see them getting close.
Yeah, I think for Josh Carr, obviously this rest of this year is about the build for next year, and so he'd be putting it on blokes in this team and they'd understand that they're essentially playing for their futures within the football club, not necessarily being on the list, but the status and the standing that they're going to have within the group. And if they want to be part of it, then they're going to have to stand up and show something. So let's see what we get.
They've done a terrific job for most of the campaign, but you're right, you've got to keep that momentum into next year, and you don't want the last month and a half to destroy all of it and make you irrelevant in the last 7 weeks. Coin toss has just happened, so we'll head straight back down to Braden. How'd we go?
Yeah, Willem Drew has had his first win as the stand-in skipper. He has won the toss and kicking to the right. So the Riverbank end, the southern stand end here. What a glorious day it is for football. It feels like September. It's got that spring feel about it. We've just hit 18 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And it won't be throughout this entire affair. 11k northwesterly, so not too difficult in terms of the conditions. Good crowd in here, given the standing of where the Power are at the moment. The benches, Joe Berry, Jace Burgoyne, Christian Moraes, Jacob Ware and Balin O'Brien. For the Dockers, Mason Cox, Carl Warner, Neil Erasmus, Isaiah Dudley and Matthew Johnson. O'Brien on debut was presented his Guernsey by the former captain, now board member Tom Jonas. That was who Josh Carr likened the defender to yesterday, so he gets his crack on Saturday afternoon footy on the ABC.
It's a bit patchy on the hill, but the true believers out maybe 20,000 in this afternoon. Looking pretty good around the ground. Bergman's on ball and Hayden Young off the groin injury straight back into the guts as well.
And Todd Marshall starting forward for the Power as well.
Port Adelaide up against Fremantle on ABC Sport. Here's Tom Wilson.
Jordan Sweet up against Luke Jackson. Jackson wins it down straight to Bergman, though, who flicks it to Sweet. First inside 50 goes the way of the Power, and it lands on the chest of Zato. Hot start for Port. He's at right half forward, probably just beyond his range. Fremantle defenders just packed that up, so he's going to go towards the top of the goal square. Had a bit on it, maybe enough on it to get through for a goal. It looked like he was setting it up. But Mitch Sato's delivered a goal and the first of the afternoon.
Got to love football, don't you? We said this is what's going to happen. They're going to dominate them out of the middle. 2 kicks, 1 goal. Port Adelaide's. Blow the siren.
Game over.
Just 30 seconds in, 1 straight 6.
Well, I was just looking at the flags as well on the scoreboard. It is going to the right of your radio dial, and that was coming over probably the left shoulder of Zato, but that was a sensational kick. I'm not sure he was actually going for the goal, was he? He was almost getting it to the top of the square or in the goal square to get a contest, but it sailed through, so really good start for the Power. Who would have thought?
Barely any power in the kick. He just tried to place it top of the goal square.
Yeah, looked like the wind got hold of it and did the rest. Good start.
1 straight 6 for Saturday footy on ABC Sport for the Power. And Fremantle on the back foot early. Back underway. Jackson wins it down. Hayden Young got it cleanly, but tackled by Wines. Dropped the footy. Play continues. Picked up awkwardly by Bammett. Tries to tow it forward for the Power. Coming off halfback is Clark. Rode the contact and got it to Clark. Fremantle with a nice chain. Jackson to Brayshaw up to half forward. Frederick caught behind Evans. Knocked away. Port Adelaide. Lockie Jones with an errant handball. Tapped across by Voss now. The big man gets low but lifts his head into trouble. Had to get through 3. Just thrust a handball forward. No one was there. Lie for the Power to Lockie Jones. Back to Mead. Sold him into trouble with O'Meara. Back to Lie. Running out of room. He tumbles a kick straight towards Luke Ryan. Fremantle heading back inside 50. Murphy Reid with an excellent handball. Young drew 2. Out to the pocket to O'Meara. And the check side from 30's a miss to the right. It's Port by 5. 2 minutes in.
Good pressure there from Fremantle, wasn't it? Had a few opportunities, Port Adelaide, to clear their D50, but Fremantle too good.
Yeah, Patrick Voss, obviously he's there as a tall target, but his pressure straight away elite.
So Evans brought it into Lie. Goes back to Evans in the defensive goal square. Takes a bounce now. Thumps it towards the wing. Visentini and Drew there. Visentini gets a fist down. Waiting at the back was McVie, but roving again was the goal kicker and Zato centre wing. Looking for a target forward. Finds Marshall on the chest. Right half forward. He's got some overlap run. Looking for Bergman, who worked forward. Brings it to ground in the pocket. Goes for a hero snap. Across goal for the moment. In the best spot was Sweet. Couldn't quite complete the mark. And it goes out over the boundary line next to the left. Behind post, Port leading by 5 points.
Zato looks lively, doesn't he? Early.
It's a big day for him. Yeah. His housemate is the debutant Balin O'Brien, so probably a fair bit of energy this morning. Tossed in. Jackson, the only ruck who competed, could have taken it. Decided the double tap, placing in the path of Clark, who fell towards the footy and couldn't extract it. Wines gets it across, and Zato has a snap, misses wide right. Port by 6, but looking very lively early.
Their pressure's been pretty good as well, Port Adelaide. They do look sharp.
And Marshall getting an early touch is important. You know, you hope he has a good day.
Yep, good call. get him involved in the game. We know how talented he is. So Chapman gets it in the left back pocket for Fremantle from the kick in. And Port are going to force him long down the line, up towards Tracy and Alier, brought to ground. Frederick bursting through, gets past Burn-Jones, flicks it over the top to Switkowski. Good pressure here from Port, causes the turnover. Burn-Jones to Drew, sold him to 2 Dockers. Big tackle, O'Driscoll. And the umpire says we'll ball it up. It's forward of centre wing for the Dockers. They're trailing by 6 points. About 80 from home. Sweet knocks it down towards Richards. Young in there, coming back into the game, but the Brownlow medalist in Ollie Wines fishes it out, kicks forward. Oh, what a clever mark from Pearce. What a star at left half-back takes the intercept.
Geez, had some big moments at the Adelaide Oval the past few years. Match winner against the Power and the Crows. That was special. Just back with the flight, underarm reel in. Kicks up to left half forward. Pack waiting there, off hands. Frederick tries to juggle it and ends up swatting it central to Switkowski. Hands it to Young. He's looked great early on return. Sidestepping a few. Skids a kick up towards Amos. Ricochets off his shins back to Young. O'Driscoll looking okay off that injury in the pre-game. Kicks towards Switkowski. Knocked away, 25 out. Lai can mop it up. Kicks across. Logan Evans just behind right half back. So Port by 6.
I like the look of Lai as well. He's off speed. He's physical. Used the ball well on that occasion. Really good composure by foot.
Yep, an emerging star of the competition, Drew, the standing scupper down the line. Skipper, rather, to Whitlock, who takes a strong mark. Kicks up forward. Ball in dispute. Durden did well once it hit the deck. Bergman gets past Chapman for the moment, but handballed it straight to Brayshaw, who takes a bounce. Inside ball to Murphy Reid. Out wide to O'Driscoll. About 75 from home, forward of centre wing. Just working it by hand. Goes the 1-2 and it goes through the legs of O'Driscoll. He wilted under the pressure. Bit too clever there from Murphy Reid. Oh, Sweet's handball was too hot for Evans. Benny Hill music, please. And a push in the back. Won by Druin. They're going to take the play on here through Bergman on centre wing.
Fremantle had totally stopped. He blazed away. Bergman up towards Marshall. Couple of touches early. Spins at the attacking edge. Vicentini probably should have taken it, turning into the sun. Bobbled down at the left hand. Clark can mop it up for Freo. Chips his kick up to the defensive arc. O'Meara has it near the Rashudo stand. Freo kicking to the northern end. Left-hand side of your radio dial. Frederick. Short pass down the line, looking to get it to Tracy. Lockie Jones alongside him.
That's twice now that they've hit up on Cox. He was in strife last week against Charlie Curnow, and he has looked a little bit vulnerable against Marshall already, so maybe an avenue for Port.
Boundary throw in Bashir stand. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Yeah, so Nathan O'Driscoll has taken his place in the side, but it copped a knee in the head in the first 3 minutes, so he's come off the ground for treatment.
So Jackson won the hit out, but roved by Richard. Sends it inside the forward 50 up to the left forward pocket. Bounces just inside the paint.
Been a bit of a find, hasn't he, Richards on ball?
Yep.
Even on that occasion. Just hit through the stoppage with a little bit of momentum, but just his leg speed around the ball to get on that loose ball, really important for Port Adelaide.
And clean too.
Yeah.
So boundary thrown, about 35 from home for the Power. Vicentini knocks it down. Over the top of the footy is Ryan. Did he get it out in time? The umpire says that we'll have a ball up. So just inside the 50 here for the Power, left half forward. Vicentini down to Wines again. Handball intercepted by Brayshaw, who goes to Geordie Clark. His kick was smothered. And Drew rove it in time. He can't. So back out over the boundary again. Outside of the Power's 50 now, left half forward. They lead by 6 points. We're 7.5 minutes into this first term against the Dockers.
On the text line, Fran says, I'm hoping the Power can do some damage this afternoon, and no mention of unicorns, please. I was hoping Freo would rest more players. Just the one, Shea Bolton this afternoon, Hayden Young in, so it's a pretty good replacement. Tossed in, out of the stoppage, Johnson gets it to Brayshaw, then Jackson. Down the line on the eastern side, Murphy Reid trying to reel it in on the bounce. Drew alongside him, he gives it away. Lockie Jones to move it to Sweet, who leaves it behind as it rolls through. Good hip and shoulder from Lockie Jones on Luke Jackson, puts him to ground. Then he dives into the footy, umpire circles, and we'll get a ball up. Still near the Bashir stand, Port by 6, and we've played 8 minutes on ABC Sport.
Tell you what, at the moment, Aaron, their pressure's been outstanding, Port Adelaide. Contested ball 16-12, 5 tackles each, but their ability to get at the opposition and close time and space has been superb, Port Adelaide.
So Richards had the gather and was thrown off the footy as he kicked it and dribbled out of bounds. So a lasso free kick going the way of O'Meara, who's been asked to play on. He just dribbles one down the line, looking for territory. Ends up with Richards. Goes the 1-2 there with Sweet. Chucks it on the left boot and is clean to Wines, who's been busy enough early at left half forward. Going long inside the forward 50, looking for a target. Waiting at the back there is Zato. They're going to pay advantage here. Is that off his boot? It's going to be a free kick anyway to Port Adelaide at the top of the goal square to Whitlock.
Well, I tell you what, that entry from Port Adelaide was superb. I think it was Richards that didn't just blaze and bomb the ball forward. He found Wines with a little connect and he was able to wheel around and kick it inside 50 to Whitlock one-on-one and then drew the free kick. So good entry, good play, good outcome for the Power.
Yeah, Chapman just blocked his arms and right in front of the umpire. 25 metres out, directly in front, Jack Whitlock slots it through. Oh, could something be happening here at Adelaide Oval?
The boil over is on. It's on.
Port Adelaide 2, 1-13 Fremantle. One behind, 9.5 gone, Doc.
As much as we spoke about Port Adelaide's defence coming in, it is really critical the way that they've taken them on offensively, because clearly, Fremantle's offence is a weapon. But if you don't put them on the back foot a little bit, then you're going to spend your whole life being England in the last 20 minutes of the World Cup. So let's get at them.
We're just looking at some of the numbers too, Doc. The inside 50 is 5-3 Port Adelaide's way. The kicking efficiency, that's probably the big one. Fremantle at the moment running at 38%. And Port Adelaide at 63%. Probably indicative of the pressure that Port Adelaide's applying, but they've started this contest well.
Of course, so Josh Franco, Matthew Clark with you for Saturday Footy on ABC Sport. Port by 12. Tossed up, Sweet up against Jackson. Neither got a tap. Burgoyne in the middle did well to extract it. Hands it out wide. Berry gets it to Drew towards the 50 for Port. Good body work there to cut it off by McVie as he bounces off the work of Corey Durden. Takes the intercept mark. Left back pocket, the former Demon. McVie back to the broadcast wing. Tracy forced to put a fist in. Shoots its way towards the centre square, and Berry was just waiting for the drop to be punished. Brayshaw had him in the line of sight. Hard tackle to the ground, and we go again. Attacking edge for Port Adelaide.
Sweet wins another one. Richards trying to burst through, swung in the 360. Not sure how he got rid of it. Fetched out to Dudley for the Dockers. A swooping handball to Brayshaw. Rode the tackle. Got it to Frederick, who rode another one. Chasing hard. Richards couldn't quite cause the turnover. Jackson through centre half forward. Handballs at forward. Big strong tackle on Tracy. Just got a kick away, but it causes the turnover for Port. And Mead was clean. Got it to Richards at right half back. That's great pressure from the Power.
Isn't it amazing what mindset does in this game? Port Adelaide have clearly come to play and all the pressure on Fremantle to win this contest. But at the moment, Port Adelaide are dictating terms.
They look relentless, and the Dockers are pretty clean and in duress, but they just eventually the damn wall bursts. Port kick up to right half forward. Tap down front and square. Burgoyne sends it inside 50. Trying to trap the bounce was Bammett. Rolled through. Durden can't gather. Mead can. Back towards the centre square with his handball. Fremantle now have a bit of fight. Trying to get through a couple of bodies is O'Brien. Just can't hold on to the footy. Fremantle win out. Voss gets it wide. O'Driscoll to Jackson. Defensive edge now to O'Meara. He wants to look for the switch. Heads to the spine. Mark taken there by Chapman, and they can complete it to the eastern wing. Brennan Cox in game 150 can go for a trot. Heads towards the scoreboard to opposing Coxon. Mason put down. Gathers on the bounce though. Curls it around the body. Amos held in the contest and a free kick.
Yeah, that was there.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hand over the shoulder to the naked eye. Yeah, it was there. I'd like to see the replay, but I think the umpire made the right call there.
Yeah, the pressure's been great, but that was probably the first time we've seen Freo get out to the open side and be able to use the width of the ground. The previous play where Port just kept coming at him, we thought, gosh, how good's that? But this is the worry. Can they get him on the outside?
So Jai Amos just wide of the top of the goal square. It's a slight angle to the right. Kicked a goal in his last 9 games. He can make it 10. Amos curls through Fremantle's first. Margins down to 6 at the Adelaide Oval. 12 played on ABC Local Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital. It's Saturday Footy on ABC Sport. Port 2-1-13. Fremantle 1-1-7.
And Doc, to your point, you're right. That kick from, I think it was O'Meara, wasn't it? Didn't go forward. He had really, really good composure with ball in hand and access the open side of the ground. And if you can get some speed on the ball with some one-on-ones and no aerial support for the Port Adelaide defenders, it's going to be pretty difficult to stop them, isn't it?
First moment that the three-headed monster has looked ominous. But centre bounce has been really good for Port. Like, I was apprehensive, but they've been able to just play defensive side. I reckon Freo maybe missed a trick in that they're hitting all post-ups. If they get someone running with the flight of the ball, they might be able to get a little bit more movement out of there.
Back in the middle of the ground, Coxett wins it down. Burgoyne gathers and he kicks it straight to O'Meara on the logo. I wasn't sure if he was going to pay that. Does in the end. Kicks a nice ball forward. Finds Erasmus. Left half forward who hits up Frederick. That's good ball movement. He marks 40 out on a 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, it was good ball movement, wasn't it? Obviously, the kick inside the centre bounce from, I think it was Jace Burgoyne, wasn't it? Didn't go to where it was intended to go, but setting up their ball movement off the back of that. A good little connect inside 50 to Frederick.
So 16 goals on the year for Frederick. And Port have been on top in this game, but this is to square it all up in the space of a minute. And that's a beautiful drop punt. Straight through the hey-diddle-diddle. 2-1 apiece. The Dockers get the last two. 14.5 gone in this first term. Braden Ingram on the boundary.
Well, this little Dockers burst has coincided with Bergman and Wines being on the bench. So they're about to come back on, and clearly that's where they're deficient around the ball at the moment.
And, Doc, just having a look as well, we're only halfway through the first quarter. Port Adelaide have thrown everything at the Dockers. This is the period now where a bit of the emotion have worn off, I guess, the mentality around the way that Port Adelaide have approached this contest. So a really important period now for the PA just to hang on here.
Yeah, no doubt. But, and ominously, Fremantle had scored 11 points at halftime last week. They've got 13, so they're probably saying we've had a great start.
Yeah, fair shout.
They can score quickly when they want to, and heavily.
So you start to get first look and get a bit of confidence and build some confidence in this game. But again, to Port Adelaide's credit, they've started this contest really well.
2 goals in 2 minutes. Scores level at 13 apiece now. Port Adelaide and Fremantle on ABC Sport. Tap down. Murphy Reid leaves the footy behind. Johnson tries to become the tackler on Wines and rips the footy out in the process. Eventually we'll get a ball up just wide of the centre circle. So as Braden mentioned, Wines and Bergman back on ball. Mason Cox against Vicentini in the ruck. The latter taps it down looking for Wines. Brownlow medalist slides in on top of the footy, tackled by Erasmus. Umpire gives them a while, but then calls ball up.
And Port Adelaide playing a forward up at stoppage here as well. Obviously, those numbers you quoted last time they played, Aaron, they're trying to get support at the source.
Minus 18 at clearance in round 22 last year. Free kick out of the stoppage, too high, going the way of Ollie Wines.
It's working at the moment as well. Port Adelaide 7 clearances to Freo's 3. A lot of them off centre bounce.
Dante Vicentini handed the footy. He'll release Burgoyne. Chips the kick well. Just the required 15 at Logan Evans. Still in the centre square, but now they'll head to right half forward. And here is the debutant, Balin O'Brien, all the way out of Woodner. A farm boy on the big stage. O'Brien into the 50. Whitlock gets a fly and sticks it. He saw that well in advance. Only had eyes on the drop. And Jack Whitlock with another good contested grab.
Not a great moment for Mason, unfortunately. He probably had to put his fist through that. It was 1v2. Time to spoil.
Actually didn't mind their build-up either there from Port Adelaide's point of view. I think it was Burgoyne, the small little kick, didn't blaze away and bomb it inside forward 50. And once again, the change of angle. But you're right, Freo needed to do better to bring that ball to ground.
No Mitch Georgiades this afternoon. So the talisman is the young Whitlock. And he misses on the short approach, spraying it wide right. So 1-1 for him this afternoon. Port Adelaide's lead is a point. 2-2-14 to 2-1-13. We've played 17 minutes on ABC Sport.
Disappointing miss, but what a great find for Port this year. Whitlock, he's going to be good.
Jumps at the footy so well. Chapman at right half back. Short to McVie at right half back, just probably 20 metres further forward on the D50. Goes down the line. Clean jump at it with Zirk. Thatcher couldn't complete the mark. Rove by Reid. He got the handball away to O'Driscoll. Feeds a long one out to Dudley. They're doing it by hand to Amos. Right half forward he is now. Goes to the top of the goal square. Tracy takes the mark. 8 metres from home.
Tell you what happened there. I don't know if you spotted it. That long ball, the long down the line kick to that contest, Dudley and Amos just got on the fly. They were that confident they were going to win at the source. The forward handball to then result in this entry inside 50 and the shot on goal. But they're so confident in winning it at the source. As I said, Dudley and Amos were off to the races.
Zach Thatcher had a pretty clean play at it. He probably should have stuck it and not been in this situation.
It would be a different story. So it's going to take a kick of about 12 metres on a 45-degree angle. Tracy pops it through. What a season he's having. That's his 42nd goal of the year, his first of the afternoon. The Dockers 3-1-19, Port 2-2-14, 18.5 gone first term.
Now, I know we were talking about the draft in the grandstand show earlier this morning. He was a rookie pick, wasn't he?
He was.
That's staggering, isn't it?
Turn into the player that Voss out of Essendon as well. He was
unbelievable.
Best and fairest winner for them and got delisted.
Yeah.
So,
but he's almost the most imposing forward, I reckon, in the comp at the moment, Tracy. Just his physical stature and his ability and his athleticism. Gee whiz, he's a player and a half.
He's second for marks inside 50, only behind Mitch Georgiades, and third year in a row now of 40 goals or more.
Just looking on the screen, look at the size of him. He's got arms like my legs, Tom.
Well, we're not allowed to know how much he weighs anymore, Josh.
No.
I'm sure it's over 100.
I'm sure it is.
Freo by 5, first lead change of the afternoon. Tossed up in the middle, Jackson down, finds Sarong. Quick clearance across the body, a low spin. Knocked it towards Murphy Reid, who zigs and zags away from Burne-Jones. Hands it back to Sarong. Now Matthew Johnson, attacking edge, steps across from Bergman into the 50. Trying to get it to Young, little wide. Picked up there by Drew. Bangs it out of there. And the kick will land fortuitously out towards Vicentini, who slid across through the centre square to take it. The pinch-hitting ruckman heads wide towards Burne-Jones, and his kick out to Bammett in front of the Bashir stand. It is Fremantle by 5 on ABC Sport.
I've liked Bammett's start to his AFL career. Mid-season draft pick, he looks the goods.
Has a crack.
Yep.
Got it to Moraes, who's worked it back to Aaliyah. Now Logan Evans at centre-half back. The switch is on towards Zerk Thatcher, under a bit of pressure, but takes the mark. Plays on quickly, up towards right half forward. Berry just out-muscled there in the contest by Warner, having a good season. Takes the intercept mark, risky kick, but it was well placed for Reid. Quick handball to Brayshaw. He nearly got cleaned up by Vicentini. Got it to Sarong. Underground handball all the way back to Chapman at centre-half back. They're going to be able to complete the switch, though. They've got the numbers. Oh, Driscoll dropped a sitter. Diving on top of the footy was O'Brien, and he's going to, not win the free kick. Gets the handball away. Port's still under pressure on the centre wing. Burne-Jones thrown to the ground. There is a whistle. So, well, I called that about 10 seconds ago.
Was that from the arc?
Back to O'Brien, who, wasn't paid the free kick originally. Releases Burgoyne, tries it towards the 50. Bammett, the target, knocked away. Ryan for Fremantle, handed it to Pearce, who went for a jog. Just a casual Saturday stroll. Tackle, ball popped out. No whistle. And we're coming back again. Bammett is going to get, a holding the ball free kick against Pearce, which was 10 seconds ago. We've had 2 free kicks now that weren't paid originally and then have been decided on later. Doesn't matter for Port Adelaide because Bammett will send it inside 50 and eventually they get what they wanted. A mark to Berry, 40 from home, tighten the left.
Well, interestingly as well, that movement from Pearce probably sums up a bit of their mentality. He thought he was on a Sunday picnic there. He just strolled out. I think you called it, Aaron, but no real urgency and intensity or awareness of what was coming. And I think it was Bammett that applied the pressure. Again, good play from Port Adelaide. They're hanging in this contest.
We've seen in their goals, the Dockers, that when they turn it on, they look crisp.
Yeah.
But it hasn't. It's been about 20% of this quarter so far. The rest has just been a little bit laconic.
Yep.
Berry in front of the Rashudo stand. Little hop skip as he sends it from 48, leaning back on the kick, but it just fades across to the right-hand side, and it's Fremantle by 4 points now. Time on in the first term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson, Matthew Clark and Josh Franco with you.
Stating the obvious, they're the ones they need to kick, don't they, to hang in this contest.
Oh, here's a chance.
Errant chance goes straight to Moraes, who handballs it off, looking for the 1-2 handball, a little hot. Bammett runs over the top of it. Maybe wasted an opportunity here. Port Adelaide. Moraes swung in the 360 by Murphy Reid. Brayshaw tackled in the 360. Incorrect disposal. He doesn't like it. But Port are going to get a free kick, 45 out directly in front.
Well, once again, Port Adelaide's pressure.
Yeah, the pressure's great. And as you've highlighted, they've just missed one. Can they capitalise on this and just, frank the work that they've done?
It would be the work on for Joe Berry, who missed that shot earlier, certainly improving in his second season. capitalise with a few more goals, but Joe Richards will be right up there in their best and fairest this season. Playing more as a mid, steps inside the 50, drop punt, goes for home. The crowd's building behind it. Richards finishes off the good work and puts Port back in front. They go to 3-3-21. Fremantle 3-1-19. 23 and a half gone in the first term.
Well, I must admit I didn't see this coming, and I'll say it again. It just sums up how much a difference mental attitude can make to the outcome and the fortunes of your team. And clearly Josh Carr's wound his players up. I think we've mentioned at pre-game his back's to the wall stuff, and their back couldn't be any further up against the wall coming into this contest, but they've played with spark. In terms of their mentality, they've been really switched on. Their pressure's been outstanding, as we've seen in the last two bits of play, with a tackle by Bam and a tackle by Richards, which results in 2 shots on goal. Terrific from the power.
Great reward for all of these Port fans that have shown up today. Yeah. Everyone said, your team's no chance. They showed up anyway, and they're getting rewarded with a great performance thus far.
Port by 2, time on in the first. Sweet down, trying to look for Drew. Awkward bounce for him, but Young does hand it to the power skipper, who releases Burgoyne, turning on a dime on the logo. Port back inside 50 to a 2-on-2. Brendan Cox with the fist, bounces towards Durden, can't trap it. Coming through at pace was Berry, ricocheted off his boots. Durden gathers it right half forward, can't get a clean handball away. Young, though, gives it to Frederick, who gives it back. Burgoyne for the power to Bergman. Bangs it from 50. Falls a little short and bounces wide left over the boundary line.
The Dockers forgot to convert to Adelaide time. They're still caught in the west, I think.
That Frederick handball was mysterious. I don't know what he was thinking.
Was that 11 a.m. start for them out west?
Yeah. Well, again, that handball just indicative of the pressure Port Adelaide have applied and the perceived pressure it creates.
Short throw in from the umpire, knocked down by Sweet. Brayshaw in there again, Burgoyne too. The bottom of the pack was Richards, fetches out a handball, but it ends up with Jackson to Dudley, back to Brayshaw to Young. They're so clean when they put their mind to it. Swikowski took him on, and that's holding the ball. Joe Richards again.
This is phenomenal from Port Adelaide.
Power and the pressure out there in the first quarter for Port. Richards asked to play on, sends it long inside the 50. Sweet in front, knocked away by Jackson. Bergman holding it in as he dived on it. No, says the umpire. Ball up, left forward pocket. Port lead it by 2.
Sure, Longmuir would be all this impressed with his performance of his players.
Sweet down the volley by Burgoyne, central to the square. His fist was too soft. And how about that for the aerial skills by Big Tante Vicentini? Just volleys it out of the air into the Riverbank stands, and Port's up by 8 at the Adelaide Oval, 4-3-27 to 3-1-19. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, he's got the name of a World Cup striker, and he's just put it in the back of the net. Elite.
That was unbelievable. And I've got to give a preemptive apology to the Port Adelaide supporters. I said 10+, but the way they're playing, what it's sort of created now is a real contest for Fremantle. They've got to somehow find a way to get back in this contest, because at the moment they're nowhere near it.
Yeah, quarter time's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
The commentary out of last week in the Sydney game was how calm and composed they were after kicking 0 goals 11. I don't know if he's going to be quite as calm and composed today. I think it might be time.
Yeah.
Back in the middle of the ground.
Another free kick.
Yep, it was there.
That's the new rule.
Yep.
Well called, Josh Franco. Sweet.
Super impressed with Sweet. His ability to negate Jackson thus far has been really, really strong.
Having a great season. Goes straight down the middle, looking for Whitlock. There's another free here. Which way's it going? A hold going away at the power. Well, there was a big pause, and then you heard the applause. Vicentini,
well,
25 out directly in front.
Just looking at the numbers again, Doc, and, you know, to quote minus 18 in clearances last time they met. At the moment, Port Adelaide 11-5. And a lot of that's coming off centre bounce, and these entries that are coming in are putting the Fremantle Docker defenders under the pump, drawing free kicks. Another opportunity to kick away Port Adelaide.
Yeah, well, when they beat the Crows a while back, it was centre bounce dominance, and I just couldn't see it happening today, but thus far they're on fire.
Well, he soccered one through, and that's a little chip kick straight over the goal umpire's head. Back-to-back goals for Dante Vicentini, and Port have kicked the last three. They go to 5-3-33. The Dockers 3-1-19. That's a 14-point margin with a couple of minutes to go in the first term here for ABC Sport.
And I think the alarming numbers for Longmuir and the Fremantle Dockers at the moment is contested ball, which is clearly one of the key metrics that all clubs look at in terms of mentality. It's -10. The clearances, they're -6. The inside 50s are 15-8 in favour of Port Adelaide, and they kicked 5 goals 3. So, yeah, some really alarming numbers there. And again, just highlights the mentality of both sides. One's come to play, the other hasn't.
Makes you feel better, Josh. The AFL's official tipping site, 94% went for Fremantle this afternoon. 6% though was probably higher than I thought.
Yeah.
Fair few true believers out there. Tossed up. Luke Jackson with the overhead tap. Trying to find its way towards Sarong. Drew cuts it off. Paddles it to Wines. Drew 2 in and got it out to Berry. Port again go forward. Wobbler up towards the arc. Fell a bit shallow there for Vicentini. Pearce flat-footed. Kick smothered by Burgoyne. Has to go back. Darts through 3. Heads to the broadcast wing. Kicks well weighted. Switkowski had it knocked away from him by Burne-Jones, but goes again. On the 45 to Brayshaw, now towards the 50, and Dudley takes it straight in front. Wanted to move the ball, had a couple of leads in the scoreboard pocket, and eventually sends it that way as he backtracks and guides the kick up towards Voss. He's 35 out, slightly to the right.
To Josh's point, though, is this a situation like they had 3 out in the forward 50? How have they managed that without taking a bit of a punt? Offensively,
yeah, that's fair.
As much as it's paid off in this instance, perhaps the quarter reflects the fact that one team's hunting ball and an opponent, and one's running forward
and trying to get it on their terms.
Just a little
easily.
bit easier. Now, when they've done it, they look pretty dangerous.
Patrick Voss starts at centre half forward. Had 3 goals the last time these two sides met at this venue. Voss off a couple of steps, leans back, straight line drive into the hill. Fremantle snap a run of 3 goals for Port, and the margin is down to 8. Port Adelaide 5-3-33, Fremantle 4-1-25. We're approaching quarter time for Saturday footy on ABC Sport with Matthew Clark and Josh Franco.
We're just looking at Tracy when he kicked his goal on that occasion. Voss, they're giving the Dursum a bow and arrow. So they've clearly been talking about their post-goal celebrations. But Voss is a player that needs to somehow impose himself on the game. He did on that occasion with a nice little lead up and kicking the goal, but physically get the rest of his team going, because, as we've said, Port Adelaide have started this contest superbly and dominated and controlled field position. But as you said too, Doc, once the ball's out in the open and they get it on their terms, they're pretty hard to stop. But
yeah, I think they're going to kick a score just the way they're playing. So Port have to continue to do what they've done and keep attacking this game.
Back in the middle of the ground, still time for either team. Another clearance going the way of the Dockers. Cleverly done there by Leiter. Soccer forward. Moraes back to Burne-Jones. Wrapped up in a tackle by Switkowski at right half forward for the Dockers. So those celebrations, Josh. Jai Arrow's arrow from the rugby league, who's going through MND. So raising awareness for that. Such a sad story. And Zaddo, from that clearance, tried to touch that before it goes out over the boundary line. Luke Ryan sensing that there's not much time left. Long ball inside the forward 50. Lai missed the spoil. Zirk Thatcher was clean. Off to Moraes to Burgoyne with a banana kick. It wasn't marked by Brayshaw. He quickly sends it back in. There's still time. Out the back of the pack. Young. I think the siren went there. So this will be interesting to see the decision.
Clarification, siren or when the umpire indicates the end of the quarter?
Pretty sure it's when the umpire calls time off. So they're going to pay it.
They're going to pay it. This is so interesting, because looking at that closely, it feels like the siren went. But they're going to pay the goal to Young. That does hurt the Power big time, who dominated that quarter. So Fremantle getting a 5-1-31. Port 5-3-33, a 2-point lead. The boil over was on early. We've got a great contest. Braden Ingham on the boundary.
Tom, to go against you, I thought on ground level he just kicked it before the siren went. That's my opinion. So we'll go against each other there.
Umpire definitely hadn't blown the whistle. So, look, it doesn't matter where you heard it. The umpire was still...
So if the umpire doesn't blow the whistle until now, it's all right.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Do you know what I mean? Like, seriously, come on.
That was Siren Gate that we had many years ago down in Tassie. Was, the siren sounded, no one heard it. We just kept going.
It's just a fascinating game that we have, that we're in 2026 and we have a rule like that where you've got a buzzer, a siren. That's what it's there for, to signify the end of the time.
Hey, it's a fair point. Let's go to the arc, and we've got get the behind the goals vision on all 4 umpires. And did any of them actually peep? But I think it's a goal.
Tell you what, all that matters right now is that Port Adelaide is ahead at quarter time, and not many people would have predicted that, given the flurry of superstar outs for them this afternoon. 5-3-33 plays 5-1-31. Goal scorers for Port Adelaide: 2 to Vicentini, singles to Whitlock, Richards and Zado. For Fremantle, all individual: Voss, Amos, Young, Frederick and Tracy. On the text line this afternoon, 0437 774 774. Donnie in Spearwood's an Eagles fan listening in and says, I go for whoever plays against Fremantle. So go Port Adelaide, and congratulations to young Oliver Franco. He's a big fan of him at West Coast Eagles. Donnie. Also, Judd and Jude are listening in from Collins, asking where's Rod Jamieson. He's busy with the Glenelg girls this afternoon. He's the head of football down there. So they're at Nollunga playing this afternoon against Souths. And Phil in Victoria says Fremantle will surge like the Sydney game, but Port have analysed it. Will the youngsters tire is the question. And that's what happened to the Swans last week. Fair bit of pressure early, but couldn't maintain it for 4 quarters. Port will need to do just that if they can keep this lead. They're up by 2 at the first change on ABC Local Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and ABC Listen. This is Saturday Footy on ABC Sport.
Are there any winners in the cost of living crisis? What's causing the algal bloom?
Questions. They've never been more important. So the one thing we'll never question is our duty to keep asking. ABC News. Keep asking.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
First inside 50 goes the way of the power, and it lands on the chest of Sado. Hot start for Port. He's at right half forward, probably just beyond his range. Fremantle defenders pack that up, so he's going to go towards the top of the goal square. Had a bit on it, maybe enough on it to get through for a goal. It looked like he was setting it up, but Mitch Sado's delivered a goal, and the first of the afternoon. They're doing it by hand to Amos. Right half forward he is now, goes to the top of the goal square. Tracy takes the mark, 8 metres from home. Tracy pops it through. What a season he's having. That's his 42nd goal of the year, his first of the afternoon. Incorrect disposal. He doesn't like it. But Port are going to get a free kick, 45 out directly in front. Steps inside the 50, drop punt, goes for home. The crowd's building behind it. Richards finishes off the good work and puts Port back in front.
Sweep down the volley by Burgoyne, central to the square. His fist was too soft. And how about that for the aerial skills by Big Tante Vicentini? Just volleys it out of the air into the Riverbank stands.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
and ABC Listen.
The kids have come to play for Port Adelaide this afternoon, and Fremantle a golden opportunity to move 3 games clear in top spot ahead of Sydney after their loss last night with 5 rounds to go. Just don't look mentally switched on yet in the festival state. A couple of 20,000, I'll say, Port supporters have turned up for what was going to be a David versus Goliath battle, but it's just a single-digit margin, and Port lead. 2 points at the first change, 5-3-33 to 5-1-31. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action for you. Alongside us, your experts this afternoon, both coaches in the Sandful. Both have had excellent success in senior level as well, former Crow and Power. Players themselves, Josh Franco, Matthew Clark. Bit of a surprise packet to start the day.
Yeah, well, emblazoned on the ground and right in front of us is good for footy. And that quarter was good for footy because we came here thinking it might not be this sort of a day. But the Port Power have been outstanding and probably driven out of their centre bounce. They've scored 2 goals directly from there. But probably more significantly, they've got the field position, which has allowed their defence to set. And all year they've been able to defend the ground. So once they get the ball in their half, it's not surprising that they're able to hold it there. But Fremantle do look dangerous every time the ball gets out into space. And clearly their 3 key forwards are ominous.
Yeah, look, and to that point around the centre bounce, Doc, you mentioned they kicked 2 goals from CB, Port Adelaide, and the clearance numbers at the moment from centre bounce are 7-2, so it's +5 in favour of Port Adelaide. They've been outstanding in that phase of the game. Overall clearances are 13-6, so that's an area where they've clearly addressed from last time they played, where they were -18, as we discussed in that first quarter. But the thing I really liked about Port Adelaide, again, sounding like a broken record, but they came into this game with their backs to the wall. The mentality with which they've approached this contest has been nothing but outstanding. Key players, senior players out, gun players out, but their mentality, their pressure they've been able to apply to the Dockers. My only fear, again, and not glass half empty stuff, and I know it sounds like that, the only fear is if they drop their pressure and drop their intensity around the footy, the game could open up, but at the moment, they couldn't have done any more than asked of them.
Well, why would they? I mean, Freo have put themselves in a situation where they're going to cop this for as long as Port can maintain it, and they've got a sniff.
So that goal on the siren there, they just showed a replay. Hayden Young put his hands on his head straight away. He didn't think he kicked it, and then acted like, oh, no, everything's all good, and then he got the goal.
It brought the margin down to 2. Another siren gate for Freo. Tap down. Jackson tried the volley, ricocheted off a few bodies, and Bergman gathers and arches the pack. Bergman from 50 decides to go for it all. It's a low dart to the goal. Faded right. Brendan Cox gets a hand in and will get a boundary throw in right forward pocket.
I know we just mentioned the numbers, Aaron, about the centre bounce, but this is actually becoming a real issue for Fremantle. And it's now 8-2 Port Adelaide's way. And again, it's coming out the front of stoppage and putting their back six, the Dockers' back six, under the pump.
Tossed in, sweep with a double tap down. It's bouncing perfectly for Wines. Just left in the air a little bit. Knocked away from him. Clearing kick by McVie for the Dockers. High up to left half back. Lockie Jones should have taken it on the chest in the hole. Went to ground, had to mop it up. Gets the handball out wide to Ware. The late inclusion for Ram. Kicks a little bit too hot for Bammett, but it clears everybody back towards the scoreboard. Chapman's running out of room. Threads the needle with a handball, but straight to Wally Wines for the power. He uses Berry, the hop skip, as he zigs and zags. 2 goals! Joe Berry! My goodness!
Well, the contrast in pressure, I mean, he was able to just dance around inside forward 50 and no one's within 5 metres of him. What's going on down there, Freo?
The walls weren't really closing in. He just wanted to make it something special, so did a bit of zigging and zagging, dancing and dodging. And in the end, Joe Berry hits the scoreboard and Port's back up by 8. 6-3-39, plays 5-1-31. 90 seconds into the second term on ABC Sport.
I reckon he was channeling a bit of Keanu Reeves out of the Matrix, and things just slowed down around him. You're right, though, Doc. There wasn't a lot of pressure coming, but just the composure and I guess the frame of mind just to not just release the ball, but duck and dive, and they could not get a glove on him. And great finish. That's one of the goals of the year.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's the solution to his kicking, his right boot.
Wow.
That
was outstanding.
The Matrix, the dodgeball, the 5Ds, the duck, the dive.
Patches O'Houlihan. And here's Berry coming off centre half forward, bursting through, gets it to Bergman with the 1-2. Another handball forward to Wines, gathers on the bounce, quick kick forward, dribbling ball, chaos ball. Sweet just ran past it. Coming out is Clark, dangerous ball for Sarong. Drew got a hand in there. Bammett gathers his 50 from home, looks for a target inside the forward 50, and Whitlock is strong. Gets the jukes up, marks left half forward. It'll take a kick of 50 metres.
This is fun to watch. Like this is a young team just having a crack and putting them on their back foot. It's brilliant.
And the trend continues in the centre bounce. It's now 9-2 Port Adelaide's way. And I'd like to get the temperature reading in the box of the Fremantle Dockers, because he wasn't all that animated at quarter time, Longmuir, but I'm sure he would be boiling away in the coach's box at the moment after what he's seeing.
I reckon the mid-coach might be coming under a little bit of heat.
So Whitlock with a beautiful drop punt. Just away to the left-hand side. Just drifted late. Looked good most of the way. We're right behind that one. And could have had 3 goals already. Whitlock just got the one, though. So 6-4-40. Fremantle 5-1-31.
Even Patrick Voss hasn't even showed much emotion, has he? He needs to get the peacock going.
Jordan Clark roosts this towards the broadcast side. 4-4 waiting. Couple of fists in, back towards Port's 50. Marshall second to it, tackles Pearce. Gets the handball out for the Dockers to Sarong. He's set upon by Drew. Ball up centre half forward. On the text line, Marcus says, I can't believe we've had another siren gate. Someone needs to call Chris Connolly, make sure he's okay. Tap down. Tracy trying to barge through. Burgoyne engulfs him.
Can I change my tip? Port Adelaide actually playing a really good brand of footy.
Imagine if you're the 6% who backed them in. Sweet takes it out of the ruck. He's tackled by Jackson quickly, gained a bit of territory up towards the centre square.
I assumed the 6% just forgot to put their tip in.
Yep. Or did it at the start of the year. Sweet takes it out of the ruck, handballs forward. Wines trying to track it 45 from home. Barges his way through the tackle of Wagner. Got it out to Zado. And the snap across the body from 40's just a little left. Port by 10 over Fremantle, 4 into the second term.
Because I must admit, by now I thought Port Adelaide would have run out of a bit of steam, but they haven't. They've actually amped it up even more, and it's been played in their front half, and I think Fremantle yet to go inside 50 in this second quarter.
Cox brings it out from full back. Flying at the back was Jackson. He got a piece on it to start, trying to claim the mark. Now he's on his back.
There we go,
like
Voss.
A crab. And there's Voss in there.
Here we go. This is what Fremantle need. He needs to start firing up a bit and causing a bit of angst in Port Adelaide.
He needs his jumper, the front of it ripped out.
Yeah.
Showing off that bullocking chest. Freo trying to get the clearance. Handballs away. Going the 1-2 was Brayshaw. Did that with Erasmus. He's kicked down the line. He's out of bounds on the full.
The other one I reckon is Murphy Reid. I came here today really looking forward to seeing him play, but first quarter he had a few touches but looked a little rushed. A couple of nice moments in the second, but he's really not been in the game. He's critical for Freo.
Lockie Jones takes the free kick and switches through defensive 50. Evans to Willier, who stood off his mark, called to play on under a bit of pressure, but recovered. Zerk Thatcher heads it back across to Lockie Jones, where we started. Left half back, Port Adelaide's up by 10. Contract year for Lockie Jones as he heads up towards the broadcast wing to Burgoyne, who read it well. It's a bullet pass. Committing early was Erasmus. Burgoyne back behind him, stayed down and launched himself into the mark. Young Jace arcs him board. Bit of midfield minutes for him this afternoon. Up to left half forward. Couple of Dockers fly in front of Whitlock. Boards the deck. Again, Wine's just too strong for the tackler. Got a handball out, and Drew was a little careless coming in as he clatters his way into Andy Brayshaw. Free kick right half back for Fremantle.
You know what, Ollie Wines is winding back the clock, isn't he?
He's had a great day.
Outstanding, 11 disposals, 3 clearances, a couple of inside 50s. He's been superb.
And even though Drew gives away a free kick, it's the intent from the captain.
Yeah.
So Johnson won a free kick over the shoulder against Bergman. It was like when Wines heard the coach say it's up to him if he wants to play on. He decided very much so.
Yeah.
Being very good from that moment when he was rested ahead of the showdown and start in that match to beat the famous rivals. Ball goes down the line, rowed by Jackson. Gets it underground handball to Switkowski, looking for the 1-2. Zerk Thatcher bursting out from full back, and he's just trying to get territory there. He's going to get pinged.
That's rough.
He handballed it at the last minute there, Doc. I reckon if he just took it over.
Yeah. Rough but there, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe. I just loved that he pressed and took the game on. I don't like seeing that.
Agreed.
Not rewarded.
So Voss is going to get the free kick. He laid the tackle. He's going to take a kick from 55. So he's going to set this one up to the top of the goal square. Looking for a mark. A rove there from Jackson, and he kicked it straight to the face of Chase Burgoyne. So he gets the smothered kick, and Burne-Jones rushes it through. Minus score to the Dockers there, 5-2-32. First of this quarter. Port 6-5-41, 7.5 gone.
I thought Voss could have had a ping at that then. With the breeze over his left shoulder, was within his range, but took the safer option.
Burne-Jones with the exiting kick, gets right underneath it to the defensive edge. Tackle late on the drop on Bergman. We'll get a ball up. Generous on the text line. A listener says, Josh, you can change your tip once. So do you want to do it now?
I'm not saying Port are going to win, but there's going to be less than 10 goals.
All right. Out of the stoppage, Johnson sends Fremantle forward. Voss spun the 360, dropped the footy, no free kick. Dudley pounces, hands it off, and the goal is scored by Amos. Cross the body, 20 from home, and the Freo fans will be elated at the northern end. The Port ones are incensed. And just like that, Port Adelaide's 10-point lead down to just 3. 6-5-41, 6-2-38. The game high was 14 at the late stages of the first quarter. Port with the first 3 scores, and now it's all the way down to just 3 points. 8 played, second term, Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Just before you change that tip, mate, they did kick 100 in the second half last week.
No, I'll stick with that. But I think the umpire potentially missed one. The Port Adelaide faithful were a little bit incensed with that lack of decision with the tackle of Jones. Could have potentially been holding the ball, incorrect disposal, but a much-needed goal for Fremantle just to settle their nerve a little bit and keep the scoreboard within within striking range.
They need a centre square clearance is what they need.
do.
Get an opportunity here back in the middle of the ground. Sweet knocks it down, gathered by Richards.
Nope.
So not this time. He kicks around his body, looking for Mead, who gathers. Got tackled by Warner. And he's going to be pink holding the ball. Good chase from Warner. Just incorrect disposal. Had enough time.
Either or, wouldn't it? Would have been, was it the Lasso free kick? If it wasn't holding the ball, so it would have been Fremantle's ball anyway.
Good call. So Warner down the line. Aliir, too good. Up against Tracy. That's why he's an all-Australian defender. Been so good since he's come to Port Adelaide. He's got it on centre wing at the logo. Kicks up towards left half forward. Bamet's at the front. Created a contest. Pearce is trying to run through. Shrugged one tackle. Gets it back to Young. Puts his teammate Warner under pressure. Whitlock for company. It's going to be a free kick here. A throw. And there's no complaints. So Whitlock's going to have another shot on goal. This time 40 metres out. But this is a tough shot at left half forward.
But once again, Tommy, it's the uncharacteristic mistakes which is brought on by pressure. I think it was Young that handballed out of that scramble, but it was at the feet of his teammate, and you just can't afford to do that. It's just that perceived pressure. You hit that handball, you're away, but misses it, and then they pay the price for it. So, again, the result of Port Adelaide's incredible pressure around the footy.
Whitlock with another shot on goal. This one's away to the right. Barely makes the distance, but rushed through for a minor score. So a third behind for Whitlock. Port go to 6-6-42. Fremantle 6-2-38. 10 gone, second term for ABC Sport.
Great to have you with us on a big day of footy. The Roos and the D's up next at Docklands tonight. We've got Collingwood and Carlton at the G, and our West Australian listeners have the Eagles and the Lions. Kick up towards the broadcast wing. O'Brien, the debutant for Port, couldn't hang on to it. Knocked down. Sweet gets it back to Logan Evans. Now Lai kicks up towards the 50 for Port Adelaide. Just buffeted off the kick, though. Tumbles wide. Brendan Cox gets rid of Todd Marshall and then links up with Jordan Clark. Woodville West Torrens product kicks up to left half back. Matty Johnson just takes the mark in the required 15. Heads up towards the eastern side. Cutting across to take the mark. It's an excellent grab there by Erasmus. Here come the Dockers. Ryan to Dudley. Speared it a little low for Amos. Bounces wide. Zerk Thatcher gathers Aliir under duress, though. Got it across the body. A tumbling kick. Sweet. Clean down low. Releases Richards. Now Moraes. Breaks the ankles of Brayshaw. Hands it back in towards Richards. The kick on the 45. Too short and no good. Sharked by the Dockers. Voss back towards the 50. No one's really there, but neither power defender commits in the hole. Aliir and Zerk Thatcher just stopped. It bounced fortuitously for Fremantle. Tracy gets it to Amos. Tight in the pocket. Misses left.
Had to go to the top of the square, don't you reckon? There's three of them queued up there.
Didn't punish the power there for the lapse of judgment, and it is Port Adelaide by 3 points again.
That bouncing ball in front of Aliir was just that awkward distance, wasn't it? Do you go or do you stay? And he paid the price for staying.
It's a tough game, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. He's easy up here, though.
Yeah.
Jones, long kick out of defence. Logan Evans on hands and knees to Mead. Over to Ware. Late inclusion after being dropped, and he finds Marshall. One of his best kicks of the season there from Ware. He goes up to right half forward to Durden. 55 from home. And a star recruit for Port. He goes short again and finds Wines. Marks in front of Young. He's right on the boundary line in front of the scoreboard.
No tall timber up forward. Oh, Whitlock's coming back, but just that kick from Ware was just unbelievable, wasn't it? Just didn't blaze, just changed the angle, found Marshall, I think it was, and yeah, it was a brilliant kick.
So Wines is going to take the set shot here. This would take his best. Decides to go short. They just weren't in sync, were they? Looking for Marshall, and he's just kicked it straight to Switkowski.
Yeah, I was watching Marshall and I was thinking, why isn't he getting back to provide presence? And it was because they were going to try and do that, which was horrible.
5 changes this afternoon for the Power. They've used 38 players this year. The Dockers have just used 30. So just building a bit of chemistry in this new look lineup. Warner heads across to the light tower, left back pocket. Young, gee, that was a great pass. On the left, off a step to Switkowski in the corridor. He's just an excellent ball user, and Fremantle now look to transition. Clark gets the handball in the centre circle, but is spun in a tackle. Knocked it forward. Jackson can paddle it to Dudley. Hospital handball across to Erasmus, who's brought down without it. No. Free kick just outside the 50. It wasn't really a tackle, was it? Just a buffet.
No, I reckon in the spirit of the game, you let that go. They could probably mount a case that he didn't have possession of the ball, but just the context of this game, the pressure's high. Port Adelaide have been outstanding. You let that play on every day of the week.
Jacob Ware, the offender, and Neil Erasmus has decided to point for home. Man on the mark is 55 out, and the umpire's letting him have a go. Set shot from in the centre square. Erasmus steps across, gives it as much as he can. It's an excellent strike, but just left. Plenty of distance on it. In the end, a minor score. Port by 2. If you've just joined us, that was their quarter-time lead. It's a game high 14 points late in the first. It was up to 10 in the second. We've had 2 lead changes, but it is Port Adelaide by 2 points right now over the ladder-leading Dockers.
Streaming out of defence was Evans. Took 2 bounces and goes to Jones. Right up against the boundary. No, out on the full.
He's got to go for that option, of course, but yeah, it's frustrating that it misses.
So centre wing Brennan Cox for the Dockers. It's on top here for the moment, but they do trail by 2 points, the visitors. Up towards left half forward. Big Mason Cox over the top of Light. He's going to have a height advantage on anyone. Good strong grab, 45 out, 45-degree angle, left half forward.
Just going back to Jones as well, and I really rate him as a footballer, but he's one of those guys that he can make the easy look hard and the hard look easy. And on that occasion, as you said, you pay the price for turning the ball over there. And the big tall timber in Mason Cox, terrific contested mark.
He's a pretty reliable shot, but he's a bit probably just out his range where he's comfortable. So this will be a good finish if he gets it.
With the drop punt, and you can hear the Bronx cheers for that extra distance. He hasn't. Oh, he's just registered a score. He's keeping Sean Darcy out of the side. Jocelyn Longmuir said that during the week, so that is a huge call. 6-5-41 the Dockers, Port 6-6-42.
Quickly playing on, Logan Evans heads to left half back. Bergman the target. Bannett floated across, as did Warner, and a couple of fists in and over the boundary line.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if we go to CB, because Cox obviously in the team ahead of Darcy, but they haven't used him in centre bounce much at all, and it's been an issue, so that could be something that they try to change up the mix in there.
Right contest this afternoon. Jackson's had 28. Mason Cox just the 4. Here's another one. Tossed in, he taps it down. Right half forward for the Dockers, but only found Richards, who spun through traffic. Hollywood handball to Moraes and Porter out. Up to centre half forward. Oh, nearly the mark by McVie. Had pretty much 98% of it until it was knocked out late. And then a quick tackle laid on the paint of 50 by Port Adelaide.
Once again, that different dynamic that Richards gives Port Adelaide at stoppage. Just on the move, he was clean, and that forward handball just opened up the play.
Power by point out of the stoppage. Erasmus to Young. Clattered into, but got it out. Clark to McVie. And now Chapman just calling for an option as he tries to exit. Kicks into the sun, and Driscoll takes the mark right in front of the Odie stand. Turns, pops it short to Voss. True centre wing. Couple of jeers for the prancing pony. Up towards centre half forward. Getting in front was Lyon Dudley and was held. The South Australian Docker panicked. And a free kick going the way of Port Adelaide.
Better match up size-wise for Lyon there rather than up against Mason Cox.
14th game this afternoon as well, but he's settling in so well, Josh Lyon.
Yeah, 2 ends of the spectrum there. Alia's got it at right half back from that short kick from Lyon. Bright orange boots. Kicks up towards centre wing. Flying was Bannett. Punching down was Cox. Gathering was O'Driscoll. Flicks the handball to Sarong, who tried to sell some candle. His kick was partially smothered there by Bergman, but regathered. Young on the logo. Switches on. Got Warner working for him in the centre square. And he readjusts his line, but misses the target. Moraes runs back onto it. Got some pressure from Dudley. He took him on. Holding the ball. Well, that was a bad kick going forward, but then Moraes just took too long, couldn't gather the footy, and Dudley laid the tackle and it stuck.
I don't know, you guys, I just sense the game's just turning a little bit. Fremantle in the last probably 5 or 6 minutes have got some repeat entries.
Yeah, and maybe starting to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the first time we've seen Port Adelaide succumb to some pressure. The rest of the game's been played very much in the other fashion.
On the paint of the 50, Isaiah Dudley unloads with a drop punt. Just the way to the right. Another minor score, a run of 3 for the Dockers. 6-5-41, Port 6-6. Oh, they're out to 6-6-42 rather. So a run of 4. So where scores are level here in the second term.
That was a powerful kick, wasn't it? He smashed that through.
Evans plays on, heads to the right back pocket to Jones. Now Burn-Jones heads up towards centre wing on the eastern side. 3-on-3 waiting there, and off hands, a couple of tackles laid. Mead gets on top of Brayshaw,
early in this second quarter, Aaron, at one stage it was 5-0 inside 50s Port Adelaide's way. Now it's 7-all. So these are the contests they're winning now.
This is a nice play. Cox down to Young, who releases Frederick, arches the back, takes the bounce, heads for home. Michael Frederick misses wide right, and it actually bounces to the wrong side of the behind post. So it will be a boundary throw-in right forward pocket for the Dockers with scores level. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Murphy Reid getting frustrated. He's been on the bench now for 11 minutes. When that Dudley shot came, he was motioning, demanding someone come off. They didn't do it.
Boundary throw-in, free from the ruck contest, going the way of Port. Both ruckmen always look to the umpire, just hoping it's not them. His short kick is not a good one to Zerk Thatcher, but he gathers on the half volley, and that's another short, weird option to Evans. Dudley with the turnover, rolls around on his right boot, centering ball to Tracy, got hands to it. Rove by Richards, kicks out wide towards Bamman. He needs to touch it before it goes out of bounds. Lasso, free kick, not there in time. The boundary umpire couldn't have been in a better position. Goes the way of the Dockers and Warner. He's 80 from home, right in front of the benches, sends this one in long. Another opportunity for the Dockers forwards. Falls out the back to Zerk Thatcher. Fetches the handball towards Burgoyne. He has some time to assess his options. Up towards Whitlock. In front was Pearce, and he takes a strong intercept mark.
Skipper wants to go for the Dockers. Releases Murphy Reid off the bench. Bangs it in, but didn't look ahead. Straight to the hole where Aaliyah and Lockie Jones are waiting, and they gobble it up.
It was very un-Murphy Reid-like, that kick, wasn't it? You expect him to be class and find someone.
Lockie Jones decides to go. He takes on 3 and a bounce out of defensive 50 and is caught. Free kick, Fremantle. They'll take the advantage. Murphy Reid races back towards the 50, tries the check side, and it's so shallow that it lands in the lap of Aaliyah. No one's got any composure right now. How about Lockie Jones, though? Full strike. What's he doing there?
That was like playing FIFA and taking the goalie out and trying to run all the way and kick the goal.
He's locked down the sprint button and just had a crack. Port in the left back pocket. Burgoyne heads across to Aaliyah. So score still 42 apiece, second term on ABC Sport.
To Josh's point, though, there's been a shift, hasn't there? We've seen front half footy from Freo for this last 4 or 5 minutes, whereas up until now, the game's very much lived at the other end of the ground.
And inside 50s now, 11-7 Fremantle's way.
So we're going to have a boundary thrown from Aaliyah's kick at 60 from the Dockers goal.
They just got to convert the Dockers.
Right on top. Sweet knocks it down to Burgoyne. Quick kick forward. Port do have numbers here on Chapman, who rode a tackle. Gets the handball away to Razzle. He was cleaned up by Durden. Absolutely met. So Berry will take the free kick, but it was Durden who did the work. He goes short to Richards, got some run to Burn Jones through the centre circle, long towards Visentini. At the back was Whitlock, couldn't complete the mark. Dern with another tough bump. The Dockers need to be clean, and they are, through Chapman. And a quick kick forward out towards Young. Great work there. Further afield there to Johnson, defensive centre wing.
Sorry, mate, that's just that play there. First quarter, that wasn't coming out that easily. And just Fremantle's ability to use their hands in congestion and then clear their D50. Been a bit of a shift, as we said.
Last 4 scoring shots to the Dockers, all behinds. Johnson leans back on the kick through the broadcast wing. Pat converges and off hands. Voss has a little slip close to the boundary line, and it'll be tossed into play. T in Melbourne sent us a text who's a West Coast supporter, no love for Fremantle, but has a conspiracy theory that Freo are playing 4D chess to put themselves in challenging circumstances before finals. I feel like you just want to cash the points, wouldn't you, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Tossed in, sweep down to Drew. Johnson becomes the tackle, wrapped up one arm. Good little chicken wing as he caressed him to the turf. Free kick holding the ball, Fremantle.
And Doc, to your point, that's been the shift as well, hasn't it? The pressure from Fremantle lifted.
The last thing the Dockers would want is to coast through, and then they end up dropping this game. Johnson towards the 50. Amos caught behind, and Bergman gets back. He's playing everywhere today. He said in the past he wants to be a pure midfielder, and he's showing he can do both roles. Intercept mark for the Power. Score still stuck at 6-6-42 apiece.
Centre wing, Whitlock brings it down. Drew, handball sharked, gathered by Wines. Murray steps through the contest. It was brave, it works. Can he hit the target further afield? Just wasn't in sync with Visentini. Ryan had the footy, goes quickly off to Warner. The switch is on. Josh Franco pointing to the space. Sarong on the logo. Waits for some runners. He missed the handball on McVie. Drew can gather now for the Power. He needs the cavalry to arrive. Kicks inside the forward 50, and Warner, he did do the push, but he was just probably too strong there for Zato, and takes the mark and gets it off to Brayshaw.
It was a bully shove, wasn't it? Just got rid of him with ease, one hand. Brayshaw up to the eastern side. Sarong caught behind Burne-Jones. It's going to come straight back for Port. Durden tries to flirt with the boundary line. Did he keep it in? No. Out on the full. He tried to get it up towards Zato. Free kick, Fremantle.
Neither team much polish at the moment. It's Freo controlling with their pressure a bit more, but their execution is not great.
Warner with the 1-2 with Brayshaw down the line. Aaliyah gets in front to cut it off. So it's Intercept City at the Adelaide Oval. The ladder-leading Dockers looking a shell of themselves, and Port Adelaide have been up for the fight. They needed to go here, Port, but they're deciding to chip it around. So Aaliyah headed across to Ware and now through defensive 50 to Evans. Fremantle is set up in a zone, but he spears between them to Burgoyne. Gives it back to Evans in the corridor. He'll head up to the broadcast wing. Kicks no good. Straight to Chapman. He had Berry in a bit of space, but missed him. Fremantle now on the counterpunch.
So Young going through to the middle of the ground. Murphy Reid just forward to the centre circle. Inside that forward 50. Wow. And Aaliyah, he's catching everything, isn't he?
Oh, dear. If you've scouted against Port Adelaide, high lobs to about 30 metres out, generally get intercepted by Aaliyah.
Doing it right across half back. Goes short to Burne-Jones. He takes his full measure. Kicks towards the big ruckman. Sweet. Chapman went for the contest and lays a tough tackle there on Berry. He really felt that. The two number 5s going at it. Ball up, says the umpire, wasting no time. Cox knocks it straight down to Wines. They're going to get the advantage paid from the ruck contest. Here's Berry. He goes the barrel. The Berry barrel. And it lunges in the lap of Whitlock, who handballs it off. It's showtime, Port Adelaide. Corey Durden runs in and kicks the goal. Wow. It was toing and froing, not much skill. And then we see that. That breaks the game open. Port back in front, 7-6-48. Freo 6-6-42, 26 gone second term.
You know when you're watching and sometimes you say, kick it down the guts. That's what he did. He barreled it straight down the guts and it worked. Brilliant. Love it.
Well, I reckon Joe Berry thought that the drop punts ain't working, so we'll just go for the barrel, and it landed in the hands of Whitlock, but yeah, that's one to break the shackles. It hasn't been a great contest the last 10 minutes. The turnovers have been rife from both sides, but yeah, lots of fortune, bit of polish at the end from Whitlock to give it off, but one against the flow for the power.
He is a talent though, Whitlock, isn't he? I mean, that was a mongrel punt, but it takes some skill to read that ball, and he got on the end of it.
Port by 6 in the middle, head over the footy. Wines wins it again, gets it to Bergman. Burgoyne now towards the 50. It's a low tracer ball. It bounces perfectly for Vicentini, who knocks it off to Zato, and the chance are coming. Back-to-back goals for Port Adelaide. Zato's got 2. They're up by 12. 26 played, second term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Gee, it's reward for effort for the Port faithful this afternoon who've turned up. Matthew Clark, Josh Franco for you, your experts.
Well, Doc, the centre bounce continues to be an issue, doesn't it, for Fremantle? And just looking at the numbers, I've never seen numbers like it, to be brutally honest with it. It's 11-2 at the moment. If you compared midfield v midfield, you wouldn't have dreamt this in 1,000 years.
There was the one thing that I was nervous for Port for, was that Luke Jackson was going to dictate terms. So, but at this point, I'd be getting Mason Cox in there. What's been great for Port is that Dante Vicentini's having an impact as a forward. So you're going to play the two big boys. They've got to have an impact forward, and he's doing that.
Back in the middle of the ground, Wines tried to get the clearance. Strong enough tackle to worry Brayshaw into a handball. Running off half-back is Lai. Kicks a ball forward, bounces over the top of Berry. Coming hard was Vicentini. Met with a bump by Geordie Clark. It's good pressure. This is footy.
Tell you what, Clark was lucky he didn't get him in the head then. Chose to bump. It didn't look great, but got away with it.
Ran past the footy. Sweet knocks it down. Free kick from the ruck contest. No one knows which way it's going, so we'll just wait and wait and wait. Going to go the way of Caleb Sarong, who quickly switches, and Durden's going to put some pressure on this. And good grab from Chapman, who handballs it off to Brennan Cox. Running outside of the ground, on the outer side of the ground rather, gets it to Frederick, sells some candy. This one's going inside the forward 50. One-on-one contest. Oh, across the front was Lai. That was brave. Got it down. quick clearing ball, clean bowls Frederick. At the back is Brendan Cox, and the siren goes at halftime. Have a listen to the power fans at Adelaide Oval. A David versus Goliath matchup at the start of this game. No one gave the Power a chance. They're up by 12 at half-time. 8-6-54. The Dockers 6-6-42.
Genuine standing ovation at the major break for a 2-goal lead. And that is the tale of this afternoon in terms of the heavyweight against the rebuilding Power. Goal scorers for Port Adelaide, 2 to Vicentini and Zatto. Singles to Berry, Whitlock, Richards and Durden. For Fremantle, 2 to Amos. And individuals to Voss, Young, Frederick and Tracy. And once again, in consecutive weeks, albeit they've been very good all year, the Dockers, they have capitulated under pressure in the first half. But as we saw back in round 18, at home against the Swans, they can turn it on when they need to after a 100-point second half last week. So there's still plenty to play out, but gee, Port keep bringing this effort. We might have an all-time upset on our hands. Matthew Clark and Josh Franco, your experts this afternoon. You can get in touch with them on the text line 0437 774 774. What's going on, Doc?
Well, I want to join the standing ovation with because that Port effort was spectacular in the first half, and it was, as we've highlighted, built off centre bounce. The other thing I reckon Freo will look at half time and probably address their forward entry. They got themselves back into the contest. They started to dictate terms a little bit, but they just blazed away and just bombed the ball to 30 out. And Port, as they do, Alir, but then also Josh Lai coming across. They just managed that situation well, and then got them twice on the bounce. So. Outstanding Port Adelaide. I mean, I know it's a two-goal lead, but if you look at the matchups, there's no way that they should be leading this game by 2 goals at halftime. So brilliant effort, built off pressure. Freo did get their hands dirty in the second quarter there, but weren't able to capitalise, and so the Port go in with a deserving lead.
And look, yeah, just to echo what you said there, Doc, and I'm sure Josh Carr and the Port Adelaide coaching staff would be absolutely thrilled with what they've been able to produce in that first half. And we'll go back to some of the KPIs and the metrics that all sides look at. And again, we spoke about this at quarter time in terms of mentality. They were plus 10 clearances. So from last time they played, I know it's only half time, that's a 28 clearance turnaround from last time these two sides met. They're plus 9 contested ball, Port Adelaide plus 5 ground ball gets. So that gives you a bit of an indication of mentality. It gives you an indication of work rate. But you mentioned it, Doc, where they're absolutely getting slaughtered is the centre bounce. So it's 12-2 at the moment. So they're minus 10 at centre bounce. Port Adelaide have been able to hit the scoreboard 3 times with 3 majors from CB, but it's probably the way that it's coming in as well and putting the Fremantle Dockers defenders under the pump. And to your point around Fremantle's entries inside forward 50, they're not getting any bang for buck. We mentioned throughout that second quarter that momentum had swung a little bit, but they just couldn't take their opportunities ahead of the ball, and they paid the price for it. So these sort of games, you're going at half-time, and as I said, I think at the start or the start of that second quarter, I thought Port Adelaide might have run out of a bit of steam. You can get ramped up and amped up for the first quarter, and then once that starts to dissipate, then the opposition better side, across all 3 lines and just better personnel, you'd imagine that they'd start to get on top. But now what happens is they go in at half-time. Fremantle, I'm telling you, now it's up to them to win this game because it's not going to be handed to them.
Yeah, I think we all sort of sit here thinking, Freo are going to come out, Freo are going to get it done in the second half. But it doesn't always happen that way. And right now, the midfield for Port Adelaide, if you're coming here today as a Port fan, you're probably saying, all right, Zach Butter's potentially leaving at the end of the year. Who are we going to see be able to step up through there? And they've got names. I mean, Ollie Wines is obviously a class midfielder for a long, long time, but Richards getting amongst it. I liked Murray's, even though he blazed away, he stepped through some traffic. So you're starting to see some signs there about what comes next. But don't worry about what comes next. They're in this game. They can win a game of footy here today. And as we said, probably 20, 25,000 faithful here. For their sake, I hope they get it done. I hope they push on through and finish the job.
Well, the interesting thing as well is I remember going back to my playing days and David Pittman.
Yep.
I remember him saying that when you're playing, if you're a Fremantle, when you're playing a weaker side that's not going to win or not supposed to win, you've actually got to approach the game with the right mentality to then make the game easy. It looks like they've gone the other way, and I guess it's only human nature. You hear all the press outside, and the narrative is that Port Adelaide are going to get absolutely belted off the park, and we were probably guilty of that up here, the David versus Goliath theme. But they've come out, they've been punched in the nose, metaphorically speaking, Fremantle, and now they're up for the fight. And I even look at some of the numbers, and you're right, Ollie Wines has wound back the clock. Richards has been a revelation inside. He's had 16 disposals. Burgoyne's been good. Moraes, he's had glimpses as well. But they're up for the fight now, Port Adelaide, and it's up to Fremantle, as we said, to fight their way back into this contest.
It was a huge game last week. The Sydney match, the emotion of that game, the way that they finished it off. But also, sometimes in that last quarter, the pressure probably comes away, and you're playing everything's easy. All of a sudden, you rock up here today, and you've come up against a team that's brought heat. Yeah. They've brought genuine heat, and they just haven't been quite sharp enough. But I think Fremantle will respond. Murphy Reid is a player that I love watching play football, but I haven't seen anything today to get excited about. But I think he's got the sort of character where he won't be happy with that first half, and I reckon they'll be putting it on some of those younger midfield leaders and saying, well, here's your chance. Let's see what you're made of. So second half looms is really exciting.
And I like to be a fly on the wall. Longmuir always comes across as very reserved and very even-tempered, but I'm imagining Hibby's ripping some paint off the walls in his own way, and how he does that to try to invoke a response out of his Fremantle players.
Because not to downplay what Port Adelaide has accomplished, but I think that the best passages of play we've seen this afternoon were when Fremantle were full stride. Some of their ball movement has been elite, but we've rarely seen it. No. You can see that the potential is there, but they're just not locked in right now. It feels like they're expecting to win. And this was to T's point about, when you get the text in saying, well, we're training different game scenarios by taking it easy. No, you can't. No. You can't do that, because then 100-point half last week makes you think, we can get out of any hole. But then you find yourselves in a big one on the road, and maybe Port Adelaide's pressure won't stop. And that's another basic question I had to ask you guys. Was just, we saw it last night with Adelaide and Sydney across patches of the game, but it feels like against the heavyweights, the key to unravelling them is pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it that simple? That just if you can keep a four-quarter effort of high-intensity contested possession and tackling, that the best teams just can't play their brands?
Well, I think it's as simple as that. And you draw parallels from what's coming up in September, and you talk, finals-type atmosphere and how finals are played. That's all the experts talk about. So if you can build enough pressure on the opposition, their game falls apart. And as a result, you grow in confidence as well. And that's where I see the two sides at the moment. Port Adelaide are confident. What I do feel, though, is if Fremantle come out in this third quarter and go bang, bang, and then all of a sudden start to feel good about themselves, that's when they can blow this game apart. But I don't think Port Adelaide, and that's why I'm so bullish about Port Adelaide, not so much winning the contest, but why they'll go in at half-time really buoyed by the fact that they've been able to produce a half a footy like that. But I don't think Port Adelaide's going to allow them to do that. And that's the challenge for the Power, to keep maintaining the rage.
Yeah, look, and ultimately, if you look at their year, Port have established an ability to play really strong, defensive-oriented football. And then, yes, is pressure the key? Absolutely, but it's easier said than done. What they've been able to do is have system and method to that. I think the ability to get the ball on the deck, so sometimes in that quarter we had some chaos ball going forward, it actually plays to their advantage. They don't necessarily need to take clunks. They need to get it on the ground and then come at them, and they've been able to do that consistently. So let's see what happens. But yeah, the 11, what was it? What's the CB stat?
12-2.
12-2. So, I mean, surely there's a response in that area, and if Fremantle can turn that around and get it level or get ahead in the ledger and that, then the game shifts, because all of a sudden you're not defending from your front half. So let's wait and see. But it's the challenge sits in front of the team in purple, which wasn't, or the white, aren't they? But I wasn't expecting that to be the case today.
No, we know locally the narrative with Ports fans has been pretty consistent, that they've been content with the campaign, given statistically what they've been able to accomplish under Carr with the injuries, competitive against the best. But then, Zach Butters has a foot out the door, and you see what this makeshift midfield is doing without Horne-Francis and Rosie as well. And future's looking pretty bright, but we've still got 2 quarters to go here on ABC Sport. On the text line as well, 0437 774 774. Pete in Ballarat says, Fremantle are vulnerable, and their recent results are hiding a problem that'll bite them in the end. They are horrendously inaccurate and go on runs of missing goals. Check out their last 10 games, nearly all of them, there's a chunk where they don't kick goals. So Pete's not totally convinced by the ladder leaders, who could be 3 clear if they win this afternoon on Sydney with 5 to go. Brett in Wangaratta says kudos to Joel Richards from Wang Maggies. He's been great. And also Paul from Torquay wondering how Will Brodie doesn't get a call-up as a midfielder without Butters and Horne-Francis out. And I think that probably answers your question, Paul. If he's not getting picked today, I think he's in a bit of strife, although I think he signed for another year, Josh. So we'll see what happens there in terms of his future at Port Adelaide. And Joe the Crow from Canberra is loving the coverage about the crowd. Does Port have the black tarps out? 24,000 people must be leftovers from last week. It's pretty good. There are patches around. Hill's pretty quiet, but I wouldn't be surprised, given what's been happening in the first half, if people start coming in
late.
They're
all drinking out the back. They're loading up for the second half. There's going to be more than 30,000 here by the time that count comes through. Joe the Crow?
Yeah, momentum's building, but we've got another half of footy to come, and Fremantle are fresh off a 100-point second half against the Swans. So who knows what's in store. Plenty of footy coming your way as well, with North Melbourne and Melbourne up next at Docklands. Collingwood and Carlton tonight at the G and West Coast, and Brisbane in Perth. So we'll go our separate ways, but you'll be able to hear it all on ABC Listen through the AFL button and AFL Extra buttons as well. It is Port by 12 at the major break, 8:6:54 to 6:6:42. We'll take a pause here on ABC Local Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and ABC Listen, and get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News, hello, I'm Satyam Weinstein. Australia's special envoy to combat Islamophobia has welcomed the federal government's response to his landmark report. Aftab Malik's report was released in September last year, making 54 recommendations. Today, the government's announced it's committing to implementing a package of measures, including a dedicated Islamophobia education task force. It's yet to confirm how many of the recommendations have not been adopted in full. Mr Malik, who previously raised concerns over how long the government's taken to respond to the report, says today is not the conclusion of the process.
It marks the beginning of the most important phase, translating commitments into meaningful action and continuing work in areas where agreement has not yet been reached.
The US military says it's completed its latest round of strikes designed to further degrade Iran's military capabilities. Iranian state media are reporting widespread attacks, as the BBC's Nick Johnson reports.
In the latest violence, Iran's state media reported there'd been a number of explosions in the central Iranian city of Yazd. Its elite Revolutionary Guard Corps also said that 2 oil tankers had caught fire after passing through a mined route near the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, Tehran accused Washington of targeting its civilian infrastructure, including bridges, a railway station and an airport. But a White House spokesperson told the BBC the US had only attacked military targets.
Australian authorities have strengthened their warning for Australian travellers to Laos after the owner of a local distillery was charged over a mass methanol poisoning incident which claimed the lives of 2 young Australians. Yvette Gray reports.
The federal government is now advising travellers to Laos to exercise a high degree of caution due to crime, the risk of methanol poisoning and ongoing concerns around lack of transparency in the justice system. The upgraded warning posted on the Smart Traveller website expressed concerns about local authorities not applying the law consistently, noting the case of 6 foreign nationals who died of methanol poisoning after consuming tainted alcoholic drinks in 2024. Lao authorities have since charged the owner of a distillery over the incident, which killed Melbourne teenagers, Bianca Jones and Holly Morton Bowles. The sale and consumption of Tiger vodka and Tiger whiskey is also prohibited.
The charges laid against the distillery owner may only result in a short sentence and a fine. The World Food Programme says the besieged Sudanese city of El Obeid in North Kordofan has become the epicentre for hunger and displacement in the country. Nearly 500,000 people in the city are facing emergency levels of hunger. The WFP's Sudan director, Abdallah Al-Wadat, says a growing influx of people fleeing the fighting has pushed the city towards a humanitarian catastrophe.
We want to do more for sure, but of course we are also stretched on our resources. But definitely we have the access. We can deliver the food and we can be there and we can work with partners on the ground. Resources are limiting us to do that one.
US President Donald Trump says he'll talk with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney about wildfire smoke drifting into the United States. He says the US is being invaded by, in his words, filthy, polluted and unhealthy air. More than 800 wildfires are burning in Canada, destroying entire communities. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says they're doing the best they can to contain the fires.
We are throwing every single resource we can. When you have 191 infernos running right across our province, we're deploying it based on the firefighters' expertise.
A Perth man has been charged after allegedly making an online threat to a federal parliamentarian. The Australian Federal Police linked the 47-year-old man to a social media post which allegedly contained a threat to kill a federal politician. The Bayswater man's been charged with 2 counts of using a carriage service to make a threat to kill or cause serious harm. The maximum penalty for the offence is 10 years in prison. A hiker is in a potentially life-threatening condition after a 20-metre fall in Queensland's Scenic Rim. Paramedics say the person suffered significant head injuries after falling from rocks at Mount French. The hiker is being airlifted to hospital for treatment. And the Rolling Stones have levelled with their 60s rivals, the Beatles, for number 1 albums after their latest record, Foreign Tongues, shot to the top of the UK charts. The band's 25th studio album was released on July 10 and features guest contributions from Paul McCartney, The Cure's Robert Smith, and Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith. The Rolling Stones and the Beatles now both have 15 number 1 albums. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
I'm Maureen McGillicuddy.
And I'm Edith Vale.
And we host Another Cuppa.
Will we natter away with some of Australia's biggest names?
Pop the kettle on with Granny Bingo.
Woke garbage. Exactly.
Search Another Cuppa podcast on ABC Listen.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
Gets the handball that wide to Ware. The late inclusion for Ram. Kicks a little bit too hot for Bammett, but it clears everybody back towards the scoreboard. Chapman's running out of room. Threads the needle with a handball, but straight to Wally Wines for the power. He uses Berry, the hop skip, as he zigs and zags. 2 goals! Joe Berry! My goodness!
Well, the contrast in pressure, I mean, he was able to just dance around inside forward 50 and no one's within 5 metres of him. What's going on down there, Freo?
Out of the stoppage, Johnson sends Fremantle forward. Voss spun the 360, dropped the footy, no free kick. Dudley pounces, hands it off, and the goal is scored by Amos. Cross the body, 20 from home, and the Freo fans will be elated at the northern end. The Port ones are incensed.
They're going to get the advantage paid from the ruck contest. Here's Berry. He goes the barrel! The very barrel! And the luck is in the lap of Whitlock, who handballs it off. It's showtime, Port Adelaide! Corey Durden runs in and kicks the goal. Wow! It was toing and froing, not much skill. And then we see that breaks the game open. Port back in front.
In the middle, head over the footy. Wines wins it again. Gets it to Bergman. Bergwijn now towards the 50. It's a low tracer ball. It bounces perfectly for Vicentini, who knocks it off to Zano. And the kids are coming. Back-to-back goals for Port Adelaide. Zano's got 2. They're up by 12.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio.
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
And ABC Listen.
It's been a surprise packet of a Saturday afternoon. Port Adelaide by 12 points over the ladder-leading Dockers at the major break. But Fremantle did kick 100 points in the second half against the Swans last week. So plenty to play out. But my goodness, the effort from these kids has been solid. Josh Carr's got the depth running. No Rosie, no Horn-Francis, no Butters, no Farrell, no Georgiades. And still, this Port side is up for the fight against the benchmark of the competition right now. Fremantle win. They're 3 games clear of the Swans with 5 to go. And they're 4 games clear of 5th. So they would love to get the job done here. It would be a shock blip on their season if they cannot get the job done against a wounded and inexperienced Power. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson with you alongside Matthew Clark and Josh Franco this afternoon. Braden Ingram downstairs as well. And the text line 0437 774 774. Some news from this morning. So for the Western Bulldogs game with the Suns tomorrow, there's been 2 late changes. The Dogs have lost Tom Liberatore to soreness and Riley Garcia to a hamstring. So Joel Frazier and Lockie McNeil come into the 23. And also in terms of last night's game, the Crows' 16-point win over the Swans, both Glenn McFarlane and Sam Edmund are reporting that Darcy Fogarty is likely to go straight to the tribunal for his high tackle on Harry Cunningham that saw the Swan concussed. So swinging arm there would be deemed severe, high contact, high impact, or severe impact rather, high contact, and that will send him straight to the tribunal if that is the case. So we're looking at 3 or 4 weeks plus for Darcy Fogarty, depending on how that argument goes. Plenty to play out here at the Adelaide Oval, and the crowd's building a fair bit. It was in the mid-20s to start. The true believers had their scarves out. They were very vocal. I remember the showdown during COVID when we had 2,000 people here, and it was one of my more favourite experiences because the crowd was very raw and real, and it was kind of like that in the first half where the ones who turned up were very, very loud, and they were riding every single moment, and they've been rewarded for their effort, but there's a half a footy to come. Have you changed your tip, Josh Franco?
Well, what I will say, if Port Adelaide can be even halfway through this third quarter and playing the same brand, I'm telling you, it's game on.
All right, here we go. Port by 12. Tom Wilson to get us back underway.
Sweet knocks it down. Burgoyne trying to get the clearance. Gets a handball away to Bergman. Kicks inside the forward 50. A repeat of that first quarter. Pearce tried to take the mark. He was clobbered high and wins a free kick going against Marshall.
Structurally the same setup though, and it's another clearance for Port Adelaide. Freo, please change something in the middle.
So Pearce brings it out of defence. Up towards Tracy. Aaliyah flew at the back and he's going to get paid a free against.
And just on that too, Doc, I do like your theory of putting Big Mason Cox in there.
Yeah, let's just change something.
Yep.
Come on.
Tracy's got it at left half back for the Dockers. Gives it a good 55-metre roost, and Jackson gets a free fly at that. Zirk Thatcher was pushed out of the contest, but he takes the mark. Handballs it off to Luke Ryan at centre wing. Short ball to Hayden Young. 60 from home.
Because the other side of that is Jackson as a forward, he's a massive threat as well. So let's do something different for you.
So he kicks into the pocket, looking for that man Jackson. There were 4 Port players against him. That's how dangerous he is, Doc.
Yeah. That said, they are top of the ladder. Probably don't need to do too much different.
He just jumped in. It was Port by 2 at quarter time and 12 at the half. We've had 2 lead changes. Game high margin was 14 in the first, but Freo have shown glimpses of their greatness, but Port's pressure has been so good. Jackson taps it down. Tracking it is Bergman. He's buffeted away by Young, but the ball comes with him, and another boundary throw in to come, 45 out. Quietish afternoon for Caleb Sarong as well. So he's had the 10 touches, but 3 kicks at 33%. Tossed in. Jordan Sweet falls into the drop. Double tap only went as far as Erasmus. Gives it back to the Dockers for Brayshaw. Erasmus again, lowers the eyes, checks the kick, well placed towards Jackson inside 50, straight in front, 35 out. Good vision from the youngster.
Yeah, well, it was, Aaron, and probably hats off to Brayshaw as well. His work in the scramble was sensational. Just being able to evade the pressure of Port Adelaide, and then that kick from Erasmus just didn't blaze, lowered the eyes, and that's easier said than done, that. What Erasmus just did then.
Yeah, if you think about those, 4 or 5 entries at the end of the second quarter, there certainly wasn't that. So that's a good adjustment at half time by the Freo. Can they finish the job?
What a barometer this man is. He's lifted them in tough times all year. Luke Jackson leans back from 45, and it's jackpot. Freo with the first of the second half. And the margin's down to 6. 8-6-54 Port Adelaide. Fremantle 7-6-48. 3 played third term on ABC Sport. And the question now is, do Port's knees get a little wobbly?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it, Aaron? As I said, only a small sample size, only a couple of minutes gone in this third quarter. But first goal to Fremantle closes the margin. And we keep coming back to that centre bounce stuff. If they can get this right, the Dockers, and get field position off the back of winning CV, that'd be a massive plus for them. But at the moment, they don't look like getting their hands on the ball in centre bounce, but a good start for Fremantle.
Slightly different structure here. They're going sort of the right-sided triangle, trying to open up one side. So maybe we see Young on a wrap here, which could get some forward momentum for Freo.
20th goal of the year for Luke Jackson, and he's back in the middle of the ground. Knocks it straight to Young. Directly called by Doc Clark on the wraparound from Young. Kicks inside the forward 50. Tracy couldn't complete the mark. Aaliyah was in front and dives on top of him with a ball up. Doc, that was impressive.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting for something like that for a little while.
From the contest, Sweet knocks it down to Jones, who was tackled in the contest off the ball by Voss, and he's going to get the free kick. Right half back for the Power.
I just don't like those free kicks. You get possession of it, you're not strong enough to hold on to it, then they pay holding the man.
Yep. Yeah.
You're not rewarding the tackler there. And I understand technically it was, but you've got to be better as the ball carrier.
Lockie Jones through defensive 50 to Aaliyah. In front of the scoreboard, heads out. Poor kick, just soft drop towards line. Dudley cuts in front, cuts it off and back into the 50. places his kick up towards Tracy. He's 30 out, 45 to the right. That was a disappointing error from Aliir, who in the first half had 100% kicking efficiency. And that one was a clear turnover.
In the lead-up, the way Freo had structured the ground defensively, though, that's the first time they looked really set. And so then when the kick is slightly errant, they were able to pounce and once again lower the eyes. And we get another shot on goal.
Tracy, loaders in. Kick looks good. Fremantle go bang, bang. It was the warning Josh Franco mentioned before the half-time break. The Dockers up and about. And Tracy's got his second. Scores level. 8-6, 54 apiece. 5 played third term on ABC Sport.
And you talk about getting set defensively off the back of the centre bounce win, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, field position.
Get that field position, yeah.
Absolutely. Inside 50, you can get organised behind the ball. As you said, it wasn't a great kick there from Aliir, but they look really sound defensively on that D50 exit for Port Adelaide, able to turn the footy over, and once again a good connect inside 50. But the numbers now are starting to stack up in favour of Fremantle, aren't they? Inside 50s 4-1. The clearances have still 2-all, but they looked a little bit more dangerous in that last CB. But disposals to this point in the quarter, 12-4. Port Adelaide only 4 disposals, and we played nearly 3.5 minutes.
So scores locked away. 2 quick goals to start the second half for the Dockers. Looking for the clearance. Jackson goes to Sarong. Flicks it out wide to Johnson. Goes inside the forward 50 looking for a target. Amos v. Zirk Thatcher. And they're going to pay a free kick.
You reckon?
Zirk Thatcher won the marking contest. And he's been asked to give it to Amos at the top of the goal square.
Obviously, the replay might show a different look, but, oh, come on, man. Nah, he's just held his ground.
Too strong. Well, it doesn't matter because Amos smashes that one through and he's got his third. And that's the third for the second half for the Dockers, and they've just snatched the lead like that. 9-6-60. Port 8-6-54. 6.5 gone in the third term.
And as disappointing as this is, obviously, for Port, it's also another great opportunity for them. They've shown up with amazing intent, and now, 3 in a row, bang, bang, bang. Can they respond again here and find a way to get themselves back in this contest? But they've got to get their hands on the pill.
You know what I will say? Playing devil's advocate here, I just looked at the replay.
You happy?
Well, it was a hand in the face.
Oh, in the face, okay.
If you don't argue someone and you do that, it's a free kick again. So I reckon technically they could argue and mount the case that the free kick was there.
All right.
But off the back of centre bounce, quick ball in, forces that free kick and puts the defenders under the pump.
3 unanswered to start for the Dockers, and they're up by 6. Sweep down to Drew, quickly tackled, spun around, just couldn't get boot to the ball, and Erasmus wins the free kick.
It shifted.
Yeah, well, it was unrealistic to think they were going to maintain the level of dominance, but at the moment, this is getting messy.
Erasmus inside 50, and Aliir stands his ground in the hole, gets the intercept mark, and kicks out better this time to left half back to Bammett. So Aliir's had 5 intercept marks, 10 for the game. Kicks out to the eastern side. Bammett, a little wide of Whitlock, and the chase on with Pearce as it rolls over the boundary line. So, yes, 5 intercepts for Aliir, 10 marks total, 11 touches at 91%. It's just the one poor kick, really, that plagued him, which was the early one in this quarter.
And inside 50s this quarter, 6-1 Freo's way. Kicking efficiency, Fremantle 83%, Port Adelaide just the 60.
Tossed in, sweep to Drew, quickly tackled, got a handball out, but set upon in the sandwich is Richards as O'Meara and Murphy close the walls in. Ball up near the Odie stand. Sweet takes it out of the ruck, tries to get through Jackson. He's slipping and sliding, but the ball pops out and a free kick is paid.
They've traded jumpers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jackson has a runner. Releases Ryan riding shotgun into the light tower. He spears the pass and Amos on the lead. Takes it on the chest. Set shot to come, 40 from home. And all that energy has been sapped out of the Adelaide Oval.
Good teams have the ability to make adjustments in game. You'd love to not have to wait till half time, but there's been some significant adjustments. They've sorted out their centre bounce, and their forward entry also significantly improved at the start of this third quarter.
The start at the Wanganeen stand. Jai Amos now with a career-high 42-goal season. Looking for his 4th this afternoon. Amos crosses the paint of 50, casually places it towards goal, and it's just not through for a minor score on the line. It is Fremantle by 7 points. 9 played, third term on ABC Sport.
Well, and also, too, it's amazing when you win the pressure battle, and at the moment, the tackle count 5-zip Fremantle's way this quarter. Clearances, they're dominating. It's amazing when you get that phase of the game right, everything else takes care of itself, as it is for the Dockers at the moment.
Turnover out of the kick-in. Good pressure there from Bergman, trying to get it back for Port. Murphy-Reid comes up with it, gets it to McVie, flicks it back to Ryan, to Jackson, to Geordie Clark from 60 out, lowering the eyes again on the chest. That's silver service for Tracy, who marks 40 metres out directly in front.
And just looking at the body language after that ball was kicked inside 50 and marked by Tracy, all getting around, high-fiving each other. I reckon they're smelling a bit of blood at the moment, the Dockers.
An amazing turnaround so quickly. Yeah. Only 10 minutes in. 3 goals the way of the Dockers, just dominating. This is why they've been so devastating all year. Tracy from 40 metres out. He kicked it and turned straight to his teammates. He's also got 3. The 3-headed monster of the Dockers is delivering. They're up by 13 points, 10-7-67. Port 8-6-54, 10.5 gone third term.
Port Adelaide just can't get their hands on the footy.
That's it.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers. What are we? 13:51 of actual game time left, so 6 minutes gone. Port Adelaide have only touched the footy this quarter 9 times. They're running at 67% of disposal efficiency, 8-1 inside 50s against. Uncontested possessions, contested ball, tackles, getting absolutely dominated at the moment.
And we saw in the first half, as you highlighted, they brought an extra one up to the stoppage, but we just haven't had a stoppage for them to do that. So how do we get our hands on the ball? It's going to take one of these inside midfielders at the centre bounce to win a battle.
Never thought I'd hear a Crows man say we for Port Adelaide.
Did I go with that?
You sure did.
I'm getting around them.
Dockers by 13. Sweet taps it down. Bergman tracked it well, but kicked it straight to the shins of Young. Ricochets eastern side. Dammit's trying to get there. Knocks O'Meara away from the ball. Coming in with the assist, though. The paddle swap from Ryan back towards O'Meara, who gives it to his leading defender. Ryan, tunnel handball through to Murphy-Reid. Gee, the Dockers are slow slick when they want to be. Young to Clark. Erasmus. And now stepping through traffic, McVie glides up to right half forward, gives it to O'Meara into the scoreboard pocket. Couple of flyers, a hard collision from Zerk Thatcher as he launched into Amos. Logan Evans was the only one who watched the footy well. Takes the intercept mark, short pass to Burn-Jones. Freo by 13 points. Worth stating that they're pretty consistent this year. Their worst quarters are second terms, 9 and 9 now, and their best are thirds, where they're 13 and 3. They started pretty hot here with the opening 5 scoring shots.
It goes short to Berry, plays on quickly. Nice ball out towards the centre wing for Bergman. He rolls around quickly too, pumps it inside that forward 50, looking for a contest. Cox was good, brought it to the ground. Vicentini burst through, took on the tackle. Is that his prior? No.
The Port Adelaide supporters are complaining about a high tackle. I think he did take on the tackler, definitely.
They feel like they liked it in the replay. Yeah. O'Meara gets the clearance out of defence, quick ball, and Cox pops his hands up, takes the mark, flicks it onto Sarong. They're moving well here, Fremantle. Another kick up towards the forward line. Left half forward to space. Tracy's there with Burn-Jones. Knocks it to Amos. Over back towards Tracy. They've both got 3 goals. They can raffle it to Frederick in the goal square. 5 straight in the second half. Fremantle are on fire. They've woken up. They're 11-7-73. Port 8-6-54.
Well, this is what I thought I was coming to see today. The premiership favourite, offensively elite over the last 5 minutes. And now that they've got their pressure at the level and their defence at the level, we're seeing a team that is quite rightfully in the frame for the premiership this year.
What did they kick last couple of weeks ago? It was 100 points in the second half.
Yeah, last week.
I think you nailed it. Doctor, can I change my...
Franco, back on the...
You can only change it once, that's the rule.
All right. You're both very alive. I mean, Doc said 42 points and you said 10 goals, so...
Yeah, we're in the frame.
I said 10 plus, but then I changed it to less than 10. I want to change it back to 10 plus.
Frost is right.
Yeah, well, the Dockers are looking ominous.
Freo by 19. Mason Cox, Vicentini do battle in the middle. Tap heads towards Fremantle's attacking half. Bergman's trying to get it out of there. Against 3, managed to tow it back to Wines. Port get a surge. Vicentini to Richards. Arches the back on Reid. Into the 50. Marshall caught behind him. McVie courageously puts his body in front of the leading man to take the intercept mark. What a recruit he's been. The pick they used to get him wasn't even used by the Demons. Heads across to Ryan. Now O'Driscoll, left half back. Fremantle by 19 with 5 unanswered. That's a miserable kick. And he's pulled up sore, Noddy, from that as well. Kicked it straight in the 45 to Burn Jones. He's hobbling away. Burn Jones nearly gave it back. Short bounce in front of Ryan, over his head. Out the back door, McVie gets it to Pearce. Fremantle's under some pressure from Port here. Chapman did well. Got through to O'Meara. Down the line he looks. Sarong in front. Evans shoves him over the line. Free kick.
This gives them an opportunity. And they take it through Frederick, centre wing. Marks in front of Aaliyah. Readjust back to Sarong. So the pair of waxing switch is right on now. Other side of the ground to Warner. He's just strolling through the centre square. He goes deep inside the forward 50. Tracy at the back. Couldn't complete the mark. Rode by Amos. Off to Dudley. Goes 20 metres back. Finds Erasmus. Just directing some traffic. He's about 55 from home. Sending it back towards the left forward pocket. And he's kicked it straight to Zirk Thatcher. So Port with the intercept mark. The Freo floodgates are open. As he goes to Aaliyah in the right back pocket. Short again to Burn Jones.
Yeah, Port Adelaide are on their heels a bit here, aren't they? They're trapped here. Oh, they've got one here. Can they get out?
So the 45 to Lockie Jones, and he's kicked it off the side of his boot. That is remarkable. Under no pressure, he's kicked that out of bounds on the full centre wing.
Must have seen the scon of Brendan Cox getting some work from the trainers and tried to put it on his head. Free kick, Fremantle. Luke Ryan steps inboard, heaves it back towards the 50, 25 out. Good body work there from Zirk Thatcher to push off Amos, but his handball sharked. Dudley heads across, 25 out, right forward pocket. Erasmus tried to give it to Frederick. A little bit too hot. Now has to gather. Arcs around from Bammett. Frederick just tries to make it work. It's curling across the face, and Zirk Thatcher with the fist knocks it through. Fremantle by 20 points. On the text line, one listener says, in my unpopular view, I don't think Fremantle have played that well for most of the season. They just keep finding a way to win, often by their ability to execute those now trademark bursts when the opposition is gassed.
Just refer to the percentage.
Yeah, I think I've seen some pretty decent offensive football today. It's just not the defence yet, but it's building in this quarter.
So Logan Evans takes a bounce, handballs to Ware, defensive side of centre wing. He just ran into trouble. He just ran straight into a Freo wall and turned it over. O'Meara goes inboard to Chapman. Does well out wide to Tracy, a long way from home. Flicks it back to Ryan. He's going to go all the way back to McVie at left half back. So Port do push back with some territory, but the Dockers still have the footy. Here's the risky kick in the middle of the ground. It's going to pay off. Hitting the target of McVie. Goes short to Dudley, dropped the mark. He had time, 60 metres out, looking for a target in Frederick. Tough contest from Zirk Thatcher, did well. Rode by Burn Jones to Evans to Jones. Over the top. Ware's quick kick, finds Whitlock. Half volley, can't complete the mark. Handballs between the legs of O'Meara. Wines goes underground to Whitlock. A tough one here for Richards, who kicks it over the top to Durden. They've done well.
The new school's got some tricks. Durden can turn. No one near him, so he runs towards the 50. Tried to check the kick short. Just a bit shallow for Mead. Follows up, though, on the gather. Sends it towards Bammett. Had to fly late. And Warner gets the hand on it first as he juggles the mark. Looks for an exit. Short pass centrally to Sarong. It's Fremantle by 20 points. Kicked 5 unanswered in this third quarter after being down 12. Trademark Dockers at the moment. That's a right half back. Alex Pearce. The skipper down the line to Erasmus just behind centre wing. He'll look inboard. Centering kick towards Brayshaw. Marks uncontested. Port showed so much fight in the first half, and even now still glimpses defensively, but the class factor starting to set in. Brayshaw out towards the benches to Ryan. In a paddock, no one standing the mark. And go back towards the logo to Chapman. Methodical ball movement from the Dockers. No urgency right now at all. Chapman back to Ryan. Bit of stat padding for the defenders.
So Ryan in front of his teammates on the bench. Goes short. Not the required journey, says the umpire. So Mead lays a strong tackle. Just dumps O'Meara into the turf. Under pressure now, the Dockers. Richards in there. Wines does well. Sharked by O'Meara, ball in dispute. Brayshaw was strong, creates some space for Chapman. He spins around, flicks it back to Warner. He's got the switch now onto centre half back, and the big man Pearce. He's got a paddock and can go straight through the middle of the ground. Handballs it off. Long inside the 50 from O'Driscoll, looking for Cox. Creates some space. Roving was Dudley. Flicks the handball out. And it might have been incorrect disposal there. Tackle laid by Aaliyah.
I think Freo's ability to access the corridor's been impressive this quarter, hasn't it? Even on that occasion, it was risk versus reward, but they're able to hit their targets.
Yeah, they've controlled the game, and they're just doing it with possession. But Port Adelaide, as much as they're under the pump, they have at least sort of held the ship over the last 3 or 4 minutes, and now they just got to find a way to counter-punch and to get one of these goals back. If they can get to three-quarter time with this margin intact, I still give them a chance to rally, but it's looking a bit messy.
Switching back and forth through D50. Logan Evans flares the kick, well placed. Out towards the defensive edge. Mark was taken there by Sweet. He hits up to Mead. This is good ball movement from the power. 17th in the league for it from D50 to forward 50, but that's a nice touch of class. Vicentini up towards Zatto. 45 out from goal. So good statistically in defensive areas, but their ball movement has been what's plagued them.
Did he not kick one right there in the first quarter?
So Zatto didn't go for home. Went to Jacob Ware instead, who tries to go for the monster bomb from 60. Nearly cleared everybody, and Durden just couldn't get a hold of it on the behind line. Minor score. Fremantle by 19 points. Time on in the third term. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Yeah, so it was in that kick that wasn't paid the distance right in front of us. Jagger O'Meara, come back to me, guys.
So under pressure from the kick out there. O'Driscoll just got it away in time. Flicks it back to Pearce. He had a big handball over the top of Sarong. Gets it back to Frederick. Ryan's deep in defence.
Marshall in trouble in the middle of the ground.
Yep.
Taking a bounce now is Ryan. Kicks up towards centre wing. 2-on-1 favouring the power, but certainly roved well there by Johnson. We'll get to Braden Ingram shortly because Port have a foray forward, and Bammett goes for home. And they've stopped play here. We've got some players down. Braden Ingram, what are you seeing downstairs?
Yeah, so it's Todd Marshall, who looks to have a pretty nasty cut to his face. As you'll see him now on his feet, he has blood streaming from his head. We know his history of concussions, so he's going to have to come off. So right call to stop this play because he's very ginger. The docs went out to him almost immediately. Good to see him at least moving, though, and it looks to be above his right eye, absolutely screaming. Jager O'Meara, as well, as I mentioned before, was sore, hobbled off, had his leg looked at. He's been on the bench. They've looked to strength tested. He looks to be okay to come back on, but hasn't had a great year with hamstring and also facial fractures, as we see Marshall come to the bench now.
So this is going to be a strange thing to say, but he looks fine. Even though he's bleeding out the head, he's been able to jog off the ground. He seems to be chatting away. So in the meantime, Freo sort of fumbled around with it, trying to bring it out of defence. Port had their first score of this second half. It took them 21 minutes and plays back underway through Bammett. He goes to Balin O'Brien. Short to Burgoyne. He's about 70 from home, asked to play on. Goes inside the forward 50. Was dealt with after he kicked it. Umpire says no free. And the intercept mark at full back is Mason Cox.
Yeah, Patrick Voss hit Burgoyne as he was kicking the ball. The crowd was appealing for the late after disposal kick, but wasn't there.
Seen them paid softer free kicks through the year, and that one they decided not to. Clearing kick, only as far as a pack and off hands. Frederick will walk it over.
They've got himself back in the game, though.
Port, yeah.
And if Zatto takes that shot, which he absolutely should have, they could have got that one back. They've just got to find a goal here.
Freo by 19 points. They've kicked 5 unanswered goals in the third. Tossed in. Sweet takes it out of the ruck. Tries to handball forward. Little fumbo from Zatto. Pinballs back towards Ware, though. Dumped in the washing machine. Got a handball out, but it's a turnover up and under to Brayshaw. Gave it to McVie. Fumbled, but towed it back towards Brayshaw. He thumps it out of there with a blasting kick. Only as far as Lockie Jones. Broadcast wing. He's right next to the logo. Port will get another entry here. Lockie Jones spots something he likes in the right forward pocket. It's Jack Whitlock, just curved a little wide right late. And it will be a boundary throw in 45 from home.
And you're right, Doc. To Port Adelaide's credit, they have got their way back in this contest. About 5 minutes ago, it looked like the Dockers by how much, but Port Adelaide have done well to stem the flow.
Boundary throw in. Sweet with the front spot. Jackson nursed him under it. Going in hard was Richards. That was tough on the big man. And we'll have a ball up in a similar position, 45 from the power goal.
What I do like that Richards as a mid.
Yeah, I think that's been a win. It's been a find today.
Very, very influential.
Been a revelation this season. His second year at the club. So Frederick was tackled without it. Play on, says the umpire. Richards, quick kick. Gathered by Wines. Keeps it in. Goes the underground handball. Trying to find Mead, but we'll have a throw in. 45 from the power goal on the right half forward flank. Braden Ingram.
So it looked as though Jager O'Meara was trying to push to come back onto the ground. In fact, his day is done. It's a left ankle, so they pulled the pin on him. It hasn't been a great year at all for the veteran.
Out of contract, 32. And yeah, as Braden mentioned, this was just his sixth game this year because of hamstring and facial fractures. So had another injury that's separate to that, an ankle this afternoon. A boundary throw-in, knocked forward and hands, another boundary throw-in to come. 20 out, right forward pocket. It's Freo by 19. They were down 12 at the half. Port Adelaide looking for an almighty upset. The Dockers with a big surge, 5 goals in 13 minutes. Tossed in. Jackson dives onto the footy off the right tap.
Dragged
Tackled, holding the ball. Free kick, Port Adelaide. Just a matter of who. There were a flurry of bodies on top of the big man, and they're going to give it to Mitch Zatto.
Don't pass this one off, Mitch.
He's 5 metres closer and he's going to have a shot, which is good.
Yeah. 30 out, slightly to the right. Mentioned earlier that he is housemates with Bailyn O'Brien, so the Pinjarra product, big day for him as his roommate got his debut. He's a groundskeeper at Trinity College, now playing against a mob he would have watched frequently back in WA. Mitch Zatto, couple of steps.
Excellent.
Easy kick through the big sticks. Loves it as well, and he's got 3 for the afternoon. Mitch Zatto in his 4th game, firing in the absence of Mitch Georgiades, and the margin's down to 13 points. 11-8-74 the Dockers. Fremantle 9-7-61. Time on in the third. Josh Franco, Matthew Clark, your experts on ABC Sport.
So all day, Josh has been talking about the mentality that Fremantle have showed up with. And now's a great moment to challenge that again because, yes, they got it on their terms, everything's going smoothly, but the power fight back, they get it back within a couple of goals, and now it's game on again. So let's see what Freo are going to bring.
And just on Mitch Zatto, he's only had the 8 disposals as a small forward. He's running at 75% kicking efficiency, but 3 goals too, so he's had 5 shots on goal. What a game.
It's good gear.
Yeah, very good.
Back to a 13-point margin, breaking Fremantle's run of 5 straight goals. Drew with the clearance for the power, kicks it up to centre half forward, but just read best there by Geordie Clark, star of the competition in this Dockers outfit. Great ball user. Flicks it towards Ryan. Creating a contest was Mead, but Ryan read it best. Over the top to Erasmus by hand. Ignored Murphy Reid, but goes inboard towards Johnson on the logo. A flat ball inside the forward 50, a chaos one. Tracy gets answer. Oh! Went with a bump on Burn Jones. He's probably lucky he didn't collect him high there. This is a dangerous kick towards the top of the goal square, and Amos in front of Zerk Thatcher marks on the chest. We've seen this before.
I'll tell you what, that was a brilliant catch.
Yeah.
Thatcher was all over him, and I don't know whether it was just lucky or good body work, but that was a superb catch.
So Zerk Thatcher's competed really strongly, but guess what? They're racking up the 3-headed monster is looking ominous again.
Yeah. Yep. Tracy's got 3. Amos is lining up for number 4. He's 25 metres out, directly in front. 4 to the floor for Jai Amos. And they quickly get that goal back, the Dockers, and extend it back out to 19 points. They're 12-8-80 Port, 9-7-61, late in the third term.
Well, that's just the difference, isn't it? You almost sense that will potentially be the difference in the game is Fremantle's ability to win those contests and kick goals and keep scoreboard pressure on Port Adelaide, because as we said in the last 10 minutes, Port Adelaide have got themselves back in their contest through ramping up pressure again and some really clinical ball movement, but you just sort of see if they get that fast break and get some one-on-ones ahead of the ball, it's going to be very difficult to stop from Port Adelaide's perspective.
Yeah, well, when Ram went out before the match, you looked down there and you said they're just a little bit too thin. I'm pleased that they've kept Bergman up as a mid for the majority, because it's the thing I think they need to solve, but it does leave them exposed down back.
So Fremantle by 19, the voices of Matthew Clark and Josh Franco with you on ABC Sport. Sweet flew early, free kick to Mason Cox. Milestone game for the Premiership Magpies. Parents in town. He hands it off to Hayden Young towards the top of the goal square. Lai commits back with the flight, but just couldn't quite stick it. They fall on top of him. crowd thought it might have been a mark, will get a ball up instead, top of the goal square for the Dockers.
Also, you talk courage. What about Lie there? Coming back with the flight with those big gorillas coming at you. That's superb.
Cox down again. Bootlaces of Dudley quickly engulfed by Bergman. Will get another ball up, 20 out. Phil and Jeanette, Mason Cox's parents all the way from the US. Grew up in Dallas. Game 150 today. Taps it down. Only found Richards. Clear and kick. Out towards the centre square. Pushing off with the body. McPhee just couldn't cut off the ball drop. And then falls into the footy as Durden wraps him up. Ball up to come centre square. Dockers by 19.
In the final minute of the third term, Cox knocks it down. Overrunning it was Young, but Switkowski was clean. Back to Clark, who was thrown off the footy after he dropped it. And there's your favourite free kick, Josh Franco.
Don't like it. Oh, that does the crowd.
Nah. He's just grabbed it and dropped it.
Yeah.
And he gets rewarded.
Yeah.
So Clark goes inside the forward 50. Looking for a late goal. Tracy knocks it to the front. Murphy Reid, he's had a quiet day by his standards. Kicks it towards the top of the goal square. Coming over the top was Evans with the spoil. Out over the boundary line, we'll have a throw in the left forward pocket.
A lot of the time, the tackler doesn't even know the ball's been spilled out either. And that's why I don't like those free kicks.
It was good by Tracy there. Aaliyah about to intercept Mark, just got a hand in, keeps the ball in Frio's half.
Tossed in, Dockers by 19. Ball drops a little wide at both rucks. Sweet takes it on the bounce, flung it out towards Moraes. Gets a kick up and under towards centre half back. Flurry of bodies fly. Hard landing in amongst it for poor Durden. Quickly Fremantle through Brayshaw back towards the 50. Aaliyah gets in front and square though was Young. Tried to leave the footy behind and draw the free kick on the tackle of Bergman. Wasn't paid, and that'll do us for 3/4 of footy. And it was one-way traffic for the Dockers on the scoring front. 6-1 in the third term. A movie that we've seen before from Fremantle after their 100-point surge in the second half last week. They looked in all sorts in the first half with Port up by 12, and now it is the Dockers by 19. 12-880 to 9-761. 3 goals to Tracy, 4 to Amos, 2 to Frederick, singles to Young, Voss and Jackson. Port Adelaide, 3 to Zatto, 2 to Vicentini, and singles to Berry, Whitlock, Richards and Durden. Jager O'Meara out for the game with an ankle injury. Todd Marshall still has that cut head, so he's being checked out downstairs. And you can get in touch on the text line 0437 774 774. A shout out to John from Kalgoorlie, who's in Perth going through cancer treatment. Our thoughts are with you, John. He's a Pies supporter. They play tonight, so wishing you the best at the MCG, John, when you take on the Blues. We'll be able to hear that from 7:20 Eastern. For those in WA, you'll hear West Coast and Brisbane, but you can hear it all on ABC Listen through the AFL and AFL Extra buttons. Coming up next, it's the Roos and the Ds at Docklands. We'll check in there very shortly. It's great to have you with us on ABC Local Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and ABC Listen for Saturday Footy on ABC Sport.
What's loaded with fun for the whole family? ABC iView. Bring it! From the investigators and caper crew to Andy Lee's Do Not Watch This Show.
You can keep watching.
Find it all on ABC iView.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
Gives it back to the Dockers for Brayshaw. Rasmus again lowers the eyes, checks the kick, well placed towards Jackson inside 50, straight in front, 35 out. Good vision from the youngster. What a barometer this man is. He's lifted them in tough times all year. Luke Jackson leans back from 45, and it's jackpot. Freo with the first of the second half.
Flicks it back to Ryan, to Jackson, to Geordie Clark from 60 out. Lowering the eyes again on the chest. That's silver service for Tracy, who marks 40 metres out directly in front. This is why they've been so devastating all year. Tracy from 40 metres out. He kicked it and turned straight to his teammates. He's also got 3. The 3-headed monster of the Dockers is delivering. Knocks it to Amos. Over back towards Tracy. They've both got 3 goals. They can raffle it to Frederick in the goal square. 5 straight in the second half. Fremantle are on fire. They've woken up.
Tossed in. Jackson dives onto the footy off the right tap.
Drag
Tackled.
it in.
Holding the ball. Free kick, Port Adelaide. Just a matter of who. There were a flurry of bodies on top of the big man, and they're going to give it to Mitch Zatto. Couple of steps.
Excellent.
Easy kick through the big sticks. Loves it as well, and he's got 3 for the afternoon.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
and ABC Listen.
Sometimes it's the hope that kills, but the dream is not entirely dead for Port Adelaide. An almighty upset if they could knock off the ladder-leading Dockers. They were up by 12 at the half, now down by 19 in the third. It's same old Fremantle. They've flicked the switch after half-time. 6-1 in the third. We'll see if they can back it up in the final term and move 3 games clear of the Swans with 5 rounds to go. Big day of footy, so Collingwood and Carlton at the G and West Coast and Brisbane at Perth Stadium tonight as we go our separate ways. But coming up next, everybody's headed to Docklands for the Roos and the Demons. Luke Ball will be there, as will Adam Ramanauskas, Ray Chamberlain, Ben Cameron, and our main man, Corby Middlemass, is standing by to preview it all. Corby, what are you expecting this afternoon?
It'll be a fun game of footy, so North Melbourne 8-9 on the season. They do have 3 losses by single digits. That's if you're glass half full on them. If you're glass half empty, 4 of their 8 wins have come with dual victories against both Richmond and Essendon. So what are we going to get from North Melbourne today? If they win, they will be inside the wildcard spots by 7 p.m. tonight. So there's plenty at stake for North Melbourne with a tough run home. These are the kind of games they're going to need to win if they want to feature in the spring. Meanwhile, for the Demons, they're 11-6. They've impressed everybody under first-year coach Stephen King. Flawless at the MCG from their 9 games, and yet they're 2-6 elsewhere. So they're under the roof at Docklands today. Can their form translate away from the MCG? That's what we're here to find out. As you said, the whole gang's here. North Melbourne and Melbourne. Coming up next, under the roof at Docklands. We're still too early for final teams, so I'll flick them through to you when they drop.
Thanks, Corby. Can't wait for it up next on ABC Sport. Matthew Clark, Josh Franco here to unpack Port Adelaide and Fremantle. And the Dockers did what they always do, Doc. They just found a way when they needed to, but there's still a quarter to go. Are we done and dusted yet?
I think Freo get home, but the win is still in play at 3/4 time, which is actually a massive win for Port Adelaide. And even more than that, they got smashed in the first half of that quarter, but then they found a way to compose themselves. They got their defensive set up, and they found their way forward and kicked the goal, got themselves back within 12. Unfortunately, Freo then got one, which probably will be enough, you'd think, even if Port get the game back on their terms. You'd think that Fremantle's just got too much offensive capability to let this one slip. But great work, Port Adelaide. And as we've been saying all day, if you're a fan of their team and you've shown up today, then you've seen everything you needed to see. But hopefully they'll be able to finish it out for another 30 minutes.
What Doc said, outstanding from Port Adelaide. Agreed that the floodgates looked like they were going to well and truly open. And there was that dominant patch for probably the first 10 minutes of that third quarter by the Dockers, and they looked like they were just going to blow the scoreboard apart. But to Port Adelaide's credit, they fought back. It's still a game. It's still got a contest on our hands, but potentially that 10 or 15-minute period in that third might be the difference in the game. But like you said, hats off to the power. You know, we look at Essendon, and Essendon can't replicate this sort of stuff that Port Adelaide are doing with a similar sort of make-up to their list. So Josh Carr and the coaching staff at the Power would be very pleased to this point in the game. They've just got to finish off strongly.
Lost 672 games of experience walking in. No Rosie, Butters, Juan Francis, Georgiades, Farrell. So rough run for them at the moment. It's Freo by 19. Very quickly, Braden Ingram downstairs.
Todd Marshall still undergoing a HIA after that knock to the head. Jago Mira done for the day with a left ankle.
Freo with the first clearance. Jackson taps it down. Sarong gets it back to him, and then towards the 50, little shallow for Amos. Fist comes in, bounces straight to Bergman, shoots the handball, across defensive 50. Sweet tried to do the same. It was Shark. Tracy tackled, had no one to go to, but it's in the back. Logan Evans.
Kidding.
Port were out there. He'd impacted the disposal. Instead, it's a free to Fremantle.
That was holding the ball.
Yeah. Hey, the umpire is not playing the game. We want to see a tight tussle. He's throwing that one in there. Oh dear.
Josh Tracy points to the big sticks, but the man on the mark's 55 out. This would be something special.
Surely he's going to lay it off.
Tracy from the centre square. The roost up towards the behind line. Cox is waiting there. Juggled, nearly took it. Tried to tow it towards goal. Burne-Jones knocks it through. Minor score. It's Freo by 20 to start the final term.
They've done that twice.
Junk point, isn't it?
Yeah, done that twice. And, you know, as they get ready for September, they want a better outcome from that moment. So, you know, that'll be one that they'll be looking at.
Burne-Jones goes the 1-2 with Lai and finds Burgoyne.
You're suggesting just hit the top of the square with that?
Do something other than that.
Yeah, agreed.
So Burgoyne plays on quickly, and already a whistle downfield. So Visentini wins the free. Bammett streaming forward. It's the direction he's going to go. Uses his body, checks the drop zone, gathers, chucks it on the left boot, kicks it towards the top of the goal square. Just a hard one for Durden to gather, and it bounces off his thigh. Goes through for a minus score. So both teams on the board in this final term. Port 9-8-62, Fremantle 12-9-81, 2 minutes gone.
They're the sort of half chances that Port need to capitalise on.
Yeah, but the good news is that they've got so many players out there today that have put a little tick against their name. You know, kids that you wouldn't have even heard of 6 months ago are playing at the level.
Warner to the broadcast wings. Thatcher with the fist knocked it to Burgoyne. Just didn't get the contact he wanted on the boot in space. And out on the full. Free kick to Fremantle. Johnson to bring it back in. Fresh off a 4-year extension. Heads back up towards centre wing. Jackson flies. Just couldn't come down with the footy. Switkowski under a bit of duress from Burgoyne. Knocked over the boundary line and above the knees. So no lasso free kick as it ricochets out. Will be tossed in. Get all the reaction if you're listening in WA and SA. For everybody else, we're going to get you straight to Docklands for the Roos and the D's game. Tossed in. Jackson down to Sarong, front and square. Flung it out to Murphy Reid. Back to the umpire, though. Sweet tackles. Fremantle win out. Sarong to Jackson. Through traffic, they methodically work through. Johnson to Reid, then Switkowski. Pulls the kick. Little low for Cox. Clean gather at the shins. But he's bulldozed over by Lockie Jones. Cop that milestone, man. Lai to Wines. Gets it back to the youngster. Josh Lai down the line. Whitlock thought about the hanger. Flew a little early. There's a holding free kick anyway. And it will go to Dante Visentini. He's had a quietish year after originally being touted as the number one ruck. But solid afternoon. Wide 45, Dante. Joe Richards turns on a dime and puts on the Jets. Draws two. Hands it to Bergman. He flirts with the left forward pocket. Did drop well. Brennan Cox gets in front. Dropped the intercept. Gathers and then handballs straight into Burgoyne. So it will be a boundary throw in, 48 out.
I'm not sure how to assess the Dockers today. Doc?
I don't think we learned a heap about them. If they walk away with the 4 points, they'll be more than happy. But I don't think they've enhanced their game in any real shape or form.
Boundary throw in. Jackson knocks it down. Sweet tries to grab it. Burgoyne streaming through, ran over the top. Hayden Young picked it up off the deck. Chucks it on the boot. Ball in dispute. Burne-Jones gathers and wrapped up immediately by Switkowski. They have a ball up 80 from the Powers goal. We're in the left half forward flank. Umpire just directs a bit of traffic. Sweet. Goes the double punch. Overrunning it with Zaddo. Richards laying the tackle. Burne-Jones try to complete the mark, then soccer it off the ground. Gathered there by Johnson, who handballs to space. Young back in the team today. Has hit the scoreboard. Takes two bounces. Quick chip kick over the top to Tracy, who marks on the paint of the 50.
He's got a roll and go. He's got Cox all by himself in the goal square.
And that's where he goes. Loads it up. He's going to have a huge height advantage there on Logan Evans. Well called, Josh Franco. And the umpire will straighten him up. Must have been just outside the goal square, but fait accompli coming up.
He's not the most important piece of the puzzle, but I reckon he might be a piece of the puzzle. He's taken catches. He gives them the second ruck option. And as good as Sean Darcy is, at the moment on this current form, you couldn't replace Mason Cox.
Yeah, Justin Longmuir agrees.
Unless
he's coxed it up from 3 metres out. The big man.
Oh, dear. That was... he did all those over 6'6". No favours by doing that. That was poor.
By 20. Logan Evans heads to the eastern side. Flying was O'Driscoll. They win it back. The handball out to Warner. Back into the 50s. Kicks too long. O'Brien put it down, though, on debut. Aaliyah tries to help out the youngster. He gets another crack as he weaves through traffic, launches an exit, another rush of blood straight down the throat of Clark.
Did you say he coxed it up?
I did.
Oh, dear. Wow. That was ugly.
It was worth it for that moment.
Yes. Speaking of Cox, here's Brennan. He gets it out to the broadcast wing. Ryan now towards the 50.
Great
Trace a bullet in and honours the lead of Jai Amos. He landed a little awkwardly, but gets to his feet to take his set shot. While we're on the Coxes, useless AFL stats put out a really good one during the week, which is that both Brendan and Mason playing their 150th this afternoon are the first players in the history of the game to have the same surname but unrelated and share the same milestone. So there you go.
Wow. The cumulative 300.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's useless. I think that's great.
That's the account. It's called Useless AFL Stats. I enjoyed it.
Well, for the contest, I hope he misses.
Jai Amos.
Yes.
Sprays it off the boot. It's a central kick, 20 out. Couple of flies report, though. Knocked each other out of it. Voss with the fumble, ended up tunnel balling. Becomes the tackler on Thatcher, rather, and ball up to come. Top of the goal square for Fremantle.
Quick ball up at the top of the square. Wines tries to get the quick kick out and just kicked it straight to Erasmus, who marks 45 metres out and a 45-degree angle to the right.
Yeah, the tough ones, aren't they? When you're in stoppage, blokes, opposition players hanging off you, and you just got to get the ball going forward, and unfortunately it lands in the hands of the Dockers.
And it is the way most teams will play, their forward 50 stoppage now. They'll make sure that the structure behind it is such that a hacked kick is an opportunity at shot on goal, which is what they've done.
Talented player. Can really establish the margin here. Goes for home with the drop punt, and it's looking good. Erasmus does the job, and the Dockers extended out to a 26-point margin. 8 minutes gone in this final term. 13-10-88, Port 9-8-62.
Tommy, I was just looking at Ollie Wine's numbers for the day. He's had 24 disposals. Started the game superbly. He's been a pretty solid contributor over the course of this contest, but he's running at 7 kicks at 29% kicking efficiency. Keeping in mind a lot of his stuff is in tight, and it is tough to be efficient with ball in hand, but as you said, Matt, on that occasion, Fremantle set up really well behind the footy from the stoppage. The quick kick, Lux of Fortune, it lands in the hands of the Dockers to finish off with a goal and then almost put it beyond doubt.
Yeah, and so now the challenge sits with Port Adelaide. Do they fall away, or can they maintain what they've done for the whole day, which is to fight back again and find a way to keep themselves in the contest? Let's hope it's the latter.
7-1 in the second half for Fremantle. Leaders 26. Tap down close to the eastern side. Wines drew a couple, got it out towards Richards. They'll pay the advantage as Wines was tackled in the back. Richards heads up to right half forward. Fast kick, Berry takes it in front of the Wanganeen stand. Wheels inboard and dances past Frederick. Plenty on the kick towards the top of the goal square. Cleared everybody. The only person when going back to get it was Erasmus. Intercept mark for Fremantle right on the goal line.
You think Visentini, you could sort of see what he was trying to do, but he would have been better to have a launch at it, I reckon.
Quick kick out of defence. Got
speaking
high.
Of launching.
Wow. That was a step ladder. Aaliyah gathers, just chucks it on the boot and it goes out of bounds. That's a launch. If he got hands on it in the end, but he got up high.
Just looking at some of the other numbers too, Tom, and sometimes you can find a diamond at the expense of others. Butters goes down. Richards gets thrown into the middle, and he's been superb today. It's the first time I've seen him live play on ball, but he's been outstanding. Here he is again.
Tried to get the handball to Drew, but it was sharked by Reed. He's kicked down the line. Tracy was strong, brought it to the front of the pack. Handballing on towards Brayshaw. Sarong got a hand in there. Brayshaw gathers to Sarong now. Durden's doing the chasing. Reed's doing the don't arguing him. Flicks it back again to McVie. Goes again to Brayshaw. They're doing it by hand. He stepped through the tackle. Durden tries to put him off the kick inside the forward 50, and Dudley launches into it. They just kept surging forward. And once the kick went in, Dudley got on the end of it. He marks 35 out directly in front.
And I think even further to that, Doc, hopefully I can articulate this well. You lose a Zach Butters, say he's running at 100%. If Richards can pick up, say, 80% of that, then he actually serves a really important purpose for Port Adelaide in that midfield. So it's not all doom and gloom when you can discover players like Richards that can play and pick up some of the slack in the midfield.
I don't reckon he'd be on 80% of his wage.
No.
Isaiah Dudley does the job, gets his first of the afternoon, points into the crowd, no doubt. Some of his family members are here watching him. They go to 14-10-94 Port and 9-8-62. That's a 32-point margin, dominating in this second half. The Dockers, Braden Ingram on the boundary.
Game getting away from the power, but good to see Todd Marshall with his head strapped up. He's cleared the HIA and he's about to rejoin the field.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? You lose a Butters, it's all doom and gloom. Port Adelaide can't function if they lose him, but these guys step up
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's the hand in the bucket of water analogy. The water always replaces the gap. But, I mean, Butters is probably arguably the top 2-3 players of the competition. So you clearly don't want him walking out the door. But you're going to have to find a way if he does. So we're seeing some of that today.
In the middle, Mason Cox straight down the throat of Sarong. Hands it to Brayshaw, then back to the All-Australian midfielder. Sarong inside 50. Voss cops a little shove from Jones out the back door. Tracy slips through 2. Retreats with Matthew Johnson. He's tackled. Just gets boot to ball after the 360, but he was spun around in the process, and the umpire blew the whistle immediately once he'd done the rotation. So holding the ball, free kick, Port Adelaide. Burn Jones heads wide to Lockie Jones. Dockers by 32.
It's long down the line, Lockie.
Call the middle mass getting in touch. No late changes at Docklands for the Roos and the Ds where you're headed next. Those in WA and SA will stay with us a little longer and then we'll get you there.
Good contest from Marshall there. 3v1, got it on the ground.
Down the eastern side, Port do win out as a result of it. Up towards the 50, the kick clears everybody. Durden lurking dangerously. Slides by, gathers the footy and rolls through his second of the afternoon. Margin back down to 26. 12 played. Final term, it's Fremantle 14-10-94. Port 10-8-68. Crowd figure officially 28,727.
He's been a bit of a find, hasn't he, Durden, for Port Adelaide as well. All year he's been able to hit the scoreboard, and again he's kicked another couple today, but he's a bit of a live wire. Reads the ball off hands very well. He's got the leg speed and the polish to finish off nicely.
And Marshall's obviously had a tough period, but if he can give a contest at that level, and then you've got his ball use and his ability and a chance to get on the hit up, then you've got a forward. You know, that was really important.
So margin back to 26 points. It's been 8 goals to 2 since half-time in favour of the Dockers. Vicentini goes up in the ruck contest all alone, then just ran over the top of it. So did Erasmus, though, and Burgoyne flicks the handball to Drew, taking on the tackle of O'Driscoll. And 3 Dockers players pile on the top of Zato, who's had a bit of a day out, the young gun. He's got 3 goals, leading it for the Power. Erasmus with the clearance. Lai read it best in the centre square. So out wide to Alir on the logo. Members side of the ground. Trying to get it to Zato, but Clark just got the fist in and gets it out over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in about 80 metres around from the Power goal members side of the ground.
It'll be the 4th win in a row for the Dockers at Adelaide Oval, so not quite the scary business trip it used to be. Up by 26 at the moment. Tossed in. Vicentini gets in front of Cox, but he's tapped. Well scouted by Sarong. Off balance. Screws it up to right half forward. Amos with the body work on Zerk Thatcher. Too far out to score.
Tracy. Oh, no, too far.
He's backtracking and Amos will still send it in his direction. Gets a bit of a run and a fly. Just Tracy.
Not too far.
Don't worry about the first option. We'll take the second. Just kept presenting and he gets it 25 out slightly to the right.
I'll ask you a question, Aaron. Adelaide's forward line, they're 3 tools or Frios? Whose would you take?
Frios.
Yeah, I think
they just look more threatening, don't they?
Yeah, bigger aerial presence at the moment.
Chemistry's good as well. As Justin Longview has said numerous times during the year, it doesn't matter if one of them goes quiet, the other 2 will pop up. That's been the case. Voss has been quiet today, but Tracy and Amos have been pretty lively. That one was pretty poor, though. Side of the boot, minus score to the right-hand side. Freo by 27.
That was the point I was going to make as well, that you get a side like Fremantle with those 3 tall forwards that they don't get any smaller as the game wears on, and they're just so dynamic and so strong aerially that they're just so hard to stop for the 4 quarters.
And when you get on top, you're able to capitalise.
Yeah.
So a good kick from Burn Jones out of defence.
And you can manufacture easy goals with them rather than having to work for everything.
Gets it to Bergman at left half back. He's going to hit up Whitlock on the chest in front of Pearce.
Go quick, you've got Evans ahead.
Taking his time though, and he's going to go back. Logan Evans at left half back. Switch it out the other side. Finds Balin O'Brien. Looking for a kick up on the wing. Outer side of the ground, finds Mead. Marks on the chest. So the Dockers up by 27 points. Short to Burn Jones. Christian's having a great year at half-back. He's playing the last few up forward. Short to Wines, chip kick. Over to Richards. So not much happening here for Port.
We're in the holding pattern here, aren't we?
He goes short again to Wines. This will help his kicking efficiency. Up towards Mead. So I'm not glitching if you're listening at home or in the car. Now the long kick comes up towards Marshall at the front of the contest. Back out on the ground after the blood rule. Johnson was tackled by Bergman. Zaddo just couldn't quite complete the tackle there on Ryan, who kicks a banana out of defence. Aaliyah gets hands to it. So does Balin O'Brien. Working hard there as Ollie Wines gets the handball to Aaliyah, and we'll have a ball up on the paint of the square, outer side of the ground.
And difference between the first half and the second half is those tackles were sticking and the ball was staying in the forward 50.
Sweet down to Richards, knocked it on, looking for Zaddo. Cut off by Johnson for the Dockers. Gets it to Brayshaw, then Switkowski. Shoots the handball central. McVie dukes it off towards Warner. Now to the broadcast side. O'Driscoll wanted the overlap looping handball. Bergman got a fingertip to it. Finds its way to Clark, though. It gets away from the young power defender. Back to O'Driscoll. A little bit too hot for Dudley. Has to follow up inside 50 now for Fremantle. Bergman there. Gets it to O'Brien. And now wide to Ware. Port thump it out of dodge. Down the broadcast wing. Luke Ryan. The nice fly across with Brendan Cox on Jack Whitlock. Cuts it off. Fremantle get another surge here. Brayshaw towards the 50. Amos thought about the fly, pulled out late, and then is pulled away from the drop by O'Brien. Umpire didn't see it off the ball. Lockie Jones tackled by 2. Ball up 25 out.
I reckon O'Brien's had a couple of moments where you can sense that he can play.
Yeah, a good debut. We thought it was going to be a tough day for him, but he's held up.
Yes.
So from the ball up, Murphy reads there, gathers, runs towards the boundary line, and slung over there by Bergman. Playing a lot of mid today with Butters and Horn Francis out of the team this week. So we've got a boundary throw in, 30 from home for the Dockers. Mason Cox knocks it down. Running back onto it is Dudley. Goes the dribble kick, but it's shallow. Minus score. Dockers go to 14-12-96. The power of 10-8-68. Approaching time on in this final term.
Port Lincoln product, Isaiah Dudley. Played for Central Districts as well. Had a contract, but doesn't seem like there's any urgency to come home. Fremantle's the place to be right now when you're in contention. Short pass from Burne-Jones to Wines. Central and defensive 50. He's 30 from the goal face and heads to right half back. O'Brien with another touch. Short one to Zaddo, the housemates. Front of the Williams stand. Reminder, in the full-time siren, most of you will head straight to Docklands for the Roos and the Ds. Those in SA and WA will get some fallout in the rooms. Down the line, Bammett floats in front. Strong grab on Ryan, who clutches his hamstring as well. Bammett towards the scoreboard. Berry 2 to beat, hits the deck. Cox slides in, tackled. And ball up to come. Luke Ryan's slowly jogging his way towards this stoppage, which is 35 out. Check in with Braden Ingram in a moment. Tossed up. Sweet tries to paddle it out of there with a swat. Richards looking for Berry. Fumbled it through his shoulders. Richards back towards Bammett. Lockie Jones has some space. 45 out. Decides to unselfishly share it. Guides the kick up and under to 25 from home. Tight in the pocket. Chase Burgoyne back with a flight. Takes the mark. What's happening down there, Braden?
It was on the broadcast wing that Luke Ryan initially copped a bit of a knock. He waved the trainers away, but he's obviously still trying to push through it.
I reckon I'd be getting him off, important time of the year.
Burgoyne opens the angle and kills it to perfection. A late highlight for Port Adelaide. Margin down to 22. We've got 5.5 minutes to go. 14-12-96 plays 11-8-74. Still time for a miracle in the city of churches. Time on final quarter Saturday footy on ABC Sport with Matthew Clark and Josh Franco.
Well, we talk about the effect that Joe Richards has since going inside the midfield for Port Adelaide. Burgoyne's another one that they can continually expose and give minutes to because he's a smooth mover. We've seen on that occasion where he can finish in front of goal as well, but he's another player that definitely for the future that could spend more midfield minutes to help in Port Adelaide's engine room.
And you're always looking for that balance. So, those two guys are slighter, but they've got the zip. So, you've got the big bulls. We want to have some movement as well. So, great to see those two young guys getting around it.
Speaking of bulls, Ollie Wines just working hard to get back to the middle of the ground there. Good tackle from Sweet on Sarong. Coming off half forward was Berry, was clean to the stand-in skipper there for Willem Drew. There's going to be a free kick. Braden Ingram.
Yeah, Sarong and Sweet really went out of there. Sarong did not like the treatment he copped from Jordan Sweet. They've now run away from each other, but a little bit of how do you do there towards the end of this game?
So Berry plays on quickly from the free kick to Richards. Forward to centre wing. Coming up for possession number 30.
Big game.
It's the stand-in skipper, Drew. He's going to roll around now. Strolls up, kicks towards the top of the goal square. Fly from Burgoyne. I saw his dad do that a few times in defence, this time up forward. Knocked out over the boundary line. Throw in the left forward pocket. Power trail by 22 points.
Comfortably a career high for Joe Richards. 25 his best against the Tigers last year. Now 30 this afternoon. Tossed in. Taken out of the ruck by Jordan Sweet. So much momentum. He left the footy behind. Tries for the overhead kick from the big man and just got smothered over the boundary line. Imagine if that happened. 200 centimetres and over his head.
Have another crack. Have another crack right now.
We saw Lockie McAndrew do it last week.
Tossed in again. This time Jackson gets in front, taps it down, awkward bounce for Marshall. He waits an eternity, does get boot to ball, but ricochets off some bodies. Fremantle have the numbers, although the handball from Erasmus was a hot one to O'Driscoll. He's under pressure, gives it away. Wines did the same. Sarong in the right back pocket to Chapman, running out of room, gets it back to Sarong, kick smothered, finds its way to Bergman, left half forward. Durden will screw it central. 25 out, bam it! What a fly! Just couldn't stick the mark. Wines becomes the tackler, holds things up on Warner, 25 out straight in front. It's Freo by 22.
Great pressure there from Port Adelaide.
Yeah,
got the repeat entry.
Finishing the way they started.
Yeah.
It's great.
What a joy for Port fans. They're going to probably lose this match, but so much to like about the way they're going about it right until the final siren. Big tackle there from Burgoyne. We'll have another ball up. Jackson v Sweet. Sweet knocks it down. Lays a tackle on Chapman, who dives on top of this. The umpire says no prior. Another ball up in the power 50. Jackson knocks that one down. Rove by Clark. Flicks it back to Brennan Cox. Whitlock with the chase, but sensed it in time, and that's a beautiful kick to Voss. Quiet day for Voss. Just possession number 7. But his teammates up forward have done all the damage.
Voss steps inboard. Down the line to Big Mason Cox. 3 to beat. Just couldn't get through them. And Aaliyah steps in front with the intercept mark. What an afternoon he's had.
He's been brilliant, hasn't he?
Kicks a little hot. Shallow on the bounce. Good take, though. Low by Zerk Thatcher. Gets it out. Drew tries to chip the kick to the scoreboard. It's wide of Bammett. He's got some work to do. Ryan with a chase down tackle, but the handball comes out. Burn-Jones, wide to Zatto. He's had a prolific afternoon in his 4th game. He's got 4 with a magnificent snap in the pocket. Mitch Zatto with a special finish. Do not ruin this goal, umpire. Oh, man. Eddie Betts style right in front of the scoreboard, off balance, and they're going to call a soft behind.
Who came in for Rand?
That was Ware.
Yeah. Of course it was. Yeah.
But yeah, he's had a good day. He's had a good day. And there's been a couple of cracking goals. I mean, this is looking like a behind, but cracking goals from that pocket.
6 shots on goal for Zatto.
And did you say earlier he only had about 9 possessions?
He's only had 10 disposals now. Yeah.
There's the faintest of noises on edge. So Mitch Zatto will be robbed of his 4th, and it will be Fremantle by 21 with 3 to go.
Let's get rid of that. Pay a goal and move on.
It was the right goal.
Oh, who cares?
What about the one last night?
Yeah, last night was amazing.
Who was that? That was Key.
It was the Keys' kick. Yeah.
They're going the crowd screaming at the goal umpire.
That's right. That wasn't even close.
No. That's a push.
So Jackson just pushes Sweet in the back. No free kick. Rove by Burn-Jones. Bashed forward by Young. Reed and Bergman go at it. 2 stars of the competition. And Balin O'Brien's wrapped up by Luke Jackson near the logo.
I think Shai Bolton back into this Fremantle side makes a big difference as well in terms of the balance of that speed and elusiveness around contest.
So high tackle there on Drew. Still trying to hit the scoreboard here, Port. Finds Marshall in the middle of the ground. Quick handball to Burne-Jones. A flat one to Burgoyne to Bergman. He kicks to the top of the goal square. Whitlock's got a run at this. And he flies and marks. Strong grab. This one's from about 3 metres out. And I said fait accompli for Mason Cox at the other end. So we won't say that this is a Whitlock just yet, Josh. And he stuffed it. He went around the body on his left boot and kicked it out in the full. I reckon we've nearly had everything today.
Would have made it 15 with 2 to go, but that might just do it. Although the Dockers have made a mare of this. Warner bringing it into Brayshaw was a hot footy, nearly knocked off. Richards with the tackle. Young gets them out of there. Kicks up towards the logo. Fly from Zerk Thatcher and Tracy. Cox with a beautiful overhead swat to the running Jackson. Excellent play to Frederick, who dances into the corridor. One out in the cage. Voss battling there with Lai. Leaves the footy behind. Lai's all over him. Voss pushes away. The prancing pony chips the kick. And Frederick takes the mark. 35 out.
Yeah.
To ice the game with a tight angle to the left.
He did that well, Voss. He hasn't had a huge day statistically, but that one-on-one against Lai. Lai's quick and strong as well, but he's almost just
slightly different weight divisions.
Yeah.
But Lai, I love what he's done this year. He's a great find for them, but just a little bit outsized.
Yeah. And good composure with ball in hand from Voss to find Frederick.
So Michael Frederick, one of the 3 South Australian Dockers out there. Another played for Port Adelaide as well. Frederick crosses the paint of 50. Hard, high and home. Fremantle will be 3 games clear of the Swans after this afternoon, sitting comfortably in first. It is a 3rd goal for Michael Frederick, and the Dockers are up by 27 at the death.
Just looking at the replay, as we said, really good composure there from Voss and a terrific finish from Frederick. And I can't help but think if you're Justin Longmuir, you go into the game, and I know the answer is going to be you tick the box and say to the boys, well, we weren't at our best, but we got the job done. But I'd be interested to see what his thoughts are on the game post-match.
I think he'll be happy. I think he'll walk away happy. I don't think we've learnt a lot, but what they have done is they've secured another win on the road, and have all of their stars shone as brightly as they sometimes do? No, but they're marching towards September.
Yeah. Back in the middle of the ground, working hard there was Young. So too Sarong, hands and knees. He's tackled under a bit of pressure. We'll have a ball up.
And they were challenged as well.
Yeah.
So they've done well to, half time. It was they weren't in the contest, but they've been able to fight their way back and get the job done.
Yeah. It's probably a mark of where they're at, that at no point, even when they weren't playing particularly well, did you sort of think that they wouldn't get there in the end. Port have been great, but in the end, Freo are going to walk away with these points.
Yeah, down 12 at half-time, now up by 27, so 9 goals to 3 in the second half. They just really flexed, did Freo. That's why they're on top of the ladder. 3 games clear with a percentage of 142. Brayshaw with the clearance, handballing forward to Dudley, who's clean enough. Goes to Don't Argue. Steps towards the 50. Unloads from home.
Get in.
Just couldn't bring it back far enough. It hit the post. That would have been a send-off for Dudley. Minus score.
Port play on out of the defensive goal square as the clock ticks down. Zerk Thatcher to O'Brien, who's looked good in his first game. Heads through the eastern wing to Bammett. And it's deja vu for the Dockers. Another second half surge sees them skyrocket to 3 games clear of the Swans. They're entrenched in the top 4. Fremantle by 28 at the Adelaide Oval. So once again in the first half, pressure unravelling the ladder leaders as Port Adelaide, undermanned and outmatched, put up a decent fight. They led by 2 at quarter time and 12 at the half before the Dockers kicked 9 goals to 3 in the second half, up by 19 at 3-quarter time, and ultimately winners 15-13, 103 to 11-9, 75. They've won 16 of their last 17 and are 5 games clear of 5th. It feels like Fremantle are going to be there at the back end of September. Big afternoon, Taylor, 2 halves. We'll unpack it all for you in SA and WA. If you want to keep listening, stay on ABC Listen through the AFL Extra button. But for those in Victoria, Tasmania and the Northern Territory, you're headed to the Docklands for the Roos and the D's.